Chapter 17. You just made this a lot easier. Why yeah, I did, she replied and threw the trinket to the ground. Martha lost consciousness after she threw the trinket and the bonding was almost complete. Just a little more, the demon thought. Yes. Ashirik exclaimed before his eyes widened, and so did the devils when Naruto appeared in a flash, a giant Rasengan spinning furiously in his hands. He gripped the demon by the face and dragged it out of Martha. Not again. Senpo. Raiden. Odama Rasengan. Naruto slammed the lightning-powered jutsu into Ashirok's core, killing it instantly. John was staring at the blonde a few minutes ago when said blonde disappeared in a yellow flash, just like when he appeared with Martha in the living room back then. He turned his head to where Naruto was looking before he disappeared and prayed for the safety of his sister. As soon as Naruto disappeared, two people stepped out of a magic circle beside John, Soji, and Agatha. He heard Ashirik chuckle before it turned into a full-blown laugh. A powerful wave of purple energy burst out of Ashirok's body, flattening the entire school completely. Gaia, Soji, and Martha created a magic barrier in time, and even then, their magic barrier barely held on. Ashirik rose out of a thick puddle of purple fluid, and what came out wasn't an it, but a pale, handsome, well-built man with flaming long purple hair, purple eyes with black slits, and purple claws. He had on dark purple eyeliner and two skull earrings. Ah, the feeling of being complete. It's tantalizing, the demon sighed. He's complete. Gaia's eyes widened in shock, seeing the demon in his full glory. Ashirik took to the sky and stretched his wings, balled his fists, and smiled. A true happy smile before he laughed maniacally. Ah, I can feel the wind on my skin, I can almost taste it. The now complete demon looked in the direction where Martha was and smirked. He turned his attention back to the group below. They were nothing but trash, well, except that fake Gaia, the church soldier, and that she-devil. Well, I guess I have enough time to kill you all, saving the blonde one for last. Ashirik, what do you intend to do? The three great factions are allied now, they will put an end to you, Gaia hollered. Listen up everyone, his power level right now equals that of a super devil, Dulio informed, all traces of humor gone from his face. Fulfilling the order to seal him is impossible right now. Our only option is to fight him, right here, right now till he's exhausted, and seal him off while he's weak. Right now, that demon is at full power, he's invincible, Gaia said, walking forward. How did it come to this? She wondered as her legs went over the edge of the earth wall Naruto created. You dare challenge me, fake? Ashirik questioned. We have to take Martha far away from here. Gaia's gears were shifting furiously as she walked on thin air. John, take your sister far away from here. Wife of Lucifer, extend and fortify the barrier as much as you can. The rest are with me, we'll buy the Hunter siblings enough time to escape. Gaia, John whispered in pure astonishment. He was nervous after seeing this side of her. The words that John's mind focused on were, run away. He was tired of it, being chased by an ancient demon. I'm sorry, Gaia, but this is my fight too. If I can't protect my sister and my friends right now, I don't think I can ever gain my confidence back. John ripped off the trinket on his neck. Ashirik smirked when he felt his power inside the trinket. A purple spark later and the sword Annie's son used to split Ashirik was spinning in the air. The sword, a huge doubled-edged purple sword that had no guard. Its hilt was wrapped with a purple ribbon that swayed gently in the air. The edge of the blades had silver linings. The sword was indeed a magnificent one. If you wield me, you will lose your mind. A boy that looked almost like him, dragged him into their shared inner world. John suddenly found himself knee-deep in that pool of blood. There were no clouds, just the orange hue of the evening sun. He stared at the boy and tried to speak to him. Please, I need your help, just this once. Give me the power to protect my sister and my friends. I will require a sacrifice, then, the boy, who was actually his sacred gear, replied telepathically. Anything you want, take it, just give me power. Very well, then. John stilled his breath after the internal conversation was over and grabbed the hilt of the sword in the air, and raw purple energy burst out of his body. A purple marking covered the left side of his face and he gained some of the characteristics of Ashirik himself. He's not losing his mind. That's no fun. Ashirik mused, scanning John below. He was really looking forward to seeing the policeman attack everyone and everything in his line of sight with blind fury. It was only a matter of time before they found a way to prevent the madness. Ashirik spread out his right palm at the group and kept on rising higher and higher till he could see the entire school. You all are too weak to challenge me. Despair. Something big is coming, brace yourselves, Dulio yelled, entering his angel form. The demon snapped his fingers and the Klepto 6 and Quavo appeared behind him. A purple tentacle burst out of his back and he impaled all 6 Kleptos with it. Keep them busy while I go retrieve my bride. All of the Kleptos turned into full-fledged demons, each taking a characteristic of an animal, each representing 6 basic elements. A dragon for fire, a gargoyle for earth, a water horse for, well, water.
a Jin for lightning, a Centaur for dark energy and a Pterosaur for wind.
Gaia, John, Dulio, Agatha, Soji, and Grafia were outnumbered but determined. Dulio attacked first with a wide-range lightning attack which the Jin absorbed. The earth wall Naruto created rumbled and crumbled to pieces and the surrounding earth broke off to create a huge earth golem, the size of a Gogmagog. The supernatural beings took to the air when the ground wasn't safe anymore, with John growing a purple wing out of his left shoulder blade and staying in the air with that singular wing. The gargoyle descended on the shoulder of the golem and the golem ripped off a piece of earth and hurled it at the supernatural group. Grafia raised her hands at the incoming earth and froze it with a magic circle. Soji unsheathed his blade and cut the frozen rock into two. Quavo appeared behind Gaia, chuckling as he opened fire on her with both Uzi. The bullets exploded on impact and it was like a rain of grenades, but Gaia's magic barrier did its job just fine. John rushed after Quavo, but the criminal was having none of that and blasted the cop with one of the missiles from the rocket launchers mounted on his shoulders. Quavo couldn't help but laugh when John dodged the missiles. "Look at us, pig. Indeed, we broke our human limitations, transcended our mortal barriers, but deep down, we still are police and thieves," he hollered and opened fire on John. Displaying great swordsmanship, John cut all the bullets with great precision. "Get out of my way, Quavo," John yelled, trying to cleave Quavo in two. The criminal ducked under the slash and kicked John in the gut. The kick packed quite a great deal of power as John was launched away only to be seized by the pterosaur and taken towards a dark forest in the distance against his will. "John!" Gaia yelled and tried to rush after him. "The hell? That forest wasn't there a moment ago." The mother goddess thought only to see that the entire landscape had changed. The clouds were purple and the atmosphere was gloomy. "I wouldn't worry about him if I were you," Quavo yelled. "My fight is not with you, human," Gaia replied and was replaced by John instantly in a quick burst of green light. She switched places with him? Quavo thought in surprise. John seemed a bit disoriented before he saw Quavo and his anger returned. Grafia backflipped over a fireball from the Draymonic dragon, dived at Lucifer's wife, and the normally stoic maid let a smirk grace her features before she created an ice stake and tried to impale the dragon with it. She frowned when the ice stake turned to mist upon contact with the dragon's hard scales. She quickly brought up a magic barrier to stop the incoming huge fireball but underestimated the power behind it. Her barrier was shattered instantly and she was sent tumbling in the air before she regained her balance. Milika's mom glared at the dragon with a heavy frown. That magic barrier should have been strong enough to block the fireball, she thought before she realized she was weak against strong fire-based attacks. TCH, this is going to be hard. Agatha weaved through beams of dark energy and sent a beam of light energy of her own at the centaur she was tasked to fight. For a grotesque demon, it displayed intelligence as its attacks were planned. Soji flicked his sword with style as the wooden golem behind him crumbled to dust. The gargoyle screeched at him and a pitchfork made out of rock appeared in its hands. He rushed forward and so did Soji, both clashing in the middle of their previous positions. "Today's kinda great," Gaia thought. "I can really stretch my wings without worry." She grunted as she ripped the wings off the pterosaur with her bare hands. It screeched, sending out a wave of wind that carried Gaia away from it. "That's not a screech, demon," Gaia remarked, taking in a deep breath before she infused her voice with divine magic. "This is a screech." The mother goddess screamed. The winds howled. The trees were blasted away. Everything was flattened by the powerful airwaves smashed into any solid object with enough force to break it apart. 3 seconds later, she stopped. A good portion of the forest had been flattened. That was something she does occasionally when she's compelling humans into doing what she wants them to do, but this time, she completely upped the ante and screamed. The pterosaur reduced to a pile of flesh here and a puddle of blood there. Grafia exhaled, cold mist coming out her body, her eyes shining a cold blue. She extended her hand at the incoming wall of flames and froze it. She jumped up and punched the dragon in the face and intoned, "Super freeze." From the point of impact, the demon's body was covered with frost till it traveled throughout its entire body. The demon shattered as soon as its body touched the ground. Dulio sighed as he pulled his spear of doom from the chest of the djinn. He took off to the sky to evade a wave of water infused with poison. "Bad, water horse," he yelled and threw his spear of doom and a light spear at the same time at the water horse, killing it instantly. The church's strongest exorcist smiled when he saw Agatha defeat the centaur with minor injuries. She was among the few young angels that didn't fight in the war. She was kidnapped in the past but, thankfully, she was saved, claiming a human saved her from the clutches of a maniacal devil and a dragon who wanted to do things to her. The event took a toll on her confidence and self-esteem, and he was glad to see she had recovered. Dulio reached out for his muffin when a green blur materialized behind him. Taking a good look at her, he realized she was quite a looker. The kids at church wouldn't shut up until they knew of his relationship status. She'd make a great babysitter, Dulio thought, checking her out. "No, bad, Dulio." John was left fighting with Quavo, who who was switching guns like he was a walking arsenal. The criminal now had a shotgun that sprayed tiny bullets that burned through rocks. "That's enough, Quavo. Turn yourself in. You're outnumbered and outgunned." John tried to reason with him, but the situation was too serious for that. "Haha, never, you hog. I'd rather die than surrender. And oh, for the record, I still got guns. Lots of them. I can't be outgunned. I never run out of them. Motherfucker." Quavo decided to pull out his balance breaker's ultimate move, the arsenal. Quavo's balance breaker had just one ability. Before he received powers from Ashirik, his twin blue pistols turned into machine guns. But after receiving a power-up from Ashirik, it now had two abilities. The first one is the one he's been using so far in the battle, which were the two rocket launchers mounted on his shoulders. The other ultimate move was a little something called Arsenal. A blue and purple aura seeped out of his body as a crosshair made of blue-purple energy appeared at his right eye. All sorts of guns. If one could think of it, it was there, materialized in front of him, and all were directed at John. Even John was a bit intimidated when he saw the RPGs among the arsenal. "This is it, you big fat hog. This is your end," he yelled. A detonator appeared in his hands and two massive machine guns grew out of his back. John sighed as his face twitched twice and he had to suppress the rage that threatened to take over. He held the sword by his side and it burst to life with purple flames. He raised his sword up and the devils created a magic barrier, knowing the clash would be quite devastating. Balance breaker. Arsenal. Crescent eraser. Both fighters called out the name of their attack. The wave of purple energy overcame the sacred gear attack and an explosion went off, kicking up a huge cloud of dust. The dust settled and John, sword in his right hand, glared at Quavo, who was losing an arm. He's come a long way in such a short amount of time. Maybe he's been practicing how to wield the sword all this time when he knew of its existence since he was a kid. Gaia thought with a fond smile, but something was bothering her. He wasn't consumed by rage. He was perfectly sane. Quavo coughed up blood, now back to normal. All traces of dark energy gone from his system. "Come to finish me off, Make it quick, hog. You have the right to remain silent. Any word you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. Don't give me that crap, hombre. I'm a boss, damn it, and I deserve to dictate how I die," Quavo yelled with a crazy gleam in his eyes. Pity from a pig was the last thing he ever wanted. He gasped when Harshblade, the name of the sword John wields, impaled the ground beside Quavo's head. "For what you did to the precinct," John climbed onto Quavo and kept punching him in the face. "I should kill you. But they'd want to put you behind bars because that was our goal. We swore on our badge we were going to put you behind bars for the rest of your life. Give it up, it's over." Quavo coughed, his face bruised and swollen. "You dumbasses, you think this is over? No, it's just beginning," he chuckled with a sneer. Gaia's eyes widened when her precognitive abilities activated and made quick haste to conjure a powerful spell. A divine shield on all of them, before an ear-deafening explosion and a mighty wave of pure destructive energy washed past them. Dulio and Soji narrowed their eyes at Gaia. That technique was a high-level spell. Such power, Quavo thought. Up in the air, Agatha yelled, pointing at a blue and purple blur that raced across the sky. "What's that blue thing?" Dulio questioned. "Naruto," Gaia thought when she sensed Naruto's peculiar energy mixed with something sinister. Both blurs descended on the forest, flattening it in an instant, and it looked like they were at a stalemate. "What the fuck is that?" Quavo thought with fear when he saw what looked like a six-tailed beast from the deepest depths of hell. It was blue and its eyes were white, devoid of feelings, showing only rage. An oppressive pressure emanating from the blue demon descended on the devils, angels, and humans. Ashirik laughed with a maniacal gleam in his eyes. "You never cease to amaze me, human. Yes, let us see who's the greater demon between us." The blue demon roared at Ashirik and breathed out a pink gas which deteriorated everything it touched, but it wasn't effective against Ashirik as he stretched out his arm and gripped the demon around the hist as it made contact with the blue demon, but the purple demon didn't let go. The blue demon struggled against Ashirik's chokehold but failed to break free. Ashirik punched the Seiken-fied Naruto in the face as it tried to deliver a nasty butthead. "Hey, Seiken, you're too soft on him. You gotta try harder if you want to kill him," Naruto yelled inside his mindscape. "K, hand me control so I can teach this guy a lesson," Kurama roared. "Okay, be careful, that's my body dat Bayo, a few minutes ago." Ashirik flew towards Martha's location and smirked when he saw her in the distance. He performed a perfect superhero landing in front of the group and his countenance fell on Martha. "My bride," he smirked, standing on both feet and stretched his arm at her. "Come, let us become one." Martha hid behind Naruto in fear. The Uzumaki himself was surprised, to say the least, when he saw the Misty Demon was actually quite something in his full form. "Sensei, what's going on?" Yuri yelled. "Why weren't you two in class?" Naruto questioned with a glare. Martha and Yuri held their tongues. "You should have stayed in class, that's two more people to worry about." Seraphol and Beowulf, seeing how Ashirik was complete, knew how bad the situation had become and appeared instantaneously in front of Ashirik, their hands outstretched, magic circles spinning furiously. The demon clapped his hands, as if he was trying to kill a mosquito, and intoned dark banishment. Naruto was alarmed when he saw the wave of dark energy coming and quickly he shined away, grabbing the nearest person, which was Martha. The wave of dark energy was quite short, but when it disappeared, Seraphol, Beowulf, and Yuri were nowhere to be found. Naruto extended his senses but couldn't find anything. With anger coursing through his veins, he yelled. "What did you do to them?" "Simple, I banished them." "To where?" Naruto asked, feeling his anger rise. His homeroom class president was God knows where right now, and it's all thanks to the bastard in front of him. "Do not get in my way, human, and I will make your death quick and painless." "Too bad, you'll have to go through me to get to her, Akshay." "You talk too much, human. Know your place. I am a demon of the highest order, while you are a mere human. Albeit, a human with chakra, but a human no less." Naruto pried his hand off Martha and cupped her face. "Everything is going to be alright. This failure will protect you." Naruto wasn't going to be the one fighting. He's failed too many people to believe in his own promises anymore. Naruto had a mini flashback of a white-haired woman in a pool of blood in his lap. A woman he swore to protect but failed, just like he swore to protect so many other people but always seemed to fail. Maybe Kagaya cursed him before she died, to fail at protecting the ones he swore to protect. Naruto smiled, for the first time in a while, trying to reassure her, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. Naruto took calm footsteps towards Ashirik. "The demon of the highest order, huh?" he asked. "Let me tell you a story." His eyes bled red and his voice became guttural. 9 super powerful demons once roamed the lands. They could flatten mountains on a whim and create tsunamis. Ever heard of them? "Oi, you know we ain't demons, right?" Yuki debunked Naruto's statement. Speak for yourself," Kurama grunted. The 9-tailed demon fox was too badass of a title to give up. "There are no such demons as powerful as I," Ashirik stated. "Let me introduce them to you, Akshay, and let's see which is the greater demon between you and them." "Naruto?" Son Goku exclaimed. "No way," Matabi thought. "Let me out. I want to fight," the raccoon dog hollered. Naruto went on all fours and his skin suddenly started peeling off to reveal dark red chakra underneath. Martha, with her mouth wide open, watched as Naruto grew 4 tails and became a beast from her darkest nightmares. They both blurred out of existence, destroying the ground they had moved from before they halted in the air in a stalemate. Saiken gathered negative and positive chakra before she swallowed it. Ashirik did the same with a dark eraser from his mouth, and both techniques were released at point blank. Boom! Both demon and tailed beasts still kept on fighting even after their destructive techniques exploded, rocketing them away. "Back to the present, I'll show this guy what a true demon is made of," Kurama roared. Ashirik retreated when he felt the massive buildup of power. He watched as the sky darkened even further and a ball of red energy descended on the transformed human, and now, he's transformed again. Naruto now had 7 tails with a fox-like bone encasing the demon, and his color was now red, instead of blue. Kurama, now in control, blurred out of sight and threw a punch at Ashirok's face. Ashirik lashed out with his own punch and both fists met in the middle, halting each other, sending out a powerful shockwave. "Ah!" Ashirik exclaimed before they blurred again.
The goddess, the devils, angels, and humans watched as Ashirak and the red demon became nothing but a blur. Gaia and Dulio's eyes could keep up with them, but the rest were having a hard time seeing what was happening.
Kurama ducked under a mean jab and Ashirik smirked. Just perfect. He tried to kick the beast away, but a supersonic roar from the beast foiled his plans. Ashirik stood in the air and stretched his arm, creating multiple purple energy hands in a palm thrust position before he launched them all at Kurama. The strongest biju growled and dipped his hand into the ground as multiple red huge hands intercepted Ashirok's barrage. Both demon and beast exchanged attacks at a super fast rate, cracking the ground they were on as their appendages shifted the air between them, furiously trying to cause bodily harm. The onslaught stopped all of a sudden when Kurama grabbed all of Ashirok's multiple forelimbs at once with his tails and pulled the demon back. Kurama reared his fist back and gave the incoming demon a bone-shattering punch to the face. Ashirik was dazed for a moment due to the punch and was flying parallel to the ground before he heard the unmistakable crackles of fireballs. Lots of human-sized fireballs. The demon flipped once and landed on his feet, erecting a barrier on time before the fireballs reached him. The fireballs ricocheted off his barrier before they exploded in a blaze of fiery glory wherever they landed. Countless fireballs ricocheted off the barrier he erected as he skidded back, each fireball decreasing the integrity of his shield before the onslaught stopped, only for Kurama to appear and break the defense completely with a single punch. How is he so strong? Ashirik asked himself as another punch connected again, and this time, he coughed up purple blood and skidded to a stop, his face buried in the dirt. Kurama let out a growl and smirked. Ashirik rose from the floor shaking with blind fury. "Don't you dare, demon!" Ashirik yelled, purple energy bursting forth before it settled down to reveal Ashirik in body armor with a pitchfork in hand. Kurama sported a huge grin when he saw Ashirok's new appearance and sped off on all fours towards the demon. "Ha!" Ashirik yelled, putting his spear forward. Purple energy gathered on the tip and a wide purple beam came out of it. Kurama built up a massive amount of chakra in his fangs and roared at the incoming beam. Small chunks of earth were uprooted as the sonic roar raced towards the purple beam. Both attacks cancelled each other out, creating a smokescreen of dust. Kurama appeared a few feet away from Ashirik and tilted his body sideways to evade the pitchfork projectile. "Don't underestimate me, demon!" Ashirik yelled and reared his fist back and met Kurama's punch in the middle, creating a shockwave that ruffled his hair. Kurama growled and both monsters started exchanging blow for blow, firmly fixed to their spot. Soon, their hands were nothing but a blur when Ashirik scored a punch in. Kurama's jawbones cracked. A fat biju wasn't happy, to say the least. Kurama ducked under a punch and lashed out strongly with all 7 tails. Ashirik defended his face with his arms as he was launched back. He flew to the sky to regain some semblance of balance. Kurama created a tailed beast ball the size of a normal Rasengan in hand, and the very ground he stood on shattered as spider cracks appeared on it. "If that thing hits me, it's gonna be fatal," Ashirik thought before he balled up his fist and concentrated. Bright light seeped out from the little space between his fingers. He opened his palm and a pitch-black ball the size of a cherry levitated on his hand. The chakra monster planted his right foot forward and flew towards the demon, and the ancient demon dived down at the chakra monster.
Both monsters reared their arms back and met in the middle.
Absolute eraser. Bijudama. Both techniques clashed for a while before a huge ball of chakra and dark energy surrounded both fighters. The ball stays confined, energy clashing with energy before it turns white, and an explosion with enough power to turn night to day occurred. Boom. Saying the explosion that followed was just a light display of fireworks was a massive understatement. Gaia and Co. were absolutely astonished, staring from a very far and safe distance away from the battleground. The devils planted their feet on the ground, hands forward maintaining a magic circle when they were caught off guard when a white light shone from where the cubified Naruto and Ashirik were fighting. They could even feel the tremors of the attack from where they were. "So, this is the power of the tailed beasts inside Naruto?" Gaia thought with slightly wide eyes. She had both herself, John, and Martha inside a green magic circle. John held onto his sister as the harsh storm the explosion created threatened to blow her away. They all gritted their teeth when the pressure became unbearable, and then, all of a sudden, it stopped. "What the hell was that?" John yelled. "Who was that red beast, and where's the blonde human?" Dulio's gears were shifting, trying to connect the dots. The possibility too obvious to ignore. Soji took to the air and stared on in astonishment upon seeing a massive crater, where the 2 demonic combatants had been. It was so huge and deep that the devil couldn't see the bottom, and the crater was still smoking. The others joined him in the air and they spotted 2 red and purple figures in the distance. Kurama landed on a floating rift of sand, his right side regenerating at an impressive pace, and his adversary was in the same condition. Both monsters were healing at a fast rate before Naruto gained control of his body and reverted back to normal. "Where's the demon, human? Let him out." Naruto stared on with a poker face and replied, "No, the destruction is getting out of hand." "No, I want that demon out. That's enough. It's about time I sealed you." Naruto spoke like Ashirik was a domestic dog that went berserk and bit someone and needed to be put down. "The likes of you can't seal me, human. It took the combined effort of the 3 factions and Annie's son to seal me." Naruto sighed and closed his eyes. He widened his hips, lowered his center of mass, and did a snake seal. "I am a higher creature and I will not." Ashirik stopped his rant when his entire body went stiff and he rose higher and higher up in the air against his will. Naruto opened his eyes and the fabled Rinnegan of the Sage of 6 Paths were there, manifested in his 2 orbs. Naruto looked at the demon and uttered 2 words that split the very ground they stood on. Even the crater wasn't exempted. "Plague Girei Ost. Chibaku, Tensai." Ashirik watched in true astonishment as something he's never seen, experienced, or thought possible, happened. He was mesmerized as rocks the size of a building and other different sizes rose from the ground and floated in the air towards him. His body served as the core of the gravitational pull as all the surrounding rocks floating in the air were pulled towards him and held together, tightened together by a great force. Was he holding back all those times we fought? Was the last thought going through Ashiroku's mind as his vision went dark, the rocks completely blocking out the light. Everyone watched the magnificent technique and were floored. Even Gaia was awed when she saw rocks as big as a 12-story house floating in the air, gathering together and forming a huge sphere of rock above, growing larger and going higher till it blocked the sun. "My God," Dulio exclaimed, watching the massive rock grow.
"That technique," Agatha gasped. Dot. 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 Naruto exhaled and released the snake seal when the sealing was complete.
Faye, you should have let me pummel that guy into mush, Kurama complained. I wanted to kill somebody, Shikaku roared. Naruto cut them out and rode on the sand rift towards the group watching the fight.
Soji gripped the hilt of his sheathed sword and took a step back when he saw the gargantuan sphere of rock move forward. His eyes widened a fraction when he saw Naruto standing on a sand rift, both hands folded in front of his chest, looking at him like he was a pitiful fly buzzing around. A chill ran down his spine when he stared into those purple eyes that glowed under the shadow cast by the satellite.
Graphia's hands went limp beside her. She stared at Soji and saw that the knight was in the same situation, staring at Naruto who was above them, literally and figuratively. Devils were greedy creatures that respected power and, right now, the blonde human looked invincible. Is this the real Naruto Uzumaki? Graphia thought. He was incomprehensible at that moment to her. She had so much on her mind now. When, who, what, how, where, why was he? So many questions to ask. Why was he living a boring life in the human world? Why was he playing weak human? Who was he? What was he? How did he gain so much power? Why is he hiding his power? How is this possible? John and Martha mistook him for a god when the Chibaku Tensei followed him like a puppy as he neared them. It cast a huge shadow over them and Naruto stood by the massive sphere of rock, floating in the air despite all its weight. Dulio stared at Naruto and knew, instinctively, not to mess with the blonde. The sphere was just there behind him, housing a great ancient demon inside. If the blonde had a triumph card like this and that red beast earlier, then that means he was playing around with a Shirik all along. The supernatural beings came to that startling realization together. Quavo just couldn't speak. No human should possess that kind of power. And just like that, it was over. No more demons, no more threats. The Hunter family were now free. They could spread their wings like a bird. The realization brought great comfort to them. Endost. Marie, Naruto called her name like he didn't just create a massive sphere and showed all of them the vast difference between him and them. His voice was too calm, too casual, as if everything was normal. We have a lot to talk about you trying to commit suicide. Martha looked down with guilt while John was horrified at the thought.
This is why Naruto Uzumaki disliked showing his powers to those he deemed unworthy. It wasn't his pride or cockiness talking, or maybe it was, just a bit, the main reason was because of situations like this. They all hid it well but they were afraid, except Gaia who was smirking at him.
He was happy to see her smile at him after he revealed a fraction of his power. The notion of people who used to categorize him as a minor threat updating his status to a god-level threat was tiring and agonizing. The devils would surely report what they saw and the top things to expect was a formal visit from all three factions' leaders since he was temporarily allied with them. Being powerful is nice and all but people fear what they do not understand, the same being applicable to all supernaturals. And that fear gradually turns to hate until all that is left is the desire press that which they fear, that which they hate, that which they don't understand. Martha and John were completely astonished. Their stares had a glint in them, like they were in the presence of something greater. He hoped this display would change nothing. He'd love it very much if they treated him like they did before this happened. The devils on the other hand, well, his message was heard loud and clear. He gazed at Graphia and raised his chin a bit to let her know he was being smug about it. He turned his gaze to Soji and tilted his head a bit and raised an eyebrow at the knight. His body language was daring the devil to challenge him again. His stare lingered on the knight before he turned his head to the last group present. Two blondies, one radiating holy energy and sacred gear energy while the other a pure holy energy, which felt nostalgic but only for a moment. The man had his fist balled up beside him and his face was blank. Naruto nodded mentally. The guy had earned a tiny bit of his respect just like that. "NN Naruto-san? Is T that you?" Agatha stuttered, flying forward like she was entranced towards the blonde ninja. Dulio grabbed her hand and pulled her back. Superhuman or not, he'd be damned before he let her walk into danger. Gabriel would have his hide if she had so much as a scratch on her body. Naruto raised an eyebrow at the four-winged angel. How did she know his name? Yo, he greeted with a wave of his hand, and Agatha's face lit up like a Christmas tree at Naruto's gesture. "Do I know you?" he asked like a blackout, her mood dampened. "Don't you remember me?" she asked, her voice shaking. Naruto scratched his head in confusion. "Grendel? Rizavam? Don't you remember me anymore? You saved my life?" Agatha yelled, on the verge of tears. The man who came into her life in the most bizarre way to save her like a knight in shining armor when all hope seemed lost and then disappeared in the most bizarre way, had forgotten about her? The man she didn't even forget about for a single second? Naruto's eyes darkened at the mention of Rizavam and he went down memory lane for a second. He trailed off and his eyes widened when he recognized the female angel. "Why you? See, clumsy angel." Naruto pointed a finger at her. Agatha cried tears of happiness when her hero remembered who she was, and she couldn't help but laugh at the name he called her back then. This was the man responsible for her courage, The man who helped her in so many ways in the brief period of time they knew each other. Many thought her story was unbelievable. A human fought against an evil dragon and won, in instant defeat. "You remember me?" She pulled herself away from Dulio's grip and flew towards Naruto, tackling him in a hug. Naruto groaned when she buried her face into his stomach. She barely reached his chest as she gripped him tight and balled into his chest. The blonde ninja's lips curved up a bit as he hugged her back and patted the first angel he met in this world awkwardly. Gaia recognized the smile as the small, almost unnoticeable smile he rarely displayed. The rest of the group watched, dumbfounded by the scenario going on. Dulio was aghast, to say the least. Agatha looked really happy in the blonde's arms. "Ma, don't cry. I'm already a bad jerk as it is, but making an authentic angel cry would damage my already broken reputation even further," the blonde complained, rubbing her back. And just like that, all of a sudden, the blonde was back to being an above-average human and not the super being they all witnessed a moment ago. What a weirdo. As the scene went on, something else was going on inside the Chibaku Tensei. Ashirek stared at the dark, unmoving and unblinking. What a scary human. To think a mastery of chakra could grant one such abilities. Yes, this is no ordinary man, but why am I so angry? I don't want to lose to the likes of him, Ashirek roared mentally. Naruto's eyes widened as the core disappeared all of a sudden. Impossible. He's gone. He turned his head around. Naruto pushed Agatha away on time as a powerful beam that came out of nowhere swallowed him whole. The others disappeared with a wave of dark energy while Naruto, who was still inside the beam, felt a force he couldn't defy. It was like space and time were bending to someone else's will at that moment. Foop. Naruto Uzumaki disappeared to an unknown dimension. John's body came out of a void and bounced off the surface of a great water body all of a sudden while Naruto, who was still inside the beam, appeared a few seconds later, moving in a diagonal line towards a great ocean that appeared out of nowhere. John. Naruto thought as his body hit the ocean and the beam detonated. Scene change. Serafal, Beowulf, and Yuri had been walking around in this barrier for who knows how long. The human currently had a silencing seal on her mouth. She asked too many questions and Serafal got tired of it. Erasing her memories right now wouldn't help the situation. A purple void appeared in the air and out came Gaia, Dulio, Agatha, Graphia, and Soji. Fuck. Gaia punched the ground in frustration. Her eyes were closed shut as she tried her best not to unleash her godly powers with the intense emotion she was feeling. She snapped her eyes open. They were glowing an eerie green, devoid of pupils, just pure jade green. An intricate magic circle, none like the devils have ever seen, spun furiously in the air. Graphia, Soji. What happened? Did the demon get you guys? Serafal asked, eyeing Gaia whose magic circle was transforming, looking almost like the Olympian's magic. A lot has occurred, Serafal-sama, Graphia replied. What's with that furious look on her face and what's she doing? Dulio asked. Hihiashi, Gaia gritted her teeth. The last thing Gaia saw before the void closed up was Martha's wide eyes filled with unholy fear and despair and Ashirek behind her, grabbing her face, and they were both alone. Scene change. Naruto pulled John out of the water, his orange shirt in shreds. John? Are you okay? He slapped the man in the face. The dimension they were in was dark and cold. It had no light and no visible ground, just rocks growing from the bottom of the endless ocean. John coughed up water and came to life with a yell. Where's Martha? Where are we? Where are the others? Where's Martha? He yelled, going out of control. Scene change. With Ashirek. I never thought you'd help me, Harshblade, Ashirek stated, holding Martha up in a chokehold. His expression was that of a person that won the lotto, a child in a candy store. Don't be mistaken. This time for sure I'll kill you. The girl is the sacrifice this time. So, you made a pact with the hunter boy. What a mad gambler you are. This child is the same as Annie. Her potential hasn't been unlocked yet, a virgin at the right age. A perfect bride for me. I'll be waiting for you. Come and face your death, demon. The sword disappeared. What a powerful sword Harshblade was, created by Ashirek and his beloved priestess, Annie. The sword that was supposed to signify their love was the same weapon the love child between his beloved and a human used to defeat him. Oh, the irony. Now, my Annie, this time we will truly become one, as it should have been thousands of years ago. Ashirek then captured the 16-year-old girl's lips with his thousands-of-year-old lips and the ritual began. A purple magic circle appeared below their legs as their bodies began fusing. Memories flew into both human and demon's minds. Memories of each being, different but slowly becoming one. He saw the love her brother had for her, how he took care of her when he was but a boy. He saw the fake Gaia and a bit of the blonde, and her growing feelings for the blonde, which just made him hate Naruto more. You are mine and nothing will take me from you, he roared. I'll kill the men you love most with your own hands. I'll make you miserable for the rest of your life just like Annie did to me. A tear slipped down Martha's face as she went through all of D when she understood the gravity of his threat. Oh, how I'd kill to immortalize the look on their faces when I drive my pitchfork into their heart with your own hand and body. The look of betrayal on their face. Martha's consciousness was slipping away as she cried tears of sorrow. What she feared the most was going to happen and she'd be powerless to stop it. Martha Hunter didn't fear the demon. No, what she feared was killing her own brother and Naruto because she was too weak to do anything. John would never raise a finger against his baby sister and Naruto would never kill the innocent girl he's come to like. The girl he took to a clothes store, the same girl he took out on a date whenever she was feeling down or bored. The little moments they shared. When he helped her with his assignment. When he promised to teach her how to fight. When he tried to teach her how to ward off perverts. Those little moments invaded her heart and planted a seed inside that grew steadily. As the moon and the sun is eternal, so, too, shall our unison be. Our paths shall be merged. My life will become yours and yours, mine. Two souls, two bodies shall become one, in harmony, never to be separated, forever. Ashirik finished with a sigh. A mighty wave of dark energy flowed throughout the entire barrier and when it cleared, both girl and demon were nowhere to be found. Scene change, Naruto held John down, trying to reassure him, trying to talk sense into him. I'm sure she's fine. Gay is there. You might not know it but she's much more powerful than the rest combined. But what if Martha is? John tried to argue before harsh blade came out of his trinket. Prepare yourself, John. I have held up my end of the bargain, now it's time to hold yours. Where's my sister? What did you do? John yelled more than asked. A purple void opened and out came a person that left Naruto and John shocked to the core. Play Hiruzen funeral lost. The woman giggled innocently, contrasting her get-up greatly. Her get-up was the perfect definition of every pervert's wet dream. A dark purple armor that left nothing to imagine. The breastplate looked like fingers coiling from the behind, covering her bare busts. It had spaces between and looked like it was made of out lace, showing flawless pale skin. Her stomach was bare barbed purple piercing on her navel. She had two pink marks going down her face and her eyelashes turned purple and grew longer. Her pupils were purple with white flakes scattered around it. Long purple hair reaching her waist with two side bangs reaching her bust. She wore a tight long sleeve armor reaching her midriff. It looked scaly and was brown in color. Her breastplate looked like fingers holding her jugs in place and were made of golden metal. It revealed quite a lot of cleavage, pale cleavage. A dark blue overflowing scarf covered her mouth. She wore dark purple pants that seemed almost like second skin on her. She was barefooted and had ornaments on her ankles. Her hands too had the same ornaments. Two short swords were sheathed on her hips. All in all, she looked like a goddess. Martha? John called out to his sister, his voice thick with despair and disbelief, barely above a whisper but she heard. Big brother, it's me your baby sister, she replied with a giggle. Naruto stared at her, bewilderment plastered on his face. He gritted his teeth, his eyes were red with anger and tears threatened to fall down. Did I fail again? Did I fail to protect someone I swore to keep safe again? Naruto stared at Martha. A particular memory he kept deep in his brain locked in a small box that's inside another huge vault came out of the box he locked it in. The brief memory of him and Sasuke smiling at each other as the Shin Chibaku Tensei was completed only for a wave of chakra he's never felt before, even greater than that of the 10 tails, pulled the sealing technique apart. Naruto gripped his fist hard till he bled. Seals don't do shit these days, he should have known better. Martha, hey, what are you wearing? We had to go home. I made myself a promise to buy everyone a good meal when I receive my paycheck. You're joking around, right? This isn't funny anymore. Naruto watched John walk towards Martha, harsh blade in hand, and thought, he's lost it. Martha chuckled till it became a full-blown, evil laugh. Oh, brother, can't you see? This is what I've always wanted all along. I've never felt so alive. Come join me, brother, we will be together, forever. John, we both know that's not Martha, she's messing with your head, bro, Naruto warned. John turned around gaining a tiny fraction of his sanity back. But that's Martha, right there. She's just pulling a prank in that cosplay, trying to scare us. I told her not to hang out with you too much. Now you see, she's picked up your bad habits. Brother, please, I need you. Don't you love me anymore? Don't you want to see me happy? Martha touched down on the surface of the water perfectly. No disturbance was transferred, no waves were formed, just felt like landing on solid ground. Please, brother, I love you. Don't leave me, Martha pleaded and held her arms out for a hug. John continued moving towards his sister like a zombie. Wait, I'm coming to your side, my baby sister. Naruto pulled John back, slapped him in the face, grabbed him by the collar, and lifted him up. Snap out of it, John. That's not Marie. That's not your Martha, Naruto yelled. Stay out of this, outsider. Naruto's eyes widened when he heard Martha's voice behind him. Her voice sent shivers down his spine. He never knew she could sound like this, almost as cold as Kaguya's voice. Please, Martha, stop this. I know you're inside there somewhere. Naruto turned his head to see the transformed Martha up close, only to be met by a powerful kick to the face that dislocated his jaw. Pow! Naruto traveled a great distance instantly, splitting the surface of the water in two as he bounced off it. He crashed into a rock poking out of the ocean and shattered it completely. He kept going on till he crashed into another bigger one and stopped. He coughed up a lot of blood and his jaw was dislocated, his arms bent at an odd angle. Naruto Uzumaki felt real pain for the first time in months and it hurts. It hurts so bad. Martha and John weren't in his line of sight anymore, their signature was far from his position. Now, brother, it's just you and me. Hey, Martha, Naruto is almost like family to us now. Though he might be a jerk sometimes, he's a good man. No, he's not. Don't you get it? But, Naruto is our friend. No, he's not our friend. He let the demon take control of me. Naruto Uzumaki killed me. He promised to keep me safe but he failed, he's a failure. Naruto appeared and heard all she said. The bijus were helping him but the damage he received from that kick was quite lethal. She's right, I'm a failure. If I had paid more attention to the seal back then, Naruto thought. John, she's just messing with your head. He yelled and fell to his knees. He underestimated the amount of damage the kick dealt to his body. John was confused, seeing Naruto on his knees, he didn't know what to say. Come to me, brother. Let me decide for you. She opened her arms and all John had to do was take a few steps to reach her, which he was doing. John, yes, my beloved brother, come to me, Martha cooed with her gentle, innocent smile. John spread his arms out and tried to hug her but Harshblade took over and a cloak, like Naruto's one-tailed state, covered his body, and then rage took over. He whipped out the blade and tried to cut Martha's head off but it stopped a millimeter away from her neck. You deny me my end of the bargain? The sentient being inside Harshblade asked, struggling against John. John gripped his right wrist with his left hand. Why, you can take anything but not my baby sister. Such love, such a shame. My brother is incapable of killing me. The one capable of doing that deed hesitates and it's frankly quite boring without him challenge and disappointment present on her face. The possessed hunter placed her index and middle finger on Harshblade and pushed it down. She walked towards Naruto and disappeared all of a sudden and a second later Naruto did too. This girl. Naruto thought as she pummeled him through multiple rocks growing from under the ocean until she kicked him towards the massive mountain in the distance. Naruto felt his spinal cord crack in two when she held his neck and slammed him into the mountain. She's grown so powerful, he thought, nearing the edge of unconsciousness. She was continuously punching him in the face till she dragged him over the surface of the mountain all the way up and into the sky before she spread out 6 purple angel-like wings and descended down with a purple lightning strike from above with Naruto, flattening the top of the mountain upon impact. You bore me, Naruto ni, don't get in my way ever again. She straddled him and balled his sleeves in her slender arms. Martha, Naruto coughed out. Martha cupped his face and caressed his whisker marks softly. I'll make it quick and gently, Naruto ni, she whispered sensually before her scarf pulled itself down and she claimed his lips with her dark purple ones. Naruto couldn't move as all his body became stiff the moment her lips touched his. Her lips melted with his mouth eagerly sucking his lower lips, biting and gnawing on it before she snaked her tongue in and explored his mouth eagerly. The moment her tongue touched his, she secreted a viscous purple saliva and pushed it deep into Naruto's mouth. The blonde's veins turned purple as she pulled her tongue out his mouth and released his lips, a thin trail of saliva connecting them. Naruto's eyes widened when he saw tears stream down her face. Goodbye, Naruni. And like that Martha was gone. That was Martha. She's still somewhere inside there, Naruto thought and gathered nature energy trying to flush out the poison. John stood on dark solid ground on one knee as his sister appeared right in front of him. The aura had receded back in but faint traces were still there. Martha, kill me right now. I don't think I can suppress him anymore, John ordered. That's what you want, brother. John lifted his head up and stared into his sister's purple eyes. Please. Well, if that's what you want, it's my duty as your sister to make you happy. Martha unsheathed both swords, twirled them in her hands, and stabbed John in the gut but it didn't feel right. Warm hands were hugging her in a tight embrace. Orange filled her vision and her anger rose towards the blonde shinobi. I know you're still in there, Martha. You gotta fight Akshay? No, we are one, never to be put asunder again. Her voice switched between a Shirik and hers. Naruto grabbed her shoulders and pulled her back. Martha, you're still in there, you're strong, fight him, don't you want to see your brother again? Martha's eyes glistened with tears as the white flakes disappeared from her eyes. She pushed Naruto away but the blonde didn't let go. They were at the edge of the mountain when Martha turned her body around and hugged Naruto close. Curse you, human, a Shirik raged mentally as the last of his consciousness went to sleep. Martha successfully suppressed a Shirik. The 16-year-old girl caressed Naruto's face as the memories she shared with the blonde human disappeared one by one. She stared at him fondly as tears cascaded down her face. Thank you for everything, Naruto ni, I'm sorry for being a bother and a burden, but please, let me place this last burden on you." She gave him her widest grin as the last of her memories with the blonde disappeared slowly. "Please, I'm begging you, keep my brother safe. He'll never do it, but you can." Naruto shook his head, tears threatening to fall, and oh, no. He knew what she was going to ask, but Naruto never, ever wanted to make that kind of choice again, ever. "Naruto you can do it. Please, kill me. No, Martha, don't give up. I can't do that again." Naruto was crying at this point. Martha placed her fingers on his lips to shut him up and shook her head negatively. The last memory was the first time she laid eyes on the shinobi of Konohagakure for the first time, when she was held at gunpoint by another and Naruto walked up to her fearlessly and asked, "How much for these?" Martha's smile widened at that memory. "Thank you, Naruto." Martha pushed him away and stabbed herself with the knife. "Now, you can do it, right?" she asked with an eye smile as blood leaked from the corner of her lips. Martha?" John's eyes were wide as his tear gland leaked like a faucet. Naruto, the cold bastard's heart tore to pieces as tears streamed down his face. Both adults watched as she fell down the edge of the mountain. Naruto felt his heart freeze when she was overtaken by a dark aura and unfurled her wings before she took to the sky. "Ah, such melodrama." Ashiroke's voice came out this time around, mocking the blonde shinobi. Naruto couldn't sense Martha anymore. The demon was in complete control. Her will was the only thing stopping him, and when she said her goodbyes and left the rest to Naruto, her consciousness was swallowed whole. The ninja's bangs shadowed his eyes as he held his head down. The damsel in distress sacrificed herself to make things easier for the cold hero. How tear-jerking it was as she begged her beloved Naruto. Ashiroke's voice took over, but the form was still Martha's. He was using the same face, same eyes, same smile, but different voice to taunt the blonde. Naruto snapped his eyes wide open. His irises were now black cross-shaped, the horizontal bars of the sage mode and the vertical slits of Kurama's chakra entering his own system. All the hate, anger, frustration, rage, ki, all his negative emotion came out full throttle as a thick aura of red and golden chakra surrounded him, bathing him in an ethereal glow. He whispered one word with so much hate as he glared at Mars' form in the sky in such a way that Ashirok was taken aback. Kurosu. The end. And there and done. Martha's gone to nowhere and John's broken and Naruto is livid. What's gonna happen? Will the blonde kill Martha? Will John go berserk and attack everything in sight? How powerful is the current Ashirok? Well then, till next time I update, stay beautiful. Thanks for the 1000 plus follows and the 900 plus favorites and 260 plus reviews. It's deeply appreciated. Thanks to everyone who continues to read my work. Without you guys, I'd just be a sad writer. A big thank you to the guests and the silent readers too. Thank you so much everyone. Thanks to my man Destructo08, he gives me the confidence to write more chapters. He's great at killing my grammatical blunders and my misspellings and every major and little mistake I make. He's a true godsend. Chapter 18. Naruto Uzumaki was truly infuriated at something for the first time in a while. There was this burning sensation in his gut. A familiar sensation many have given into. The urge to kill. The urge was so bad, it was like a rock set ablaze in a sea of lava. It was like the top of a sealed volcano exploded all of a sudden and the volcano roared to life, spouting a geyser of hot lava and ash that burned everything in its path. Yes, right now, Naruto Uzumaki was a volcano burning over the brim with Kyuubi's chakra. Kurama was indeed a powerful being, second only to the 10 tails chakra-wise, and all that power was being channeled to fuel the desire of its partner. The cloak of Kurama Sage Mode wasn't even complete before the mountain top where Naruto stood on was flattened as he rocketed at neck-breaking speed towards the source of his ire, his anger, his thirst for genocide, the demon Ashirok. A golden, glowing hand gripped Martha's face and like a space rocket, they flew a great distance, leaving golden and purple streams in their wake as they traveled the dark sky. Ashirok pried Naruto's hands off her face mid-flight as the blonde human took her far away. She let a smirk grace her face, an action that seemed to drive Naruto crazier. The blonde roared as he drove the demon down into the waters. A splash disturbing the surface of the water occurred after both man and demon touched down. Ashtha will be used to refer to Martha and Ashirok fused form, crouched, riding on the wave that was many times his size, with that same smirk on her features. A smirk she could never pull off if she was in control of her body. And watched the glow covered by huge drops of water as another wave that traveled the opposite side roared. When the great water body died down, Ashtha finally had the chance to take in every little detail of the blonde shinobi. His clothes looked like they were made out of raw, dense chakra, the densest Ashtha's ever seen. You truly are a magnificent one, Naruto Uzumaki. I declare you the strongest human ever, she said after she sensed the output of chakra he was giving. Naruto did nothing but glare with contempt, his cloak billowing with the strong window. Ashtha rose to her feet and pointed a hand at Naruto. I declare you the strongest human ever. Give her back, Naruto said, barely above a whisper. What? I said, give her back, come and get me, to knee. Naruto growled uncharacteristically and blitzed forward, and so did Ashita. A gust of wind blew the surface of the ocean apart as they clashed a few feet above the waters. Both contestants had their dominant arms out and their hands joined together. The prophecy is fulfilled, and yet, another prophecy takes its place. One that is not of this world shall stand in the way. With a heavy choice, he shall vanquish the demon of old and bring lasting peace to the Hunter family. Naruto glared at Ashita. Ashita glared back with an infuriating smirk. Both were ready for whatever it takes to achieve their goals. The time starts now. Round 3, fight. Both fighters rebound off each other and Naruto dashed forward and threw a horizontal punch at her face. Ashita snorted as he slapped Naruto's wrist down and leaned forward, her left hand balled into a fist as it traveled towards the blonde. Naruto parried her fist and took a step back, expecting her momentum to throw her forward, which it did. But he underestimated her flexibility. She bent forward and raised her legs and tried to kick the blonde. Naruto drifted to a halt as he raised his hands to absorb the force behind the kick. Ashita dashed forward and kicked the ninja in the gut. They both engaged in a brief, fast-paced taijutsu bout, deflecting punches and kicks. Naruto kept on dodging her attacks while Ashita scored a few hits in. What's wrong? Where did all that bloodlust go? She taunted as she punched him in the face. Naruto swerved back and she grabbed his wrist. You are nothing but a coward. Face me, Uzumaki, or I'll kill the brother with the sister's body, she hollered as she threw the blonde over her head. Ashita watched as the blonde sailed in the air and wanted to chase after him, but a hail of fireballs stopped her attempts. She dodged the huge fireballs, jumping left and right before a huge stream of fire followed. The ocean surface steamed as the flames covered a wide area. Ashita smirked and took in a deep breath before she blew a stream of ice. Fire and ice battled for dominance, and it seemed like the ice had the upper hand before Naruto's shuni shined behind Ashita and backhanded her. Ashita skidded to a halt and Naruto appeared right in front of her. He threw 2 haymakers which she dodged. She tried to deliver a roundhouse kick when she saw an opening, but it was a feint. The blonde ninja caught her leg and dragged her closer, landing an earth-shattering punch to her cheek. Ashita drifted across the waters and landed on a mountain in the distance, a trail of blood leaking from the corner of her lips. She smirked when she saw his killing intent was now focused and his stance had settled. His demeanor, his aura, his presence, everything about him seemed to settle down. The blonde snapped his eyes open and his eyes told it all. Those eyes were calm just like a few hours ago. That's more like it, Naruto. Play Emma the Monkey King Ost. The mountain rumbled mightily as both contestants released their energies. Both were finally getting serious, it seems. Ashita ran forward and stomped on the ground. Lots of huge boulders broke out of the mountain top and hovered in the air for a moment before she launched them all at the blonde shinobi like football. Naruto ran forward, cutting the boulders with Reikiri. He thrust his lightning-covered hand forward, extending a long blade made of pure lightning chakra. Ashita cut through the lightning beam with her twin swords and sheathed them as she neared the blonde. Both contestants reared their fists, balled them, and powered them up with a massive amount of energy. Their fists collided, causing a shockwave that sent ripples through the surface of the water near the mountain. Naruto only waited for a fraction of a second before he descended on her while she was still somewhat stunned from the impact of their fists. Ashita groaned when Naruto delivered a spinning kick which connected before a clone appeared right in front of her and closed the short distance between them. The clone stopped right in front of her face before he smirked and exploded. The explosion swept her off her foot, and while she was in the air, 2 water dragons crackling with lightning rose out of the waters and swallowed her whole before diving back into a deep square pit in the ground. Naruto, who had his hands on the ground, clapped his hands together, sealing the pit. The pit exploded with a wave of purple energy and Ashita came out unscathed. A gargantuan wall of sand followed. It was so massive it blocked the view of the ocean. Ashita raised her hand at the wall. A purple magic circle appeared on her palm before she fired off a huge beam that split the sand wall into 2. Ashita had her guard up instantly. Naruto was nowhere to be found. Her eyes widened in surprise when a massive hand made of sand with blue markings grabbed her in the air and slammed her down. As her body bounced off the mountain top, Naruto spewed a wave of hot blue flames like a super overpowered flamethrower. A wide magic circle stopped the flames on its track as Ashita appeared behind the blonde in a magic circle and fired off a pure energy beam that eclipsed the wall of flame, spearing through it, pushing the flames away as it dug a trench that cut through the mountaintop and beyond. The mountaintop was vaporized instantly and Naruto stood in the middle, unhurt. Is this all you can do in that form? Such a shame. Martha placed her hopes in the likes of trash like you. Naruto leveled a hate-filled glare at her before he closed his eyes and took calm breaths, doing a sage breathing exercise, trying to purge the negative emotions out. Owing was obvious though, it wasn't working at all. The only thing stopping him from throwing S-rank jutsus around is Martha's face. Instead of trying to purge his evil feelings, he used the breathing exercise to assure himself that wasn't Martha anymore. "Ashirik, I'm going to kill you." Naruto snapped his eyes open with strong, unwavering resolve. A Hiraishin kunai poofed out of the seals on his wrists. Naruto shunshined above her and an Odama Rasengan the size of Gamabunta roared to life. It was like someone lit a gigantic bulb in the dark, desolate dimension. Ashitha raised her hands at the incoming ball and a purple magic circle, bigger than the Rasengan, took the brunt of the attack. The magic circle smushed the Rasengan out and fired off a huge beam of destruction into the night sky, splitting the clouds apart. "Who would have thought I can throw dark erasers of this kind of level around like it's nothing? I have truly ascended to godhood," she thought as she fired dark erasers after dark eraser as Naruto either rolled out of the way or teleported out of danger. She placed both palms forward and fired off another dark eraser that was much more powerful than the other ones. Naruto placed the kunai horizontally, balancing it with his thumb and middle fingers, in front of his face at the incoming beam. "Flying Raijin. Guiding Thunder," Naruto intoned. Its effect was instantaneous. The beam was sucked away into the space right in front of the blonde before it was returned with the same ferocity back at the center. A clone poofed into existence below on the water with a biju Rasenshuriken in hand. Ashitha saw both attacks coming and thought, "Sneaky fox." She unsheathed the two swords in her hips and pointed one at the beam and absorbed it. The sword glowed purple before the energy was transferred back into the other one. She swung her hand at the biju Rasenshuriken, releasing a purple beam that split the incoming jutsu in two as it detonated prematurely. Naruto threw his kunai at her and she tilted her head, dodging the knife effortlessly. Her blank stare turned to one of genuine surprise when Naruto disappeared from her line of sight, only to later morph into a horror when the blonde ninja's hands ripped through her heart. She coughed up blood as the sound of 1,000 chirping birds filled her ears. "How is this possible? He shouldn't be able to hurt me in this form," she mulled. Right now, she was practically invisible. Only attacks that affect its target on a molecular level can work on her. Is it because they haven't synced completely, or is the blonde a special case? "Is that supposed to end my life?" she asked, coughing up blood. Purple bangs casted a shadow over her eyes as she gripped the blonde's arm. "Don't mess with me, blondie. Right now, I am a god," she yelled, flaring her energy to match Naruto's Kurama mode. Her eyes glowed purple as she reared her head back and headbutt the ninja away. Naruto skidded to a halt on all fours and snapped his head at Ashitha when he felt the massive amount of magic she was building up. The sky was getting darker as time went by. "Play need to be strong. Let me show you the pinnacle of Dark Eraser," she said as she crossed both hands with her twin blades in her hand. The sky darkened even further and the water sloshed around restlessly. Purple thunder traveled across the sky and struck the blades. Both blades fused together and became a standard katana with no sheath. Her eyes glowed purple and the blonde Uzumaki widened his legs, bracing for whatever was coming. A Bijudama was growing to the size of an Odama Rasengan in his hands and 3 mini Rasenshuriken orbited around the menacing ball. Ashitha swung her arm forward and a wave of purple energy erupted from it, swallowing Naruto whole as he threw the Wakusei Biju Rasendama at the beam. The purple beam split the waters into two as far as the eyes could see. A good portion of the ocean and anything in the line of the beam was erased completely. Naruto stood inside a badly damaged chakra construct, his right arm outstretched. The massive fox head was damaged so bad only its lower jaw was present. The glowing ninja stared at his hand and frowned heavily at Ashitha. His right hand was smoking, a dark blister covered the entire arm and it wasn't healing. Naruto glared at the self-proclaimed god and the image of a lot of people overlapped hers. Naruto lowered his chin and bit his cheek with suppressed fury. "I'm gonna kill this bitch." Naruto jumped higher and higher till he was above her. Kurama's head receded and roared back to life in a complete state around the shinobi and he charged up a massive Bijudama as big as the Odama Rasengan he created earlier. "Naruto, you intend to wipe her out?" Kurama asked his partner, all 9 tails swishing about in the sewer that is his mindscape. Naruto watched the pink dot which was Ashitha below with a blank face as the Bijudama grew larger and larger. "Naruto, John is still in this dimension. He's far away from us, he'll be safe. I should have killed this fucker since day one." "Nah." Naruto cut the mental link between him and his tailed beast, tired of the warnings. "Be gone, demon." Naruto thrust his arm forward and like a gun going off in an Olympic race, the massive Bijudama roared forward. "Naruto Uzumaki, you really are full of surprises. You never cease to amaze me." Ashitha thought she saw the massive Bijudama growing bigger and bigger. Ashitha sighed and closed her eyes. With enough power to flatten a meteorite, the Bijudama honed in on its target and Naruto shielded his eyes from the bright light of his jutsu before. God style. Absolute eraser. Naruto's eyes widened uncontrollably when the Bijudama disappeared. Nope, not disappeared, more like it was erased out of existence. Inconceivable, Naruto thought. All that chakra just vanished as if it wasn't there in the first place. What did you do? He asked, more like yelled. Asta cackled and decided to explain to him anyway. You see, I can control space-time to a certain extent, but it consumes a lot of energy. That was why I was able to break out of that prison with help from Harshblade. I could only use it on a small scale, but now, I am invincible. I have achieved immortality, Uzumaki, she said. She rose higher than the blonde. That's more like it, the higher creature should be on top, she thought as she stared at the blonde. Immortality? You are just a super powerful demon, he replied. Ashta clenched her fist and reared it back. A purple magic circle with flakes around it materialized in front of her fist, spinning like a clock. God style. Big chill. She punched her fist at the blonde ninja. The magic circle grew so big it encompassed a wide area. An ice-cold energy traveled around the area, freezing everything. The waters were now a sea of rock-hard ice. Ashta watched as the ice around the blonde steamed and he broke free of it. You are too strong to be left alone, Uzumaki. I respect your strength and I'd rather have someone like you beside me, she commented. Ashta balled her fist and the ice below burst into pieces. Huge shards as big as the pieces of rock from the Chibaku Tensei were flying in the air as they all spinned around, their tip pointed at the blonde. An almost innumerable mass of magic circles hovered in the heavens, spinning around, ready to let whatever was inside them out. She's finally taking you seriously, Kurama said. That earlier Bijudama was powerful enough to destroy the Gedo statue and she snuffed it out like it was nothing. Oi, Naruto, you might need to bust that out, he warned his Jinchuriki, but the boy did not heed to the warning. With her mental command, all the ice shades rained on the blonde ninja. I can't dodge them all. Think of this as a payback for that sealing technique. She balled her fist and the barrage of ice charged downward at an unreasonable speed. It was just too fast as the ice he was standing on rumbled and the barrage kept going more than 1 minute. The magic circles in the AP and released in an instant. Swish boom. A Bijudama detonated, countering the barrage. He countered that? She mused out loud, staring at the head and torso of a fox whose face was badly singed. A kitsune? Naruto, I'm fine, he replied. I can't believe it, she's keeping Naruto at bay, Yuki pondered, staring at the fusion of demons and women in the sky. She looked barely winded and here was Naruto trying to even his breath. Is he still hesitating because of that girl? Ashta appeared in front of Naruto, a compressed dark eraser in her hand as she punched the fox head off. Naruto jumped out of his avatar and landed on water. The mountain had been destroyed with all the attacks they were throwing around. She appeared behind the blonde and tried to backhand him. He spun around in time, a Rasengan in hand. Ashta gripped the Rasengan and it was snuffed out of existence before her palms connected with the blonde's. Kurama's eyes widened in the seal when he sensed it. There was something fishy going on. Ashta grinned as she kicked the blonde on his knee joint, forcing him to kneel. Their hands were still connected when eyes glowed purple again. God style. Evil vacuum of destruction. 5 consecutive magic circles raced from her hand and engulfed Naruto whole before he was blasted away. The magic circles rotated and created a void that seemed to pull in all directions. The blonde Uzumaki screamed as he was rocketed back. His cells felt as if they were on fire. His entire being was being pulled apart before the seal exploded, sending him bouncing off the waters. A beam followed and near the brink of consciousness, he couldn't dodge. John was flying in the air when he saw a golden being flying towards him. He caught the being in the air in hopes of stopping it but was dragged along. John landed, swerving on the waters holding the golden being who was actually Naruto. If John was doubting it, he was convinced now, the nagging thought he denied. Naruto was a god in human disguise. John, I can't do it, she's too strong. Naruto lamented, bleeding. He just couldn't kill another person he liked, another person he should have protected. If I gave it my all from the start, if I had just put an end to a Shirik before he became a real threat. I'm sorry John, I failed you. I wasn't giving my all. Damn it, what the fuck is wrong with me? Naruto slapped himself before he punched the surface of the water. Even now, he was holding back a great deal, but this time around, he had a valid reason. He wanted to believe Martha was still alive. He didn't want to comprise the life of one for many because he believed all life was precious and equal. Because he was being naive again, trying to protect everyone. John listened to everything with a blank face. He didn't recognize the flaming individual anymore. Is this Naruto Uzumaki? He asked himself. He highly doubted it. Naruto, I messed up big time myself. I wanted power so bad I bargained with Harshblade, so consumed by the need for power. I made a deal that ultimately killed the one thing I wanted to protect the most. John fought back bitter tears as he spoke. You're not the only failure here. I might as well have killed Martha myself. Even though she's gone, I really want to kill that bastard. I want revenge, Naruto. I want to avenge my sweet little sister who didn't deserve all of this. He yelled in Naruto's face. Will you help me get revenge, Naruto? he asked, tears streaming down his face. Naruto looked at the hand John offered and let a ghost smile grace his face. I might always seem to fail at protecting those precious to me, but I never failed to avenge my loved ones. Naruto took John's hand and rose from his knees. He never failed to avenge his loved ones, together. Together, for Martha. Both adults smiled. Ah, big bro, Naruto ni. Look at the both of you, so cute. Ashita mocked with all 6 wings spread out. Both human adults went on guard instantly. 2 adults ganging up with hostile intentions to kill a lady, mommy would be sad, big brother. Don't you dare call out her name with that vile tongue of yours, John growled. You just called your baby sister's tongue vile. Ashita feigned hurt. You are not my baby sister. The cop spat back. Finally, someone who understands Martha is dead. Gone, Ashita thought. John, I'll take front, you support from the back, Naruto said, moving forward. Let's kill this bitch once and for all. Come at me, boys, she yelled, flapping her wings as she dove down at them. Naruto dashed forward with 2 Rasen Shuriken. John followed behind him, harsh blade in a vice grip. Naruto threw both Rasen Shurikens at her. Ashita dodged both Rasen Shuriken as they detonated behind her. Naruto clapped his hand and summoned an earth dragon he rode on towards Ashita. She pulled her katana out and slashed down, creating a crescent wave of purple energy. Naruto held his arms out and split the beam with his bare hands. His hands turned mechanical and he fired off a rocket hand that took her by surprise. Smoke filled the air and John entered the fray in a deadly dance with Ashita. Crescent Eraser. Dark Eraser. Both techniques collided, canceling each other out. Naruto observed the battle and thought the Crescent Eraser was much weaker than the Dark Eraser, yet it cancelled the powerful technique. Time to test his theory. Naruto bent his knees and leapt towards Ashita. The policeman and demon were in a kenjutsu match with the demon gaining the upper hand before Ashita saw the blonde out of the corner of her eye and kicked John away. She raised her sword and tried to cleave the blonde in 2. Naruto grabbed her sword with a chakra hand and struck her gut with a Raiden. Rasengan. The attack only seemed to scorch her stomach armor. The armor repaired itself, but the main purpose was to render her immobile for a split second. Naruto blitzed forward and slapped a seal on her, locking her in a vice grip for safety precaution as he screamed at John, John, hit me with a Crescent Eraser now. Ashita struggled against her restraints, trying to break free. Do it now, John. Trust me. Kurama's tail swished in the seal as he watched what was going on with keen interest. The biju rose from the sewer and decided to contact the blonde when his field test was over. Alright. John raised his sword up and purple energy bubbled to life. Crescent, he began, pulling his sword in his right hand to his left shoulder in such a way that he could fire a flat, horizontal Crescent Eraser. Eraser. John fired off a huge Crescent Eraser that engulfed both Naruto and Ashita. Naruto walked behind John, staring at the Crescent Eraser as it battled the magic circle Ashita conjured to defend herself. The beam cut through and made an impact with both Blonde and Ashita. Poof. A clone? John asked. Yes, Naruto replied. 5 clones behind him. Ashita came out with a crescent mark on her hand. It bled for a moment before it healed. It looks like I was right, Naruto mused. Not only did that attack cut through her magic circle, but it also managed to injure her. John, how many of those can you manage? He asked, referring to the Crescent Eraser he just used. As many as you want. Good, cause I'm going to need a lot. Doden. Daichidokaku. 3 clones slammed their hands on the floor and solid ground rose out of the water. A clone shined above and held 8 Hiraishin Kanai in his fingers. Kanai Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. The Hiraishin Kanai were scattered around in a pattern. John, you're ready? Clone Naruto asked. The original Naruto was fighting Ashita one-on-one, diverting her attention. His Kanai was no match for her katana, though his blood seeped from the nicked skin. Ready, John replied, and Clone Naruto placed a hand on his back and the both of them disappeared in an instant. Ashita was about to punch Naruto when a Crescent Eraser appeared out of nowhere. Flustered, she lashed out with her own Dark Eraser using her katana. Naruto appeared behind her and kicked her. Crescent Eraser hit her this time. The demon groaned when her breastplate split in 2 and blood gushed from a gash on her chest. Her skin regenerated and flawless pale skin was visible for a moment before a flare of purple energy covered it and died down to reveal a new breastplate. It's working, Naruto yelled. Ashita finally took in her surroundings and saw they were all positioned at odd angles and knives were littered across the ground. She glared at John, who flinched under her gaze but still held a firm grip on his sword. Alright, let's go, Naruto yelled. The assault began and Ashita managed to dodge a few times before each attempt to hurt her became successful. She couldn't leave, she couldn't stop the barrage. The original Naruto made sure of it. This went on for a few minutes before it became a full-blown assault with no space to breathe. He's teleporting the hunter with him and I can't leave this place, she thought, staring at the clones at the edge of the solid earth the Uzumaki created. Then, I'll just have to destroy the ground. Ashitha jumped up and charged up a dark eraser. A clone threw his kunai at the beam and used guiding thunder to redirect it. TCH, this is harder than I thought. She mused. A certain nasty crescent eraser got her and Naruto took the opportunity to land a perfect blow. They exchanged a brief bout of taijutsu which ended when Naruto kicked her away. Ashitha spat a mouthful of blood and grinned, showing all her teeth. God style. Evil vacuum void. The magic circle that threatened to split Naruto apart engulfed the artificial ground he created on a wide scale. Naruto's eyes instantly bled purple and he held his hand out. He could take that kind of attack but John would be ripped to shreds. He doesn't stand a chance. Demetsu. Shines Tensai. Naruto intoned, creating a gravitational field barrier around him and John. The barrier held on and protected them from the lethal attack. Naruto stood his ground, pondering on a hard decision. Should I bust it out or not? At this rate, I finally understand that only attacks that can affect something on an atomic level can damage this guy. Oi, Naruto. I have something to tell you. Forget about bringing that to the fight. Kurama tapped his Jinchuriki with his claw inside the mindscape, gaining his attention. Naruto was pondering so hard, he didn't notice Ashitha coming until John called his attention. Naruto threw his fist out in pure reflex, halting Ashitha's fist. His eyes widened when he felt two souls inside the body. He tried to pry further but he was pushed out violently. Naruto and Ashitha gasped as they withdrew their fist. John used his sword to chase her away. That was what I was trying to warn you about. It seems you're too worked up to notice when you bumped fists with her until now, Kurama remarked. What did you do? What were you trying to do? Ashitha screamed. John stared at her in confusion. Both super beings seemed wary of each other now. Oi, Naruto, I have a plan. Kurama's tail swished around as he lay his head on his paw. I'm listening, he replied inside the mindscape. A few moments later. John, remember, you have only one chance, Naruto told him after explaining the plan. John nodded and took a step back. Naruto summoned a clone and both went through a few hand seals and finished with the tiger seal. Kambajutsu. Sweden, Raiden, Suirarayuden no Jutsu. They both yelled, creating a massive dragon made out of water and lightning. It raced towards Ashitha but she dodged it and evaporated it with a beam when it turned around like a honing on her like a homing device was installed on it. The technique dispersed to little bubbles and surrounded Ashitha. They all exploded creating a smokescreen. Now, John, Naruto yelled. John released a battle cry and dashed forward. He saw the unmistakable silhouette of his sister's possessed form and thrust his blade. Harsh blade was a millimeter away from stabbing her from the gut before she blurred out of existence and stabbed John in the gut. No, John, Naruto yelled, running forward. She smirked as she drove the knife deep into his gut. John coughed up blood, his eyes wide with horror. Ashitha smirked and placed a hand on his shoulder and drove the sword in even further when John suddenly turned into lightning and shocked her. Naruto appeared right in front of her and placed his palm on her chest. I hope this works, he thought. Ninjendo, Naruto yelled. It was just like that time back in the alley. Ashirik felt a pull but this pull wasn't on his soul. No, it was on Martha's soul. His eyes went wide like saucers when he realized what was happening. Ashitha pulled the soul back into his body but Naruto never relented. You're going to damage her soul, she yelled squelch. John drove harsh blade through her heart when she wasn't looking. It's worth trying. Pull my sister out of there, Naruto. Naruto roared and jumped back all of a sudden when he noticed he was inside Ashitha's inner world. A white chain connected to Martha's soul which was also linked to Ashiro's hands glowed. You think you can drag her soul away from me? What fate has joined together, let no man put asunder, Ashirik yelled, yanking at the chain with all his strength. Naruto sighed as he was pulled back against his will, feeling his own soul getting pulled along. His sigh was a nostalgic one, chuckling as he was being dragged without a single ounce of panic on his face. Why are you laughing? You finally realize how everything you do is, before me, hopeless, Ashirik asked. No, I played this kind of game with the equivalent of a god in my world, and I won, Naruto yelled as he grabbed the chain with both hands and pulled. What are you doing? How is this possible? Ashirik asked as they both were at a stalemate. Give her back. She's mine, Uzumaki, she's not yours, she's Martha Hunter. The baby sister of John Hunter and she is my friend, give her back. Never, Asta was clinging to the rope pathetically at this point. Give her back, damn you, Naruto, with a primal roar, Naruto pulled Martha's soul out of her body. Now, John, Naruto yelled, holding Martha's soul which was a green light in his hand. This is for my sister, you demon. Consecutive crescent eraser. John released crescent eraser after crescent eraser, tearing Ashitha to pieces. The king of hell rose from the ground and opened its mouth. Naruto placed Martha's soul in it and willed it back. Well done, Naruto. Now, all that remains is finding her a new body, Kurama smirked. It was a gamble, but luck was on their side. It's not a perfect victory yet. Martha was a soul without a body. The true victory is when they find her a new body. Ash thus skidded across the waters till he hit a boulder. He shook and quaked before letting out a howl as his anger rose to the sky. "Don't be so full of yourself, humans," he yelled as a wave of purple energy, unlike anything ever seen before, pushed them away. A pillar of purple energy that seemed to touch the sky rose up before it was snuffed out when a behemoth rose out of the water. It had the likened of Godzilla, tough hard skin, and a reptilian form. It roared as its feet made the ocean floor rumble as it walked towards them. "Naruto, how are we supposed to fight that?" John asked, his grip on his sword loosening in face of the gigantic behemoth. He chuckled when Naruto didn't reply. The blonde had his eyes trained on the incoming behemoth who splashed the ocean water up in the air with its feet as if it was playing inside a puddle of water. Well, comparing its size to the depth of the water from the ocean floor, you might get the idea. "Play night guy asked. "Don't worry, John, now, I can let loose," Naruto smirked. Kurama smirked. "Now, it's time to cut loose Naruto Uzumaki." Round 4, fight. The behemoth ran forward, its hand raised up as it tried to crush them. "Brace yourself, John," Naruto warned, clapping his hands together. "Ha!" The blonde Uzumaki roared, a pillar of golden chakra surrounding him before a behemoth was constructed from the pillar of golden chakra. Kurama blocked the hammer fist with his tails. The action triggered a tsunami instantly, a shockwave traveling with the massive wave of water. The winds picked up and John had to shield his eyes inside the fox avatar. A natural disaster just happened in a second, John thought. He felt rejuvenated all of a sudden, and that's when he noticed he was inside a warm, transparent energy being. "Is this chakra? I feel so warm and at peace." He saw Naruto standing on the neck of the massive fox construct, a flowing golden cloak with a tattered helm littered with holes. It only made him look cooler as they swished around. He noticed 9 lines scattered evenly across the helm of the cloak. "Hey, John, hold on tight," Naruto smirked at him over his shoulder. Kurama ducked under a punch and grabbed the midsection of the behemoth and lifted it off its feet. He spun on the balls of his feet and swerved backwards until he buried the behemoth's head under the ocean, breaking the ocean floor further. Water sloshing around. John just stared at everything going on, mouth agape. Something was telling him he could never understand the blonde, and he totally agreed. Kurama was on the behemoth's face, punching and clawing until it lashed out with its spiked tails. Kurama jumped back, skidding on all fours like a fox. The behemoth rose out of the water and roared back, "You're a Kyuubi." Naruto smirked and rushed forward on all fours. Ashirik threw a haymaker which Naruto slapped away and delivered an upper because of his agile build. Naruto reared his fist back and created a Rasengan proportional to the size of Kurama's hand and slammed it into the behemoth's chest. It staggered back as the Rasengan drilled through its skin. It hissed, releasing steam as it was healed at a rapid rate. "NN Naruto?" John stuttered, pointing at the behemoth. I saw it." An object was being covered rapidly by the flesh of the behemoth, and that object was Martha's body. "I wish you had a sword or something, Kurama." Kurama, who had both palms joined together gathering nature energy, smirked. "Too bad they couldn't really go all out. I have a sword, alright. In fact, I have 2 swords, but I can't use them right now. One is out of reach and the other, I can't use it right now." "TCH, cocky bastard," Naruto replied. They both knew both swords require another person's powers. It wasn't Kurama's, it was borrowed. "Akuzo, Kurama," Naruto yelled. The ethereal 9-tailed fox dashed forward, and rolled in the air, slapping the behemoth away with all 9 tails before charging up a bijudama. Ashirik opened his mouth wide and purple lightning and a magic circle charged up in his mouth. Behemoth Eraser. Bijudama. Boom. Both techniques evaporated the waters surrounding them. The ocean floor was visible and both contestants came out unscathed. "Look, John, I have a mission for you. Grab her body so you can get this over with," John finished for him. Took the words right out of my mouth. Boom. Kurama was doing the fighting while Naruto talked with John. A purple beam hit him while he was busy dodging the barrages. He groaned as he was pushed back. "Let's do this, John," Naruto hollered. Naruto roared, a supersonic roar, and 4 clones of Kurama appeared on all 4 sides, gaining up on Ashirik. "I will not be defeated," Ashirik yelled and held a clawed hand at Martha's body, trying to use it as leverage. "What a loser." Naruto leveled the behemoth with a flat look. "I'm gonna destroy her body," Ashirik threatened. The blonde now had 4 fox avatars in his command and he was outnumbered again. Ashirik wouldn't admit it, but he was afraid of the blonde. "Naruto." Whatever John wanted to say, Naruto cut him off when one of his clones threw a kunai at the behemoth from the seal on his wrist. "John, this is your cue," Naruto told him. Naruto grinned as he created a Bijurasen shuriken proportional to the fox avatar. The fox avatar raised its hand up and smirked. "I'll do it." The behemoth hollered, staring at the massive technique. The spinning blades made the water spin around the avatar, giving it a majestic look. The original Kurama did a tiger hand seal and called out the weird name of the jutsu he was about to use. Minato would be proud. Naruto's lips slowly curved to a smirk and he called out the name of the jutsu, Hireishin. Level 2. The massive fox avatar appeared above the behemoth and slammed the biju Shuriken into its back. Ashirik felt an unholy pain on his back as a nuke and thousands of wind blades cut through his flesh. He rocketed forward as big he was with neck-breaking speed. The Rasen Shuriken detonated and the clone in front of the behemoth kicked it up in the air. Uzumaki, 4 clones said as they kicked it higher and higher. The original one appeared above with the behemoth with John in his hand. He threw the human down at the incoming beast. Ashirik raised its arm to swat John away, but John avoided it with his wings and charged up a great amount of purple energy before swinging his sword, cutting off the behemoth's arm. John roared as he split the behemoth's chest open and dragged his sister's body out of it. Naruto axe kicked Ashirik back into the ocean and he landed on all fours a few feet away from the demon. A few feet from the avatar's perspective. Take them far away. It's time to end this, Naruto ordered his clone. Why do you take away what's mine? You humans are all the same, covetous. She's not a property for you to own, she's a person with feelings. You never asked her if she wanted any of this. I hate you all. You are not even in the prophecy and nor are you a hunter, so why are you fighting for them? Because, I can't believe I'm about to say this out loud, they are my friends. Ashirik stopped talking when he saw the resolve on the blonde's face. Let's put an end to this, Uzumaki Naruto. Ashirik regained control over his emotions. The frustration got to him as the human seemed to have a counter for everything he threw at him. The titanic fox wasn't something he was expecting at all. Yeah, Naruto powered down the avatar, but he was still in Kurama mode. Naruto went through a hand seal, mixing 3 elemental chakra, trying to recreate a Kekemora. Let's finish this. Oi, Naruto, what are you doing? You failed when you tried to do that once, Shukaku warned. It's the only way, Shukaku. Naruto levitated in the air, staring at the massive behemoth. But, the Tanuki tried to argue and was cut abruptly by Son Goku. Leave him alone. Let him try again. Life is full of trials and errors, and through them, we take a step closer to success, he yawned. Naruto is doing it right, Koko stated. He's my Jinchuriki, after all, Kurama smirked. Jinchuriki, the other tailed beasts replied. Kurama flicked his ear at them though. No matter what they say, he called dibs on the blonde. He's been with the blonde since his childhood. The behemoth opened its eyes wide open as its spine glowed purple, charging up energy for his ultimate technique. Put everything you've got left into this jutsu, Kurama, Naruto ordered. Behemoth style. Absolute vacuum eraser. Ashirik bellowed as he opened his maw wide and roared, a dark beam that destroyed everything in sight. This one's for Tsuchukage Jii-chan. Naruto finished the seal with both thumbs and index fingers joined together to create a triangle. A cube made of white chakra formed in front of Naruto's hand, a sphere in the center of it. Naruto remembered the name of the jutsu when old man Tsuchukage yelled it out in the war like it was yesterday. The old cage said. Jinten. Genkei Hikari no Jutsu. The cube structure expands rapidly in size as it was propelled towards its intended target, the incoming beam and the behemoth behind it. John glanced backwards and saw a rare sight of particle style versus absolutely vacuum eraser. Both techniques clashed with each other, none exerting dominance over the other. Them was slowly bending, matter vaporizing at an alarming rate. The temperature rose and the water boiled, releasing steam. Put everything into it, Naruto roared. The cube grew bigger and bigger till the cube encased the behemoth completely. The dark beam struggled with the walls of the cube and with a primal roar from both combatants, it detonated. The blast radius was washing over Naruto and the behemoth from view. John flew as fast as he could as the blast radius had already swallowed the clone whole and the last one threw him as far as he could. The shockwave of the attack threatened to consume him, but John escaped death at the skin of his teeth. The entire area was devoid of water and the ocean floor was all that remained. A square hole was in the ocean floor. Specks of residue energy were here and there before they gradually disappeared. Naruto stood over the bruised and injured form of Ashirik. The demon was on his back, breathing hard, half of his body gone. Naruto himself had blood cascading from an injury on his head and his clothes were in shreds, no longer in Kurama mode. Naruto went down onto his knees, dipped his hand into his mouth, and wrote a seal around Ashirik. The seal glowed a faint blue when he was completing the process with a tiger hand seal. I lose, Annie. John flew back towards Naruto and laid his sister's body gently on the floor. Naruto kneeled in front of her soulless body and placed her head on his lap. The king of hell rose from the ground and opened its mouth. Naruto grabbed Martha's soul and put it back into her body, a green glow covering her body due to the action. Both adults held their breaths expecting something to happen after the glow died down, but Martha remained motionless. "Come on, Martha," John yelled, shaking her body. He managed to cover her modesty with his shirt. Martha coughed as she opened her eyes groggily, like she just woke up from a long nightmare. "Be big, bro," she cried. John was overjoyed as he drew his sister closer to his chest and gave her a bear hug. John was openly crying like a baby with snot and all, crying a shit ton. Naruto smiled. A true smile as he watched both siblings cry on each other's shoulders. Today, Naruto Uzumaki saved someone close, someone precious. It felt like someone, just a person back home, was liberated from Mugen Tsukuyomi. It was a weird feeling, like his dearly departed were smiling at him from the afterlife. Naruto rubbed his head sheepishly, feeling out of place. He was about to leave both siblings to go check up on the demon before he was tackled by both siblings. "Thank you, Naruto ni, Naruto," both siblings yelled, hugging the blonde. The blonde ninja winced when they squeezed his sore body close. "See, can't breathe," Naruto wheezed out. Both siblings didn't let go, they squeezed him and tighter. Naruto sighed when he felt relief, joy, gratitude wash over them. "It's alright, it's over now." Martha and John finally let the ninja go. They saw Naruto smile for the first time, something they thought he was incapable of, a warm smile. A smile that reached his eyes. The moment was ruined when Ashirik began laughing. He went through a coughing fit and sighed, staring at the sky. A rift parted within the dark clouds and light sipped through. "Annie, looks like I'm destined to fail as always, huh? Are you happy?" Naruto turned around and walked closer to the demon, a Rasengan swirled to life in his hand, crackling with electricity. John was beside Naruto, harsh blade in hand. "It's time to end this, for real," Naruto said. He loomed over the demon and, as he was about to deal the finishing blow, Martha yelled at them to stop. John frowned at his sister as she took harsh blade from him and knelt beside the demon. "I saw everything," she began. "You come to pity me?" Martha shakes her head. "I feel like giving you a hug." Naruto raised an eyebrow at Martha. John had a preposterous look on his face and tried to interfere, but Naruto pulled him back. "Let them talk. They both saw their entire lives. Martha is only one who might be able to understand him." Understanding your enemies wasn't a new concept to Naruto. The blonde wanted to see how it plays out. Ashirik stared at Martha with a blank face. "Why? Do you think you understand my pain?" "I think I understand a little of it. The one you loved to death, the one you swore a blood path of love with, broke your trust and loyalty. I don't understand the betrayals, but I do understand love and loyalty. What do you know of my love for Annie? I wanted to give her the world ever since I saw her in that shrine thousands of years ago. I was ready to put an end to my world domination plan, turn into a new leaf just for her. We were truly happy for a while before that thief took her from me, your ancestor. And you did all this because you couldn't stomach her betrayal. You couldn't accept the fact that she bore a son for the mortal that stole her from you." Ashirik gritted his teeth. He'd love to rip her throat, but the seal holding him in place was very powerful. Naruto sighed as he listened in on their conversation. "Annie loved you." "No, she didn't, she was a backstabbing whore." "You're wrong." Martha shook her head. "When she saw what you had become, she blamed herself for it." "Shut up. She wanted to make amends, but it was too late." "Shut up. That's why she sacrificed her life for you." "Shut up. You knew, didn't you? As her son drove the sword that was meant to be a token of your love for her into her heart. You knew she was protecting you. She was protecting you and her son. She didn't want to see one of you dead." "Shut up." A tear streamed down the demon's eyes. "She was." "Enough. Say no more, kid. I guess you never learned to let go. Let your break sometimes, it's better to leave the past behind." "How am I supposed to do that?" he asked. "I guess that's something you have to find out by yourself," Martha replied with a smile. "I see, kid." Ashirik said nothing as he stared at the rift in the clouds. A ray of light fell on the group, and Ashirik, for the first time ever, took notice of such transient things. "I want to rest now. I want to be where Annie is. Take me to Annie, kid," Ashirik replied. He was past his prime, his time. Maybe it was time to go to his beloved. Martha sighed and gave him a smile before raising her blade up. She saw his entire life. At first, he was a brutal, evil demon bent on conquering the world. The humans under his banner worshipped him like a god. One day, he met the woman that changed his life. He suddenly detested violence. He was willing to lay down his arms to spend the rest of his life with her. He was even researching a way to become immortal, but he was betrayed by the one thing he loved. The one who promised to never leave him left him in the end. "I hope you find peace," Naruto replied. Ashirik smiled and gave Naruto a smile. "Thank you for stopping me in every junction, Uzumaki Naruto. Your valor and selfless acts will forever remain with me." Naruto nodded and the seal surrounding the demon disappeared. "John, you keep her safe." "I don't need you to tell me that," John replied, looking sideways. "Martha, thank you and I hope you forgive me." Martha nodded and Ashirik took his last breath. As if on cue, the sword sank into his core and he slowly faded to nothing. Ashirik smirked at her and gave her a wink before he became dust. He was looking forward to seeing her again. This time he would make things right. The last of the demons faded away and the clouds parted ways to let light in. Ma, who would have thought he was a big ol' softy lover boy? Naruto sighed, all the weariness catching up to him as he collapsed. As if you're one to talk, John yelled. That female fellow, the coworker, that teacher, I see you taking evening strolls with her, John yelled. Naruto gave him a flat stare all of a sudden. How did he know about his evening strolls with the silverette? John pursed his lips when he realized his mistake. What, me? Naruto asked incredulously. John looked around trying to make a comeback. Who? You're not denying the fact that you like her. Do you think I have the time for love? Naruto quipped. But you bought her a gift, didn't you? John smirked. Naruto narrowed his eyes. He was fully convinced right now. You two have been spying on, haven't you? John was sweating bullets as the blonde's eyes turned purple and he stretched his hands out. I swear, Gaia made me do it, John ratted out the resident goddess. This time it was Naruto's turn to smirk. No wonder he was unable to sense John. You and Gaia have a lot of explaining to do. Martha giggled at the sideline watching both adults banter back and forth as if the world wasn't at stake in an all-out battle a few moments ago. You were on this with them, weren't you? Naruto turned to Martha who was looking at the sky like it was very interesting. You little shit, Naruto's eyes twitched as Martha tried to run away. Come back here, Naruto pulled her back using Tendo. John flew towards his sister and pulled her back. Oh, so now you think you can defy me just because you can grow purple chicken wings? Naruto asked before 3 clones popped beside him. Charge? He ordered. This was what the remaining group saw when they finally broke the barrier separating them. More like, the restrictions placed on the barrier were lifted. 4 Narutos chasing John and Martha around inside a crater. A huge rock wall stopping the waters from overflowing in the distance. A good portion of the dimension destroyed. What the? Julio said, staring at the destruction and the humans below. They did it, Gaia commented, staring at the group, her stare lingering on Naruto. The blonde's normally hunched back looked like it was straightened a millimeter and his poker face was nowhere to be found. He was having fun chasing them around like an amateur, abusing his powers. Segun-sama, Ashirik is truly dead, Graphia announced. Segun didn't register Graphia's words as she was busy staring at the blonde ninja. He was the worst out of the group of 3, his clothes in tatters, bruises covering his body. Those 2 managed to defeat a super devil class being together, was all she could ponder. Segun-sama? Graphia tried to get her attention. Graphia couldn't fault her. With the feats the Uzumaki performed in front of them, it goes to show them that he was an extraordinary one. This is their victory. Let them celebrate, Segun ordered the devils. Naruto-san, Agatha yelled, her voice stopping Naruto in his tracks. Oi, clumsy angel, Naruto replied, waving at her. What a weirdo. He was back to his former self again when he saw the devils, poker face, unapproachable aura, the whole package, really. Scene change. Kuo, Uzumaki Mansion. After the battle, the whole group was teleported back home by the devils. Quavo included, who was now serving his term in prison. The precinct and the school were back to pristine condition and nobody had memories of what transpired anymore. The Ashirik team was now present in Naruto's humble abode. The blonde ninja was garbed in a white sweater with a hoodie and black pants. He was currently glaring at a cup of tea, mumbling about devil infestation and exorcism. Uzumaki Naruto, we cannot thank you enough for putting an end to the demon. Yeah, you have Martha Marie to thank, she dealt the finishing blow. Martha blushed when she was mentioned all of a sudden. Naruto did most of the fighting, I was only a burden. Hey, I helped too, John spoke up, feeling left out. As we promised, Kuroka has been pardoned of her sins and we will leave you be, Segun said. Naruto glared at Soji at the, we will leave you be, part. He has been acting weird after the demon ordeal. The devil was avoiding eye contact with him and he seemed mellow these days compared to the bloodlust he leaked subconsciously when he was around him. Thank you Sonic's older sister. Naruto knew her younger sister was Sonic, the student president. Soji twitched at the mention of Sonic. So, you guys are devils and angels for real? Yuri asked, sitting beside John. The blonde gave her a choice. Remember or forget, and she chose the latter on one condition. Never to tell a soul about the things she saw. So, if you guys are angels, devils, humans with demon powers, magicians, then, what are you, sensei? Yuri asked. Everyone except Gaia leaned close to hear Naruto's answer. The blonde was an enigma to all of them. Well, I am, Naruto glanced at everyone before he spoke, Class 3E's homeroom teacher. They all moaned. I'll solve the mystery of what you are one day, Yuri announced with burning determination. Are you perhaps, a Yukai? Graphia, who was normally reserved, was quite curious about the blonde. Naruto raised an eyebrow at her and shook his head. Are you an alien from outer space? Agatha's eyes lit up as she raised her hand, contributing her own thoughts on the topic. Nope. One thing is sure about what I am though. I am 100% human. That was a lie. Naruto Uzumaki is an alien. A blonde-haired, tan-skinned alien. Do you have a sacred gear? Beowulf asked. What's this? Interview the blondie? He asked while sipping his tea. Everyone was lost in thought trying to figure out the blonde. Well, you guys have overstayed your welcome. It's time to leave. All the devils present were gathered together in Naruto's living room in a group, ready to leave via teleportation circle. Seraphal took one glance at the blonde and nodded at him. Raphia gave a bow with her poker face. Soji looked away disinterested and Beowulf grinned at the blonde before they disappeared with style using a magic circle that left blue sparkles in the air. Agatha whispered something to Dulio's ear as she fiddled with the hem of her skirt. It was pretty obvious that the angel wanted to stay with the blonde ninja. Well, I'd love for us to meet again on friendlier terms, Dulio said, extending a handshake which Naruto shook. The strongest exorcist really wanted her to do as she pleased, but protocols required them to return to base and give accounts of their mission. Agatha stared at the ground and one could see that she was reluctant to leave. Naruto walked up to her and placed a hand on her head. You can come to visit anytime you want, clumsy angel. My doors are always open for you. Agatha's face lit up and her angel wings spread out of her back. Whoa, Yuri exclaimed with astonishment. The sight never gets old. Now that the goodbyes were out of the way, all that was left was one goddess and 4 humans in the Uzumaki mansion. Sensei, is this how you live? She asked, slurping bowl after bowl of ramen. I'm living the life, Yagi, Naruto replied, his face dipped into a bowl of ramen. You know what, I'm going to have lunch in your house on a daily basis from now on. What's this? A restaurant? A hospitality establishment? A catering center? Naruto asked, dropping his bowl on the table. No matter what you say, I'm going to act like a spoiled brat, she replied, blowing raspberries at him. Look at those 2 ramen monsters go at it, John sighed, munching on a sausage roll. Martha was busy trying to look inconspicuous as she sipped on orange juice. Gaia had her mouth glued to a can of beer, smiling to herself. Little by little, the blonde was gaining people he could call friends. It'd be perfect if Kuroko was here, but sadly, it's been a month since the Black Neko show paid them a visit. Naruto dropped the last bowl of ramen the same time Yuri did. Oi, Yagi, what about your father? Yuri wiped her lips with the red woven sweater she wore and glared at her sensei. How many times do I have to tell you, my name is Yuri? Don't worry, it'll grow on you, eventually. Martha began the sentence and John finished it. Yuri sighed at the mention of her father. He was alive and physically fine, but something has changed within him. He seemed more like a person now. He's doing I see. Yuri stood up and packed her auburn hair in a loose ponytail. Thanks for the meal, sensei, she greeted, and made her way towards the door. Where are you going? Gaia asked. To my new part-time job, Mom, she replied. Gaia reminded her of the mom she never had. It was a weird feeling, and she just stuck to calling her mom because she was the most mature and most responsible out of the whole bunch, and it just felt so right to call her that. Yuri slammed the door behind her and she wasn't gone for long before John's phone rang as a notification came in. Pass me my phone, John ordered his baby sister, earning a glare from her. Martha glared at her brother. Why wouldn't he just get the dang phone by himself? It was just a few feet away, she complied, nonetheless. John swiped his phone open, punched the password in, and swiped down his notification inbox. His face morphed from curious to freaking excited. Yes, alright. Go put on your best clothes and shoes. This guy here is buying y'all expensive steak. He pointed his thumb at his chest. Naruto narrowed his eyes at the police. Why did he get the feeling that John was doing this entirely out of altruistic reasons? Oh, alright, John. How does the steakhouse in Tokyo sound? He asked, feeling as if he was doing them a big favor. But that's far. Martha didn't want to rain on his parade, but she had to state the obvious. But these guys can teleport. John pointed at Naruto and Gaia. Naruto was chewing on a nut he got from the garden when John pointed at him. Naruto stared at the policeman with a blank face before his brain registered what he said. No, he'd be damned if he sullied his father's baby just because some friend of his wanted to eat steak. The Hiraishin was a fearsome jutsu capable of killing thousands, teleporting a whole 10 tails bijudama, not some kind of instant bus service. So, we're buying subway tickets, right? He asked, staring at Gaia who nodded her head at the idea. John raised his hands indignantly. I can't believe you guys. Maybe because you're new to the whole superpower thingy, but it gets pretty boring when you abuse your powers for the most mundane task and life becomes dull, Naruto replied, zoning out all of a sudden with Gaia following suit. Fine, how does 7 p.m. sound? It's already 5:50 p.m. so we have 2 hours to prepare. 1 hour 10 minutes later. Everyone was garbed and ready to go out and celebrate their victory. Gaia wore a red strapless gown that accentuated her heavenly curves. John was trying his best not to stare, was caught a few times only to receive a smirk from the mother goddess. John wore a white shirt on a brown blazer and cream-colored pants. Martha was garbed in a black pleated skirt and a black blouse. Her, now, waist-length hair had purple streaks in them. She wore dark high heels to finish her looks. Naruto was still garbed in the white sweater and black pants but concluded that his looks wasn't complete because it lacked orange. He wore orange sneakers and orange bracelets on his wrist. His housemates tried to get him to change but the blonde refused adamantly. "Well, let's go," John yelled as he pulled Martha and Gaia along. Naruto closed the door shut and placed the key into his pocket. At the subway station, Naruto sighed as he waited in line for a ticket. He patted his pocket and felt a sinking feeling in his gut. He patted his other pockets and felt nothing in them. An exasperated gasp left his lips when he remembered something important. He forgot his wallet at home. The blonde apologized sheepishly and told his housemates he won't be gone for long. Naruto looked left and right before he entered the public restroom and disappeared in a flash. Naruto walked back home at a leisure pace, yawning out loud. Even if they took the bullet train, he would still catch up with them, so he wasn't in a hurry. That John was pretty motivated to make him a consultant for the Kuo City Police Department. Naruto Uzumaki was many things but a glorified lie detector wasn't one of them, so he was seriously considering ditching the bunch tonight. The blonde fumbled around his pockets, looking for the front door key, before he placed his hand on the doorknob and his breath hitched instantly. The door was open. He instantly went on edge and took out a shuriken. Whoever broke into his house was powerful enough to break through his seals. He opened the door and entered his invaded home. The living room was in the same condition they left it, nothing was missing. His room was open, though, and he remembered closing the door. He moved towards his room, the same place he guessed the intruder would be, with caution. He opened the door like he normally would and entered the room. A stranger, no older than an 11-year-old, was sitting on his bed, swinging her legs off the edge like a little child. "Air," he began before he was cut off abruptly. "Hello," the stranger said. He had to fight the urge to bust out a truth-seeking orb, truth-seeking in the presence of the stranger as soon as she spoke. Her voice radiated an ungodly amount of power. It reminded him too much of the rabbit goddess. His hair stood on edge and even the bijus growled at the stranger. Naruto wore his game face. All emotions swept under the carpet, raising his defense instantly and asked, "Who are you?" "I finally found you, Uzumaki Naruto," the stranger replied. Chapter 19. John was a very unhappy man, chewing a huge piece of steak, all the while glaring at the steakhouse entrance. "Anytime now, he's gonna show up," he mentally repeated. Gaia, like the mother goddess she was, ate like a true Olympian goddess with finesse and grace. She had her legs crossed as she cut through the delicate meal. "Gaia-ne, do you think you can use magic to locate Naruto?" Martha asked. The steakhouse and the steak itself was worth the money. The waiters, the atmosphere, etc. was amazing. "Well, Naruto isn't a kid and he knows his way around Japan," Gaia replied. She forked a piece of meat and saw the pout on Martha's face. It was an irresistible one. "Just this once for you, dear," she sighed. Gaia put her hands forward and let her eyes glow for dramatic effect before her forest green energy slowly seeped out of her palms and converged a few inches above them. An intricate magic circle was taking form. It took a circular shape and before John and Martha's very eyes, the orb of pure magic energy glowed brightly. "Wow, it looks like a baby green earth," Martha cooed. Gaia smugly wiped her nose with her thumb. "It seems the human world, a certain blondie to be precise, has rubbed off the Olympian." She was enjoying the show she put up herself. John was mesmerized by the magic construct before his eyes widened when he remembered the supernatural world rule. He turned around and noticed everyone was asleep. "I don't get it," John said as he took a seat, his worries washed away. "Get what? You too, you guys can make the world a better place with your powers but you live life like any normal human would," he elaborated further. "It's what's best for the world. Why would you guys leave everything as it is? Terrorists are terrorizing innocent people around the world and you guys with the superpowers are here getting fat. Aren't you ashamed? Don't you have a sense of justice?" John slammed his fist on the table. "The world would be a better place if these two helped maintain peace worldwide." "John," Gaia snapped in an uncharacteristic manner, "we all have our own problems to deal with. Make the world a better place? The world doesn't owe us anything, policeman. If someone like me or Naruto interferes in your world, it's only natural to attract people on the same level from our world with our activities," she explained. "We lay low because human threats are meant for humans. If someone like us interferes then the balance is lost and in order to bring balance, villains like us will rise against humans. Do you get it now?" "I am sorry, I didn't think of it that way. It's alright, many people don't." Gaia waved him off and resumed her search. Scene change. Uzumaki Mansion. Naruto stood in his room, glancing sideways, looking at a tear in time and space. sparing a glance at the loli who was standing right in front of him, staring at him with curiosity. She reminded him of the rabbit goddess so much, it gave him chills. The loli girl walked through the portal and turned around waiting at the other end as if telling him it was safe and harmless. Naruto exhaled and steeled himself mentally, here goes nothing. The moment his foot crossed the portal and made contact with surprisingly firm thin air, it lit up with a brilliant flame of golden chakra, making him raise an eyebrow at the involuntary transformation. The Ouroboros dragon watched as his body crossed the portal, with each part lighting up in golden flames as they made contact with the dimension void until he was engulfed entirely by the golden light. He looked like a human-sized lantern amidst the colors of the dimensional gap. Naruto stood, in all his badass fox glory, in a pose worthy of a model as he took in the details of the dimensional gap. Colors, he thought with a dry look, unaware of the hazards the Kurama cloak protected him from. The last time he was here, he was too busy fighting for his life to take in the scenery, on both counts. Ophis nodded her head in approval behind him when he stood in her house, fully intact and whole. She wasn't about to tell him the dimensional gap rips everything apart into pieces. If he was to help her, surviving the dimensional void was just the tip of the iceberg. Naruto tried to sense the entire place with Sage Mode, but it was so vast, his Sage-enhanced sensory abilities couldn't cover it, even with Kurama's chakra boosting it. The void felt empty and silent, except for the supermassive source of energy standing behind him. If Naruto Uzumaki hadn't fought a goddess all alone, he would have surely pissed his pants, sensing the energy of the little girl behind him. It was unlike anything he's ever sensed. It was like a massive snake was looming over him. Ophis moved closer and tried to grab Naruto's billowing cloak, watching the tattered spots with red edges. It was intriguing, it was like he was wearing fire. The blonde ninja felt his hair stand on edge and he turned around quickly. Is this your home? Ophis withdrew her arm back to her side and nodded. So, where's the intruder that evaded your home? He inquired, looking around for said intruder. You survived. Now, it's time to call the intruder, she said, her tone lacking emotion. Naruto's eyes widened uncontrollably when another signature, much more massive than hers, entered his senses. There were two of them, and it felt nostalgic, but he couldn't wrap his head around it. The new energy was moving so fast, and before he knew it, tremors shook his entire form as if a meteor landed on a continent. He didn't know how, but he felt winds and earthquakes as something enormous landed behind him. Naruto didn't like this at all. He was between two massive energies. It was like standing between two 10 tails. He heard the beating of wings before a hot breath washed past him. He looked at Ophis, who was looking past him, her head angled to the highest degree possible, for a little frame to look up. The massive beast sniffed the blonde twice as he slowly turned around. Naruto's cross-shaped pupils landed on a huge scaly snout of a dragon. A hill made out of bones protruded upward on top of the snout. Massive, green slitted eyes blinked twice before the dragon stood up to its full height, in all its glory, and tilted its head at the glowing chakra being that felt human. The dragon of dragons had never seen such powerful and refined chakra, except for that one time. Naruto's jaw dropped when he saw the dragon in its full glory and pointed a shaky finger at the dragon. GG Great H hot sauce thug, he yelled, his voice reverberating through the dimensional void. Great Red narrowed his eyes at the insolent creature. One of the mongrels that Snake recruited to cast his magnificent self out, no doubt. This one would make a fine snack today. The dragon unfurled its mighty wings in a threatening manner and growled at the blonde shinobi. The chakra being still stared on at the magnificent beast in a stupefied manner, hands still shaking. Did his presence alone petrify him? Ophis thought in disappointment. Great Red opened its maw wide, his entire mouth glowing red, fire bubbling deep within his throat, begging to be unleashed before. Cut the act, Great Sauce, Naruto yelled, waving his fist at the great dragon. Great Sauce? DXD thought. Who dares address him with such degrading titles? There was only one person with enough balls to call him that. The dragon lowered his head and squinted his massive eyes at the blonde. Wait, he trailed off staring at the human below. Chakra boy? Great Red bellowed with surprise all over his draconic face. Haha, you humongous bastard, Naruto laughed like he just met an old friend. Great Red threw his head back and laughed uncontrollably, biwahahaha. Ophis was a dragon, a powerful old dragon who rarely displayed emotion. Nah, she didn't understand human emotions, but today she was surprised. Very surprised. She understood what it means to be surprised. So you were the pest she was talking about, you red bastard, Naruto chuckled, wiping tears from tea. Well, Ophis never called him a pest, but when did Naruto Uzumaki let a chance to diss creatures that can kill him slip? What did you say, you microscopic bastard? Great Red roared, slamming a claw forward. Scene change. I can't find Naruto. Gaia stuttered as the earth ball spinned furiously. Don't panic, maybe he's hiding somewhere or maybe you can find him. Yet, John proposed. The policeman was upset. The blonde stood him up. when he thought he finally had the perfect chance to convince the blonde. Sage mode? I didn't take sage mode into consideration, Gaia whispered and began her search anew. Martha was busy trying to pack her long, overflowing hair into a neat ponytail when she asked, "What's sage mode?" Sage mode is what he calls it. In layman's terms, Naruto can tap into the power of nature, and in this state, he becomes one with nature and his presence is undetectable. So a hermit is among the growing weird list of what Naruto is. The guy can summon a gigantic fox, for crying out loud. Are you sure your brother ain't a god? Naruto isn't just the type to up and vanish all of a sudden, at least not willingly, anyways. He was too damn lazy to do that. Something had to have happened to the blonde. It's been an hour now. Scene change. Naruto sat cross-legged on thin air, swatting Office's hands away. The loli had been poking him here and there, every now and then, trying to grab his chakra cloak. So, what you're telling me is that, you, were born in the dimensional gap, and, you, invaded the birthplace of, he said, pointing between both beings. You didn't like visitors because, noise, and, you, wanted him to leave, and, he refused to leave. Office nodded her head. Now, you, didn't leave because, real estate, acrobatics, and flying space. I can fly around as much as I want, the dragon huffed. So, you two, can't live together in this massive space? Naruto yelled with disbelief. Great Red is too noisy, I want the silence back. Naruto jumped up to his feet in frustration. He was under the weather. He wasn't cut out to be a shrink, nor could he play shrink with the strongest beings of this world. I'm too young for this shit. I need a drink, Naruto thought out loud. Naruto, Great Red donned a serious look, getting his attention. Have you found a way back? Naruto looked down in a dejected manner and shook his head. You should have known there was no way out. Great Red was hands down the strongest being in DxD, and even the Dragon of Dragons himself had no solution for the blonde's problem. Office, did you promise you'll make his wish come true? Great Red asked. Anything you wanted as long as he could drive you out, she replied. Great Red shook his head in shame. You shouldn't give a man like him hope. Office raised an eyebrow at Great Red. Why was he all calm and collected all of a sudden? He was like an old man. He's a jumper, Office. Office's purple orbs widened uncontrollably for the first time in her existence. A jumper? Sounds kinda cool, Naruto thought. This was the first time hearing the term, and if the red bastard lizard knew it all along, why didn't he tell him about it? Deep down, Naruto knew Office couldn't make his wish come true, but his naive side, his optimistic side, his foolish side hoped desperately that she could. If Great Red, who was the strongest in this universe, couldn't grant him his wish, then how could the second strongest pull off what the first couldn't? Jumper. She's heard stories, but this was her first time seeing one in person. No wonder he was talking to Great Red casually. It is said that a jumper only appears once in a million years. They either save the world or doom it. A jumper is the highest order of aliens, said to have even come from beyond the Great X. Naruto Uzumaki, the man whose house she was in a few hours ago, wasn't from an alternate dimension. She came to this startling realization and was awed. He wasn't from X, he came from far beyond that. He was from another different reality entirely. Speaking about the jumper, so, enough about this jumper shit. Tell me. Naruto's speech was cut short when all three beings, himself included, currently in the dimensional gap, snapped their head in the same direction. A fourth being had entered the gap. It was a familiar devil signature. The dragons didn't recognize it, but the jumper did. No way, Naruto thought before he zoomed off. Naruto skidded to a halt and placed a hand on Asia's body, healing her with Kurama's energy. Her skin was already peeling off when he got there, but thankfully she was still alive. What were those brats doing? Who were they fighting? These questions raced through Naruto's mind. There's a war going on in the underworld, Office informed. Naruto snapped his head up at her. His students were in the battlefield? Those children aren't ready for the horror of wars yet? I can take you there if you want. I have business there, Office offered. Naruto, who now held a fully healed but unconscious Asia in his arms bridal style, nodded at her. Scene change. The underworld, Issei, in his incomplete juggernaut drive form, was destroying everything in his path. He had lost all sense of reason as he was blindly attacking Valley, in his mastered juggernaut drive, who was trying his best with Rias to bring him back to his senses. They had just defeated Diodora Astaroth, the devil prick who challenged them to a raiding game after kidnapping Asia and saved her from the clutches of the psychotic perv when, suddenly, a bright light engulfs her, and when it dies down, she's nowhere to be found. Then, this new guy, Shalba, came waltzing in, claiming he had sent Asia to the dimensional gap and that she would have been dead by now because of the corrosive nature of the gap. Issei, in an amazing feat of main characters losing their marbles, starts searching around for Asia, denying the fact that she was gone, dead, before Rias snapped him out of it. A bad move there, Rias. Issei finally came to terms with reality, and he really did lose his marbles this time. Issei's pupils bled green and his sacred gear gem blipped. Diedrich warns the devils to flee if they want to live and tells Shalba he made a wrong move and would pay with his life. Consumed with grief and anger, he activates Juggernaut Drive and kills Shalba. Valley was in the dimensional gap with his team searching for a lost legendary item called the Lost Black Lace Panties. Sorry, wrong story. He was actually searching for Mao knows what, before he sensed a change in his rival and came back to the underworld with his team to knock some sense back into his rival. The orc watched from the sidelines helplessly. Irina and Rosweiss arrived from the front lines with a projector. The two claimed the song could calm Issei down. Team Valley watched the exchange going on between the orc and wondered what kind of song could calm a dragon down. Valley and Rias watched as Issei roared, red energy bursting out of his body. Your servant will die at this rate if you don't find a way to snap him out of Juggernaut Drive. Issei, Rias whispered helplessly. The orc all planted their feet into the ground and raised a defensive magic circle up when another mighty burst of red energy rushed out of Issei's deformed dragonish body. Foop. Boom. All everyone saw was a white and blonde blur landing in front of Issei. The landing kicked up dust and hid the person from view. Naruto stood with Asia, still unconscious in his hands, and raised an eyebrow at the grotesque dragon in front of him. It was ugly, but not the ugliest he's ever come across. The ugliest dragon he had ever come across was that dragon named Dark Uzi, or was it Black Music? Naruto couldn't remember, but anyhow, that dragon was ugly as fuck. Everyone's eyes widened when they saw the blonde teacher. None more surprised than Rias, Rosweiss, and Kuroka. Uzumaki Naruto. Valley wondered how he got here until he saw Office. What happened to you, Hyodo? Naruto asked. Wakingan, his student, had turned into Sensei. They yelled. Get back, Senpai, Rosweiss yelled. Naruto stopped in his tracks and turned his head to her and beheld her Valkyrie outfit. She was truly blessed by the gods, he thought. Her green orbs twinkling with genuine worry for him. Rias flew to his side and leveled a mean glare at her teacher. She pried Asia's prone form from his hands and retreated back when Issei released a burst of red energy. How did you get in here? Were you in this with Shalba? Shaba? Naruto's brows furrowed. Who is Shaba? There goes Cowtits with her conspiracy theories. Baseless accusations if he did say so himself. Girl, go bother someone else. Shit, he groaned. Issei roared again and released the same burst of red energy. Rias was blown off her feet by the shockwave and protected Asia from the harsh winds the energy caused in the air. Naruto stood firmly rooted in his spot, glued with chakra to the ground, totally ignoring the rampaging Issei. Is that Hyodo? He asked her. He had to raise his voice with the winds and the noise Issei was creating. Why are you here? Rias asked, ignoring his question. Just answer the damn question. Naruto gave her a flat stare. Rias nodded to confirm his suspicion. Naruto turned his attention back to Issei and resumed his leisure trek towards the deformed dragon. So, this is how Kakashi and Arrow Sennin felt every time I lost it, Naruto stopped a few feet away from the dragon. Is he mad? Viku wondered, scratching his temples. Who the heck was crazy enough to go near an out-of-control Crimson Gear Emperor in Juggernaut Drive? Rosweiss wanted to fly in and save Naruto, and so did Kuroka, but Valley signaled everyone to be on standby. He wanted to see the blonde in action himself. Oi, snap out of it. You're making a lot of people worried. Naruto craned his neck up and lectured his transformed student all the while snapping his fingers. Issei roared at Naruto and tried to punch him. Rosweiss's heart almost leapt out of her chest as Issei lashed out at the blonde. Naruto sidestepped the punch that broke the ground he was on a moment ago before huge vines grew from the ground and trapped Issei's hand. Fight it, Issei. You're strong, Naruto cheered on like a coach. Issei released a guttural roar and tore the vines restricting him. Guess not, Naruto said as he jumped over a massive red hand that tried to swat him away. Time for the last resort. Naruto cupped his mouth and yelled, Look Hyodo, free Oppai. The deformed dragon, in a once-in-a-lifetime feat, turned around to where Naruto was pointing. His anger came back with vengeance when he saw no Oppai. Now, I'm out of options, Naruto mulled. Time for the last-ditch effort. Mokuton. Ketsugo ne. The blonde ninja clapped his hands and massive wooden roots circled Issei, binding him in place. Naruto then activates his Rinnegan and jumps onto Issei's head. He dips his finger into his mouth and wrote the kanji for mind, and Link, a third seal with the kanji for sit, appeared in his right hand. Sorry, Issei, he apologized in advance before he reared his hands back, his hands glowing with chakra before he slapped the seal on his dragonified student's head. Fuinjutsu. Kakuon Nitten Suishu. Issei's dragon form went wide-eyed before he lost consciousness, slowly shrinking before the perverted Issei they all knew was lying unconscious on the floor. What Naruto used was a bastardized version of the first Hokage's technique, Hokage Shiki Jijun Jutsu, Kakuon Nitten Suishu. The original one didn't require the Rinnegan and seals to work but was limited to only bijus, so he tinkered with it a bit and the result was Fuin Jutsu. Kakuan Nitten Suishu. Would you look at that, he did it, Valley commented, turning down his juggernaut drive. Naruto ignored Rias and her peerage as they rushed to where Issei was. The pervert had already woken up and was now in between Rias's boobs and, soon, his friends were gathered around him, the Valkyrie included. Asia too had woken up and they were one big happy student-teacher group. Now that his students' lives were safe and sound, it's time to resolve some issues. A certain cat and hero were on top of a hill in the distance. Naruto did a leaf shunshin and appeared between Team Valley. Cold purple eyes with black concentric circles met panicked blue ones behind square goggles. Shit. Arthur couldn't move. Those eyes made sure of it. The killer intent Naruto was releasing froze him in place. Naruto grabbed Arthur by the throat and lifted him off his feet dangling in the air helplessly, Excalibur lying on the ground. Fast, Biku thought as he whipped out his staff and tried to jab Naruto with it, but an outstretched palm foiled his plans. Biku didn't know what hit him, he just knew he was flying through the air at an alarming rate before he crashed into a boulder. Naruto hissed and formed a Rasengan in his left hand. Iicca. Arthur tried to speak but Naruto cut him short. Shish, Kaden. The Rasengan was halfway towards its intended target. Arthur's face, when it caught flames. Rasengan, he finished. The Rasengan was so close to his face, Arthur could feel the heat searing his skin. It was prickling and sizzling and it hurt so bad. It was just a millimeter away from impact before. Divide. The Rasengan shrunk to half its original size and stopped at a millimeter close to Arthur's face. The divine dividing. Valley shot a blue beam at Naruto and the blonde raised his hands at the incoming beam and split it in two with a Rasengan. A strong gust of wind blew Naruto off the hill. Team Valley stood on. We're leaving, now, Valley ordered. The leaders of the grade 3 factions were advancing at an alarming rate. Valley spared one last glance at Naruto who was yelling incoherent words at Kuroka. While I was out busting my ass, fighting an ancient demon, trying to wipe your criminal record clean, you were playing villain with a bunch of villain wannabes? Naruto hollered. Who told you I wanted saving? You don't get the right to scold me like you're my father, Kuroka screamed in a childish manner and looked sideways with a pout. Kaneko could only watch as the hooded blonde kept on scolding her sister like she was a baby. It felt so weird, the Rook didn't know they had such a relationship. Rias and Rosswise took notice of the word demon and wiping criminal records but didn't ponder too much on it because Valley had interfered. Uzumaki Naruto, the next time we meet, I will fight you. Nope, Naruto replied, cleaning his ears out. He's met someone in the past who challenged him to a fight every chance he got. Naruto didn't want another one. As soon as Team Valley disappeared, the leaders of the grade 3 factions entered the scene via magic circle. Naruto, what are you doing here? Azazel asked the moment he sighted the blonde. I'm leaving anyway, so bye. Naruto waved them goodbye and disappeared with a yellow flash. Only to reappear in a yellow flash, on his knees coughing up blood. Baka, did you forget Hiraishin doesn't work outside a powerful sealed dimension? Then, what you're trying to say is that I am stuck in the underworld. Scene change. The Gremory mansion. Naruto Uzumaki cursed the gods of the land for his misfortune. Today, the great Naruto Uzumaki, the hero of Konoha, son of the 4th Hokage, the 4th sage of 6th path, albeit not a perfect one, the Jinchuriki of all 9-tailed beasts, and the latest title, the Jumper. Dined with devils. Yeah, that's right. Naruto Uzumaki sat between Issei and Asia in the Gremory household. He sat opposite Rias and his blue orbs met forest green every now and then. Her servants were all present with the 4 Maos, Azazel, Michael, Irina, Rosswise, Lord Gremory, and Lady Gremory. Naruto-sensei, it's a pleasure to finally meet you, Lady Gremory greeted. Ah, yes, Naruto replied with a forced smile and took a sip of water. Like mother like daughter. All these damn supernatural nice pair of cow tits on them, don't they? I have heard a lot about you from Rias, Lady Gremory added. Really now? Naruto shifted in his chair uncomfortably. Naruto-san, you seem uncomfortable, is anything bothering you? Lord Gremory asked with a poker face. Naruto stared at Lord Gremory before he scratched his head and said, I don't know if I should say this but. Naruto's blue orbs scanned the entire room, his eyes meeting the eyes of all the supernaturals in the room until they fell on Venelena's violet orbs which were twinkling in interest. I have never been around so many devils. The way he called the word devils made the devils present straighten their backs. Venelana burst out laughing before the other followed on awkwardly. Naruto-sensei, are you afraid we might eat your soul like you see in the movies? Nah, it'd take the combined effort of an entire faction to do that, Naruto said offhandedly. Everybody stopped eating and gave him a flat look. What? Rias bristled. Naruto burst out laughing at their faces before Venelana followed suit. It almost sounded like a challenge to the adults in the room. Really? You can face an entire faction? She asked between chuckles. Goodness, no, Mother Gremory. You should have seen the looks on your faces though, he laughed. Call me Venelana, she cut him short. Then, none of that Naruto-san stuff from you, too. Just Naruto is fine. Naruto. Lady Gremory tested the syllables in her mouth. Rias dropped her spoon and stared at her mother in disbelief. What was going between her mother and Naruto? Issei gave Rias a pity-filled stare and shook his head as he munched on his meal. Naruto was a ladies' man. He just had it in him. Ladies, especially moms, liked the blonde for no reason. His mother wouldn't shut up about Naruto and would take every chance to compare her own son to the blonde teacher. It's just that I've had a history with devils, a bad history. Rizavam Levon Lucifer flashed through Naruto's mind at that moment. Ah, I see. But not all of us are evil, Venelana informed. I have been assured of that after I laid my eyes on you, Naruto replied with a smile. Venelana decided right then and there that she liked the blonde. Searsex coughed into his fist while Rias let out an exasperated gasp at the two. A perverted smirk slowly crept up Azazel's face. Naruto's blue orbs met Roswice's green ones and she offered him a smile before she took a spoonful of her meal. Naruto-san, I'd like it if you'd stop flirting with my wife in my presence, Lord Gremory spoke up. This big guy can be very jealous, Naruto. Venelana slapped her husband on the shoulder. Searsex cleared his throat and the action garnered everyone's attention. Naruto-san, I can't thank you enough for your assistance. Now, Rias and Roswise were very interested. Nah, it was nothing. I was protecting someone, too, and your devils did a great job. They have names, you know, Rias murmured. I'm not good with names, Naruto quipped back. Figures, you can't even remember a two-syllable name, so how can one expect you to remember names with more syllables? Yabe. Issei began sweating bullets watching his teacher and the girl he liked exchange words. Rias. Lady Venelana chided her daughter. Mom, I don't like this man. Rias shot up to her feet and pointed a finger at Naruto. Same here, Naruto replied, his lips curving up a bit. He enjoyed seeing her lose her cool and all he had to do was say a few words. Sometimes, I wish I could just wipe him off the surface of the earth. I'd be doing the world a favor because this man here is the most despicable human on earth ever. Rias shot up to her feet and pointed a fork at Naruto. Ha! You challenged me to a rating game but too bad, I won't fight my students. The adults in the house who knew of Naruto's exploits with a certain ancient demon had their eyes widened to the size of saucers. You know what, is the rating game offer still down? I'm suddenly getting the itch to discipline my students, Naruto asked. Azazel had his mouth wide open as he turned his neck like a robot towards Rias. Rias raised her nose and proposed a bet that would be the icing on top of her victory. Let's make a bet then, Naruto. The loser does whatever the winner wants for the term. Anything? Naruto asked. Bucko, Issei cried anime tears. Anything, okay, deal. I see, a rating game would strengthen the relationship between students and teacher. It is a great decision. It will happen, Lord Gremory stated. So, Searsex questioned. They'd all be utterly decimated, Grafia replied with a poker face. They managed to fend off the evil god Loki. Those kids have come a long way, Azazel spoke up, trying to defend his students. That was a shared feat, Seraphol replied. Michael also nodded at the fact. Looks like they didn't understand the gravity of the situation, since they didn't know of the blonde sensei's actual strength. If what he showed in his battle against Ashirik was actually his true strength. Grafia cleared her throat and told them how the outcome of the battle would be like, again. If this was a real battle scenario, he would obliterate them all. He'd wipe them out of existence without breaking a sweat. Searsex raised an eyebrow at his wife. Ever since she came back from the Ashirik mission, she had been acting weird. Though he hasn't received a full report on the mission, due to the war and the old Satan faction, he was told the blonde had defeated the demon with the help of his friends. After dinner, Searsex had Team Ashirik come to a late-night meeting to give their accounts on Naruto in order to give the young devils an edge. I'd advise you guys to call off the rating game, Soji, who had been silent until now, added his 2 cents. What if we added Su Tan and her peerage? Seraphol asked. Wouldn't that be unfair? Michael asked. Even if you added your Rook, Surtur, and Odin's Valkyrie, they'd all lose, Soji replied. What did you see? It's like you guys are afraid of him. What happened? Ajuka questioned. Grafia and Soji exchanged glances and made a silent agreement. He's Mao level, he dropped the bombshell on them. Everyone's eyes went wide and Ajuka immediately began to reassess the blonde. Mao level? It's very likely, and there's a chance he might be higher than that, Grafia said with a thoughtful look. That guy created a fucking satellite big enough to block the sun, okay. He did it with just a clapping gesture. He fucking clapped his hands. You didn't see those freakish, purple eyes, Soji hollered, losing his cool for once in his life. Those eyes sealed his fate. He could never measure up to the blonde anymore and, as a devil, His entire being respected and feared Naruto Uzumaki for his powers that alone made him furious. Azazel leaned back on his chair and rubbed his head, feeling a headache. The blonde was just too much of a headache. From normal human to cadre class, to ultimate class devil and now, Mao, all in the span of 6 months. Roswice's hands shook as she held a contract in her hands. Her eyes widened to unimaginable levels when she saw the perks written in the contract. This is just the beginning, Roswice-sensei, Rias smirked. The entirety of the orc was in Issei's room, a room he was supposed to share with Naruto because the blonde declined to sleep alone, which made Rias red with fury. That means no cuddling with her cute pawn for days. Naruto had to leave ASAP. That's gonna be the first thing she asks after defeating the blonde. And recruiting Odin's Valkyrie was the first step to her victory. Everything Roswice ever wanted except a boyfriend was present here. All she had to do was become a reincarnated devil and serve Rias as her second rook, and what's next? She could gain independence from Rias's peerage if she wanted, given she becomes an ultimate class devil. There was no thinking twice about this. I might introduce you to outstanding single devils your age, Sensiphon. Yes, I'd love to. Roswice bit her tongue before she could complete the sentence. What was this forbearing feeling? As if she was forgetting something important. A conversation cloud popped above her head for a second. In the cloud, her chibi form was flying with bat wings, now a devil, towards a man walking away. Senpai, wait for me, she yelled in excitement. Chibi Naruto stopped in his tracks and looked at her over his shoulder. His cold, blue eyes stopped her in her tracks. Senpai. She reached out for his shoulder only to reel back in shock when he slapped her hands away. Begone, bat, he whispered in contempt. But, you disgust me, bat, Naruto replied coldly and left. Each word stabbed deep into her skin like a hail of hot arrows. Senpai. The cloud burst into pieces as Roswice shook herself out of her daydreaming. Let me think about it first. I'll give you a reply later, she spoke in a hurry. The Virgin Valkyrie slammed the contract on the table and rushed out of the room with a blush on her face, only to hit a solid wall of meat. Warm, strong hands wrapped around her and white filled her vision. Naruto held onto Roswice as his hoodie slowly came off due to the sudden gesture. His hands were wrapped firmly on her waist. Are you alright? He asked with concern written all over his face. Why yeah. Roswice had both of her palms on Naruto's toned chest, feeling his abs. This house is too damn big. I almost got lost on my way to the toilet. Do they have a map of this house or something? Naruto tried to joke. Roswice was giggling out in the open at his joke even though it was a lame one. I wanted to take a walk outside. Do you want to come along? Naruto looked away in a manner that made him cute as he asked her to take a walk with him. The look made the Asgardian's heart melt. Naruto Uzumaki wasn't a man after love, he simply wanted to leave the house for a while lest he contracts the devil virus. Also, it seems like he wanted to get his mind off the events of the day. It might take a while to come to terms with it, but he had already acknowledged the fact that there was no easy, fast way back home. This was his cross to bear alone. The underworld didn't actually have a GPS and this was his first time in the blasted dimension. He didn't want to get lost, or worse, wander off to enemy territory. And the only person he trusted right now, rephrasing that. The only person he could trust, rephrasing that even further. The only person he could take a comfortable walk with, was Roswice. The jerk of a teacher was truly uncomfortable with so many devils around him. He'd rather choose to be with the Valkyrie than the greedy creatures. How gloomy, Naruto thought, as he stared at the night sky. They say you don't know the value of something until you lose it. He should have enjoyed the night sky of Kuo more when he had the chance. He made a mental note to go sky gazing when he gets back home. Parents should really think twice about what they wish for their children when they pray for their children to go to great heights and unbelievable places in life. Take Minato and Kushina for example. Their son Naruto was in the underworld of all places, surrounded by supernatural creatures. He's gone to places his parents could never dream of, much less reach. So, senpai, how did you get here? Roswice asked, starting the conversation. Roswice's voice snapped Naruto out of his internal musing. He thought about it and decided to be honest with her. The little child brought me here. His answer roused disbelief in her countenance. You don't believe me, but that's the truth, Naruto added, seeing the look on her face. No, I do. I was just wondering what kind of child would do that. She waved her hands haphazardly. So the Gremory household owns everything as far as my eyes can see? He questioned. Yeah, they are pretty loaded, she replied. Naruto nodded and snapped his head west. There were a lot of weird signatures coming from the forest in the distance. His curiosity piqued and he voiced it out. What's that forest? He asked, pointing a hand at the forest. Roswice followed where his hand was pointing with her green orbs before they landed on the forest. That's the familiar forest. The familiar forest. Naruto tested the words in his mouth so he could remember. It's a forest devil's visit to get a familiar, a beast they can work with. A look of realization dawned on Naruto's whiskered face. So that's the devil kinds, devil Mayuboku. Now, he was really interested. He was so gonna visit the forest before he left. Naruto created a mental list and named it, the things that Cow Tits Bat would do for me after I win that rating game, and added, visit the familiar forest, to it. Did you know, the underworld doesn't naturally have a day and night cycle? The day and night cycle we experience here was set up by a magic seal to help the humans reincarnated as devils get accustomed to the underworld. You mean slaves? Naruto replied with a flat look. It blew up right in her face. She was trying to bring up a new topic to get the blonde's attention and it failed. Now she had a half-bored, half-annoyed senpai tonight. I don't get why people, even supernatural beings, would sell their freedom, their souls, to devils. The Valkyrie did a mental fist pump. Yes, she was getting good at reading the blonde, which means they're getting closer. It seems her last-minute decision was well worth it. I mean, why would I or you let a devil turn us to devils and put us in slavery? This is the first and only reason why I hate devils. Naruto never needed to find another reason to hate devils. One was just enough. He might start working on a seal to end the evil peace system just to spite the devils and free those who were coerced into becoming slaves, but he knew next to nothing about the evil peace system. So, if a friend turns into a reincarnated devil? Naruto shut her with a look. Someone you know? An acquaintance? She quickly added. What would you do? Naruto hummed and grabbed his chin with his thumb and index finger and looked up with a thoughtful look. If Sasuke, nopes, nah, that bastard wouldn't become a devil's slave even if his life was on the line. Nope, no, Shikamaru is too lazy for that. If Kiba was too. No, Kiba's too much headstrong to do something like that. If Neji. Nah, the cage bird seal was enough of a thorn in his life. If Sakura became a reincarnated devil, against her will, he and Sasuke would slaughter the entire peerage and find a way to return her to normal. An evil aura surrounded Naruto as he subconsciously leaked killer intent in his thoughtful state. Rossweiss moved away from the blonde who now had the image of a roaring fox behind him. I guess I'd slaughter the entire peerage for turning my friend into a slave, he concluded like it was the normal thing to do in that situation. Odin's beard, Rossweiss exclaimed in her head. If my friend was in consensus, I'd avoid them like the plague. I'd outright disown them, he nodded rapidly. Ah, I see, Rossweiss drawled, scooting closer to the blonde. He was back to the warm blonde she knew. Naruto looked around and saw that there were a few houses around. We've walked a long distance. Let's go back, he said. They'd walked a long distance. The Gremory mansion wasn't in view anymore. He noticed Rossweiss was taping her kneecaps every now and then as they walked back to the mansion. You tired? He queried. No, I'm fine. Rossweiss smiled and took a skip to show him she was fine, but her landing was sloppy. Fighting in a war was exhausting. Maybe, all the fatigue had gotten to her. He could even feel phantom pains from the battle with Ashirik himself. Naruto sighed because what he was about to do was borderline crazy. His body, mind, and brain fought against his decision, but his heart was the only opposition they had. Naruto Uzumaki was a gentleman. Well, at least when one managed to dig through all that cold and jerky he had. Are you doing? Rossweiss stuttered, seeing Naruto kneel in front of her. Hop on. I feel guilty. I shouldn't have asked you to come. No, I'm fine, that was my decision. There's nothing wrong with me. Rossweiss flared her hands around. Utilizing wood style, Naruto pushed her from behind with a log and held onto her thighs to secure her on his back before he stood up with a heave. Naruto could smell her silver hair as some loose strands fell over his shoulder. Her slim arms were wrapped around his neck and her cheek was almost touching his. Naruto took in a whiff of her hair again. It reminded him of pretty flowers. Naruto shifted, distributing her weight before he resumed the trek back to his wayward student's house. The war must have been hard, Naruto said like he was speaking from experience. Rossweiss hummed in reply as her cheek brushed against his, a thin curtain of silky silver-white hair separating pale skin from tan skin. You're warm, she commented all of a sudden and tightened her arms around his shoulder. Naruto smelled like ramen. The smell was strong. I get that a lot, he replied. His lips curved up a bit, not that Rossweiss could see it. Did you know, senpai? Naruto sighed and prepared himself for a lesson again, but no amount of preparation could have prepared him for what she was about to say. You're the first man to give me a piggyback ride. Naruto's mouth opened a fraction at the fact. My father died before I was born and my mom followed when I was still a child. At least he had the old man and Iruka give him a piggyback ride sometimes. But the Valkyrie didn't have anyone to do the same for her, he didn't see that coming. You kind of remind me of him. It's weird, is it not? I never met him but you remind me of him. Naruto was looking straight ahead, his hands holding on to the Valkyrie's thighs. I bet his back would have been as warm as yours, she yawned, resting her head on the blonde's and willed her eyes shut. What's this? The blonde Uzumaki thought. Naruto narrowed his eyes and flooded his heart with potent chakra. The damn thing was slacking off. 1 second it was beating fast and the other, it was skipping beats. His veins and arteries went on a frenzy as they worked together with his heart to pump more blood into his system, making his body temperature warmer. Naruto's lips made a bubbling sound as he exhaled through his mouth. "So, did you grow up all alone?" he asked, receiving no reply. "You did a mighty fine job then." Certain anatomy was rising and falling behind his back each time she breathed. It was soft, squishy, and perky. Bad Naruto. So, Naruto stopped in his tracks when he felt the rhythmic rise and fall of her chest. He turned his eyes sideways and met her peaceful sleeping face. With his face dangerously close to hers, he could feel her breath on his face and a stray strand of her hair tickled his lips. She looked beautiful and harmless right then. The damn heart was working up again. This woman was dangerous. How could his heart keep malfunctioning like that? Naruto pushed her up and secured her tightly. He almost cursed when her face wrinkled and let out a sigh of relief when it relaxed. Naruto tore his gaze from her face and set it forward. No looking sideways from now on, just straight ahead. In a tree, a safe distance away from the couple, a voice from a magic circle behind the stranger's ear, like earcoms, asked what the blonde was currently doing. "I don't know if I should tell you." He flinched when the voice on the other end yelled at him. "He's being a ladies' man. He was a former human after all. Ain't nobody snitching a fellow brother when he's with his woman." All he was ordered to do was tail the blonde and report any strange behavior. Was kissing your woman considered strange? The reincarnated devil didn't think so. Gentle footsteps were all that echoed the streets of the underworld in the night. It was much colder in the underworld. The blonde Uzumaki was infusing a tiny amount of fire chakra to keep Roswise warm. Naruto rejoiced when he found the Gremory mansion. He thought he got lost on his way back. It took him 3 hours to find his way back and the Valkyries slept snugly throughout the entire thing. Naruto heard hurried footsteps as 2 devils came out of the mansion. "Sensei?" Issei slapped Kiba with a pack of snacks he held in sheer disbelief. Even Kiba was in the same boat. The same snack was falling out his open mouth. "Issei-ku." Akeno went stiff as she laid her eyes on the blonde ninja. Slowly, the entire peerage stood behind Issei and Kiba, all staring on in shock, standing as stiff as a stone. "Someone please kill me," Naruto begged mentally. "Our Roswise, Rias would recognize that shade of silver-white hair anywhere. What did you do to her?" she hollered, pointing an accusing finger at Naruto. Naruto pulled one hand away from his back and placed it on his lips, doing a shush motion. He'd be damned if he let cow tits wake her up with her shrills. Naruto slowly laid Roswise in her bed. With lightning-fast ninja reflexes, he quickly guided her back and held her head as he gently laid her down. Rias and her peerage were holed up on the doorstep, eyes wide with disbelief as the ninja tucked their civics teacher in like a delicate rose. Irina saw Naruto in a new light and Akeno was giggling to herself with an evil smirk on her face. Naruto would be hard to tease, but Roswise on the other hand, Akeno couldn't help but rub her hands together. Naruto sighed as he pulled the blankets to her neck and glanced at her sleeping face. "Alright, that's it. Come on out, Naruto," Rias whispered. The ruined princess wanted to stop Naruto from poisoning Roswise's mind, or so she believed. The Uzumaki was never one to do something as dopey as this. The image itself was killing her brain cells, but here she was witnessing it. Naruto shut the door behind him with a soft clink and met the different gaze of his student. They all had his back pinned to the door, hands folded on their chest, in a circle formation. "What?" He didn't like the look on their faces. He said. "What?" Rias sneered. "Stay away from Roswise, you player. You know, I was planning on going easy on you lot, but it seems you need a wake-up call. I'ma whoop y'all asses. Especially you, cow tits." Rias reeled in shock at the slutty name. She put her hands over her bust for the first time in a protective manner and was about to give a witty reply, but the moment Naruto took a step forward, everyone cleared a path for him. He reached out and grabbed Issei by the scruff of the neck and pulled him along. "Why me?" Issei cried anime tears as he made a grabbing motion towards Rias. Rias's heart broke to see Issei go because it signified that tonight meant no cuddling because of the blonde. "I don't trust anyone else enough to sleep with them," Naruto said. He stooped for a moment and tilted his head when an idea hit him. Naruto pulled Issei up and placed a hand on Issei's shoulder. "We are going to have so much fun, Hyodo," Naruto whispered, the last part looking at Rias before he pulled Issei away. Rias gritted her teeth in pure frustration and yearning before she tried to chase the duo. Her peerage held her down before she did something drastic and aggravated the blonde even further. "Naruto Uzumaki." Rias swore vengeance to the night sky, staring at the crescent moon out the window. Scene change. Earth, Uzumaki Mansion. Gaia could feel a headache coming. The front door was wide open and Naruto wasn't anywhere to be seen. The moment the mother goddess stepped inside the house, she knew who came for Naruto. Her energy was still present in the air. "That snake," she hissed. "What are you doing here? Shouldn't you be in Olympus?" Martha and John jumped at the strange voice. It lacked emotion and radiated untold power. "Where did you take him?" Gaia leveled a mean glare at the little child. Who's this little kid, and please, where's something loud? John looked between the two and covered Ophis with his jacket. The jacket went up in purple flames and a purple snake hissed at both humans and launched itself at them. A green bear pounced on the snake and both magic constructs disappeared with a spark. He has elapsed his usefulness, but I await his return. Ophis turned her attention to Martha. Interesting. Well, too bad because Naruto's not here, so leave, Gaia bristled. I await his return. Gaia, do you know her? She one of Naruto's acquaintances? John asked, standing in front of his baby sister. He didn't like the look on the child's face one bit. She was eyeing Martha like a lab rat. Scene change. The underworld. Naruto slammed his fist into the bed with his super strength. Issei, who was snoring loudly, bounced off the bed and fell in a heap of blankets. Damn it, what was I thinking? He groaned mentally. Her face kept visiting his mind. Okay, Kurama, wipe my memory clean or something. Receiving no reply, Naruto shoved the spare blankets off his body and did a Chinese get up. I have to go to the bathroom, he announced to Issei, who looked drowsy on the floor. Wah, you want to sleep in the bed? He yawned. Alright, I'll sleep on the floor. He laid his head on the pillow and covered his body with his blanket. As the bathroom door slammed shut, the sound of running water followed. The next day, morning, the entire household minus the Maos were present and a new person had joined them. Everyone garbed in new clothes except him. Roswise seemed lost in thought, a pink blush staining her cheeks. She was avoiding eye contact with him for some reason. A child had joined them, a red-haired child, that looked like a cross between Cowtit's older brother and the ice-cold maid. The boy was seated beside Lady Gremory and was staring at him as if he was a roller coaster. Are you really a human? He asked all of a sudden. Mom told me you are human and this is my first time meeting one. My name is Milikas, it's nice to meet you. Don't bother introducing yourself, Milikas-chan. This guy can't remember two-syllable names. Naruto gritted his teeth and gave Rias a dry look. He turned back to the boy and waved at him. Hey Milikas. I knew it, he could remember three-syllable names after all. Issei yelled in victory. Pay up everyone. The orc members groaned and paid 1,000 yen each to Issei. Issei counted the money with sick glee and passed 2 notes to Naruto. Here's some for you, sensei. Naruto collected the note and stared at it like it was shit. Wait, do I look poor? He mulled before he zoned out. The blonde ninja had enough money to buy half the land of the Gremorys, he just didn't spend much because he was content with what he had. Don't you feel uncomfortable? You're dining with devils. I read in a book that humans fear us, Milikas asked. Bah, Naruto bellowed. I fear no one. He pushed his chest out with pride, earning a giggle from the boy. So, are all humans without a sacred gear weak? Do you have a sacred gear like Issei ni? Is that why you don't fear anyone? Well, I don't have a sacred gear but I can do stuff. Naruto nodded his head as if he was trying to convince himself he could do stuff. Stuff like what? Milikas asked. Can you summon a meteor? No, but I fought a stuck-up bastard who once did. The mother, the dang bastard was a very strong dude. He could cut huge mountains in two. Naruto almost slipped up and immediately censored his words. The kid was in the room. Everyone shook their heads in disbelief. How could he stoop to Milikas's level like it's nothing? Really, I bet he was strong. Yeah, that bastard was strong alright, but I defeated him with the help of my friend who could split mountains in two too. Naruto retold a tiny fraction of the 4th Shinobi World War to someone he knew would believe every single word of it, the little kid. Oh my, Naruto-san. You're good with kids, Lady Venelana giggled. I thought I told you, Naruto is just fine, right, Naruto? You're strong, mister, but my dad can defeat you, Milikas commented, believing everything he said. Your dad? Naruto questioned. He's the strongest person in the underworld and he's my hero. He's a damn good father then. My dad was my hero too, Naruto smirked and raised a fist at Milikas. Rias's hands sparked with the power of destruction instantly at the gesture. Rias, Venelana chided. Here's to us, sons of heroes. Milikas beamed and quickly fist bumped Naruto. He was excited, he had a thing with a human, a cool human, his first human friend. Naruto went back to eating and gave Rias a smug look. Annoying the girl indirectly brought more satisfaction than just straight up directly antagonizing her. I heard Rias Oni-sama challenged you to a rating game. News traveled that fast? The young devils wanted to know about the person who accepted Oni-sama's challenge. Ah shit. She was a princess and next in line to the head of the household title. That meant bye-bye to his anonymity in the underworld. Sona Ne-san and Revel Ne-san are interested in seeing you too. They should be here any minute. As if on cue, a blue and golden magic circle appeared on the floor of the dining room, and out came Sona and her peerage. Revel was the only person present who he didn't recognize. Sensei? Sona stuttered in surprise. Saji wasn't faring well himself. Sensei? Revel repeated. looking for the odd one out. It was the blonde, handsome man. She's never seen his face before and he's human? Oh, hey, Sonic, Bandana, Shugi, Naruto greeted. Bucko, he got all our names wrong, Saji whispered behind her ears with comical tears. What are you doing here? She asked as she took a seat. Ah, cow, Naruto looked at Milikas and bit his lip. Ah, that student of mine challenged me to a rating game. I'm not your student, Rias bristled. But you are a student of Kuo, I'm a teacher at Kuo, so that makes you my student, Naruto replied with a smug grin. It's a pleasure to meet you, sensei, Revel tried to strike up a conversation with the blonde. Naruto. Right, Naruto. I'm Revel by the way, she introduced. Naruto nodded at her before he was offered a chocolate bar by Milikas. A chocolate bar he got from God knows where. I noticed you weren't eating anything. Don't you like the food? Milikas tilted his head in confusion. Aren't you a thoughtful boy? Naruto smirked and popped the bar into his mouth. Yeah, also, that big sister has been staring at you. The son of Sears ex Gremory pointed at the silverhead who hiccuped at the sudden accusation and subsequent attention it brought. Naruto rose an eyebrow when their eyes met for the first time that day. Roswise covered her eyes in pure embarrassment. Her heart was beating fast nervously from all the attention on her. Era, Akano giggled. Naruto scoffed, his lips curving up to form a smirk. She seemed kind of cute. Well, time to save the damsel in distress. Hey, young Millie, is it a gag in your family for your name to end with S? Everyone adopted a thoughtful look at that. Zeoticus. Searsex. Rias. Milikas. Hey, he's right, Venelana cheered. She was the closest to all four and had taken care of 3 of them since they first arrived in their birthday suits and she didn't even notice. What are you going to name your child then, young Millie? Milikas S.A. adopted a faraway look and placed his hand on his chin. How about roses? Naruto suggested. Roswise, Milikas snapped his finger at Naruto in a eureka moment. Nah, that one ends with an E, and it's already been taken by a beautiful woman. Roswise went red when Naruto sent her a knowing smirk. Sona and her peerage watched as Roswise buried her head under the table. What the hell was going on? Bawahaha. I like you Naruto. I really do. Venelana held her ribs as she laughed out loud. Ah, damn it. Now I have to think of a new name for my daughter. Naruto chuckled at the boy. He seemed all gung-ho about it. At, young Millie. You have all the time in the world to think about it. Milikas nodded and took another chocolate bar and popped it into his mouth. Naruto had a meh look on his face as he looked around the table. Everyone was laughing at Milikas and Roswise. Those who knew of yesterday's events were laughing harder than the rest. They didn't look anything like the impression he had on them. They looked just like a family. Guess he was getting paranoid and didn't give them a chance to prove themselves, but he still hated the majority of them. He just found new members he could tolerate. Naruto raised a glass at Milikas and took a bite out of the meal for the first time. Milikas beamed at the ninja and did the same. Ah, you guys are so cute, Venelana cooed. Stay away from my brother. Issei held Rias back as she tried to obliterate Naruto, who was blowing raspberries at her. Naruto decided right there and then that he'd create a monster out of the boy. Don't worry, young Millie. I will teach you my most sacred technique. What's that? Milikas asked. The art of the prankster from hell, Naruto roared. He couldn't help but remember a golden-haired child with fox ears, running away from her furious mother and his waiting hands. He missed them dearly. Those two. The devil assigned to stalk Naruto reported the latest thing he was doing. He seems to be having a blast with Master Milikas, Lady Venelana, and everyone, sir. Ajuka sighed over the phone. Azazel gave a shrug. He told the green-haired devil Naruto was an enigma and that he didn't bother to study him anymore. He's cold and unapproachable today, and tomorrow he's all sunshine. Keep tabs on him, always, Ajuka ordered and cut the magic link. I don't know why you guys are worried. It's not like he's going to kill them or something with his leaders present. Let the blonde have some fun. Show him Devilkind's good side and maybe his impression might change. He doesn't trust devils, that's why he's put up a cold front to your kind, Azazel concluded. Azazel's eyes went serious as he hunched forward from his leaning pose. I have reasons to believe he once came in contact with Rizavam in the past. Ajuka listened on with rapt attention as Azazel spoke. Scene change, John, Martha, and Gaia stared at Naruto's room and exchanged a glance that said, "You thinking what I'm thinking?" John rushed forward and turned the doorknob open in excitement only for him to experience a force field that flung him across the living room. With reflexes she never knew she had, Martha backflipped over her brother's flying body and landed on her knees. Motherfucker, John groaned as he stood from the broken glass table. Martha stared at her hands and tore her gaze to Gaia who was clapping. So, you haven't noticed? She asked. Noticed what? Martha replied with a confused look. Don't worry, Gaia replied with a knowing smirk. She'd let her figure it out on her own. She bet Naruto would be thrilled to mold her himself so she wasn't about to spoil her adopted, little brother's fun. That paranoid sucker even put a seal around his room. John shook his head in disbelief. Well then, now it's time to take care of the 11-year-old who sat patiently on the couch waiting for Naruto. Well, it's gonna be a long, boring, and dull week without the dull and boring shinobi. Chapter 20. Cock-a-doodle-doo. A red rooster with blue feathered streaks cried, its neck veins bulging as it screamed its little chicken lungs out. Anytime now, Martha's going to wake me up. The rooster pecked at a few pebbles on the floor, flapping its wings. Cock-a-doodle-doo. We do not question how cock was in the underworld in the first place, we roll with it. Anytime now, it was becoming more of a routine now. He'd hear Gaia and John talking about the morning news while Martha softly knocked on his door. Naruto counted from 1 to 5 mentally before the rooster cried for the 3rd time. Cock-a-doodle-dee. Shit. Sapphire blue orbs snapped wide open to an unfamiliar room before sensitive ears picked up soft snoring sounds. Hee bucko no opai. Issei rolled over, showing Naruto the perverted grin on his face. The only devil he will, and is still sharing a bed with was muttering perverted things in his dreams. Even his subconsciousness wasn't spared from the force of his habit. The Red Dragon Emperor. He wanted to see how much the boy had grown. He was looking forward to fighting the boy. After he washed, Venelana provided him with a few spare clothes of Seersex to change into. Naruto earnestly declined. Emphasis on earnestly. But the woman's woe was as hard as diamond. Venelana straightened the rumples on his shirt and said, "Feel free to ask if you need anything, Naruto." Naruto nodded at her, his lips curving up a fraction. About the rating game, you see, devils are territorial creatures. She doesn't really hate you. She just feels threatened by your presence. Seeing Naruto's brow wrinkle in suspicion, she quickly added, "Not that I'm telling you to leave Kuo or anything, cause you're a human after all and you have your own house there and all." Venelana stopped her panicked explanation when she saw the amused look on his face. Both human and devil shared a chuckle in the room. "All I'm trying to say is that a peaceful coexistence should be what we value above all. As grade 3 factions have learned to do the same and we even formed an alliance. She's very young and inexperienced and as such, please take her stupid challenge as a little kid throwing a tantrum." "I understand you, Venelana. I never really took her actions as offensive nor do I bear any hostile intentions towards her. She's young but she's gaining experience at a rapid rate, don't sell your daughter short. Managing a group of devils ain't an easy thing to do, and she's managed to gain the reverence and respect of all her peerage members. It was nothing short of impressive. Naruto has his own reasons, though they were petty and insignificant. He disliked associating with her for those reasons. He didn't hate the child. Since when did Naruto Uzumaki truly hate someone? Worry not, Mother Gremory, this sensei's going to teach your daughter a lesson on humility." Venelana giggled at the nick he gave her and in that moment, Rias pulled the wardrobe door open. She was just passing along the corridor when she heard giggles and chuckles. One sounded just like her mother and the other sounded unfamiliar. Let it be known that Naruto Uzumaki has never smiled, much less laughed in front of devils. Rias peered in from the slightly ajar door wanting to see for herself why her mother was laughing out loud. Green orbs slowly widened till they were the size of dinner plates, almost threatening to fall off their sockets when she laid her eyes on the cause of her mother's lively giggles. Her fury rose the clouds, scraping the firmament. Naruto. Everyone in the Gremory territory got acquainted with the name Naruto that morning. Rias fumed, frothing at the mouth, glaring daggers at Naruto while her peerage members held her back. The blonde on the receiving end of her death stare had his pinky in his ears, trying to scoop wax off it. The massive dining hall they were in seemed empty even with the students and Lord and Lady Gremory present. Naruto sat beside Milikas who was adjacent to his grandmother. Coincidentally, the ruined princess sat opposite of Naruto with her peerage members by her side. Roswise stared at the commotion going on, wondering what Naruto did this time to garner her ire. Sona and her peerage were in the same state staring at the duo with raised eyebrows. "Rias, behave yourself," Lord Gremory commanded. It'd be unbecoming of the princess to treat their guest like that in the presence of the great demon lords.
As if on cue, Naruto perked up when the aura in the room shot up a notch. New, unfamiliar devils strode in with the grace and elegance of nobles. Among them, he spotted 2 couples having the same shade of blonde hair and light blue eyes as his. They could pass off as namakazes any day. The 4 great Maos, Azazel, and Michael were also present waltzing in behind the nobles. Naruto was invited to lunch by the Devil family's clan head in the Gremory territory. Milkas hastily gave him a crash course on the members of the devils present, seeing his new friend's confused face. Biel. Phoenix. Citri. Astaroth. So many devils, Naruto whispered breathlessly. A small hand tugged at Naruto's sleeves. Naruto ni-san. Young Millie. There are a lot of devils here. Naruto placed his palm over his mouth as he whispered to his little friend. Lord Gremory welcomed them all and signaled for the maids to serve lunch. "So, this is the man who trained Issei Hyodo?" Lord Biel asked after taking a seat.
The plain clothing on Naruto and his aura instantly made them reevaluate the blonde. He could pass off as any ordinary human in the street. The man who also devised a way to seal the Phoenix clan's regeneration abilities, Lord Phoenix spoke, eyeing the blonde with veiled suspicion. The Devil Lords present focused their gaze on Naruto, expecting an answer, a word from the blonde. Naruto replied with a carefree attitude, the one and only. Every devil present straightened their backs at his deft reply. Was he dumb? Didn't he know the implication of his actions? The maid of the Gremory household came in and gave an announcement. The rating has been updated, Rias and Sona are fighting together. Both kings looked at each other in surprise before turning their sight to Naruto. Meh. That means I'll have more students to discipline, he shrugged. Ria's countenance twisted as she threatened to boil over in anger. Naruto-san, they are among the uprising young devils. I fear such arrogance will be your downfall, Lord Citri commented. No, I know my students' capabilities. I can very well handle them, alone, Naruto replied. The Devil Lord and ladies present perked up at his words. He was going to fight them alone? Not only one peerage but two all alone, no backup whatsoever? You are full of hubris, human. Lord Biel said, cutting into a piece of marinated meat with the delicacy and grace worthy of his status. You are underestimating me, devil. Naruto was never one to be intimidated by his enemies. Everyone glanced between Naruto and Lord Biel, who held off a staring contest. The leader of the Biel smirked at the blonde after a few moments. He held his gaze well, something very few devils could do. I will look forward to the rating game, only then will I know if I had grossly underestimated you or not, he added. Are you sure you don't need peerage members? Lady Gremory asked. I'd like to join Naruto-ni's peerage. Milikas raised his hands up before Naruto could reply. Everyone laughed at the young devil, Sirsex being the loudest, except Rias. I just want to help my friend, Milikas whispered dejectedly. His mood was lifted the moment Naruto placed his hand on his head. When you grow older, he mouthed to the boy, a grateful smile gracing his features. Milikas beamed in return and nodded, finally finding a drive to grow older faster. Mom, I'm ready for those vegetables, Milikas said with a constipated look marring his cute face. Grafia raised her eyebrow in confusion. Let it be known that her son, Milikas, had a burning passion. You always say eating vegetables will make me grow up faster, and I really need to grow up right now. Maybe if I had one of those mushrooms from Super Mario, Milikas added as if he sensed her confusion, trailing off at the last moment. The mothers present shared a laugh at the loyal little friend Naruto gained. Rias shuddered with a groan, leaning back in her chair, rubbing her neck in exasperation. Her mother had fallen and now, her brother too? Those two were becoming friends faster than Tobirama could say Sweden. Is Naruto-san currently allied with any faction? Lord Astaroth asked with a gleam in his eyes. The question made everyone perk up in interest, even his students. Like I said before, I'm independent, I belong to no faction. Join my peerage. They were all surprised but they kept it well hidden. Those who knew Naruto could only shake their head at Lord Astaroth's futile attempt. I should have seen this coming, Lord Phoenix grunted. Why? Naruto's reply caught everyone off guard. Given his jerky exterior, what they expected was a witty reply, a jibe at worst, a snort or blatant disregard at best. Why? Well, for starters, power. I have enough power already. You're just a human being. As a devil your potential is limitless. Potential, Naruto snorted. No offense but, I will not be reincarnated into a slave. The reincarnated devils in the room cringed while the full-blooded ones shifted uncomfortably. Well, you don't have to look at it that way, when they become. They are not slaves. Rias slammed her fist on the table, cutting her mother off. Charming, but other devils don't share the same sentiments. Naruto leaned on his chair and folded his arms over his chest. Rais swallowed her retort instantly because his words were candid. So, that's a no, what a shame. You're probably the only human to dine with us like this. Lord Astaroth cut the tension in the room. So, Naruto, tell us about your parents, Venelena hurriedly said with a smile. They're dead. Oh, her mood instantly took a 180. Do you have siblings?
No, Naruto thinned his lips to avoid his lapsus. Glancing at Issei and Kiba, both kids had perked up in shock to repudiate his claims. Yes I do, he quickly added, making both kids release their breaths.
That was a close one. About your sister, Naruto-san, is she special like you? Ajuka asked, striking a conversation with Naruto for the first time. It was downright weird. Ajuka looked like Ibiki Morino banged Conan. It was like Ajuka's eyes were peering into his soul. Damn, what was that saying again? It's in the blood? I see, do you mind explaining the basis of your magic? Nope. The curious devils at the table expecting an explanation gnashed their teeth in frustration. What type of magic do you use? I flunked parlor tricks. Couldn't even pull one off if my life depended on it. Perhaps, an artificial sacred gear then? Naruto snapped his exasperated face at Ijuka. The man was as tenacious as a cockroach. Hard to shake off, like a darn cobweb on your face early in the morning. Just a demonstration. Ijuka pushed his luck to the limits. He would gain at least a single info from Naruto today. Naruto sighed at everyone's expectant looks and shocked his head. If a demonstration is what they want, a demonstration is what they are gonna get. Naruto weaved his fingers into two hand seals at a pace they could follow and summoned a log. Everyone's brows furrowed in confusion at the piece of wood resting on the table. Milikas even poked it to verify its authenticity for himself. This, right here, has saved my life so many times. He introduced, lifting the piece of wood off the table. We call it the log. The log? Milikas breathed beside him. Everyone else face fault. Thank you Naruto-san for pointing out the obvious. We all know it's a log. Yes, it's a basic technique of mine where I can switch places with this specific log instantly. Though, we do not know how it's always this specific log that always comes out, not minding the fact that there are no trees or piles of readily made logs around. Like right now. I mean look around you. We're in a dining hall, to switch places with sometimes. All we do know is that they make great dummies. They have saved so many lives, young Millie. The log is a ninja's best companion. Everyone awed by the abilities of the piece of wood lying on the table couldn't help but find it very convenient. The ability to switch places with this log instantly could save one's life in the heat of battle. Whilst everyone was busy gawking, the leaders and lords present couldn't help but notice one word that roused suspicion. Ijuka beat them all to it and voiced his query, we? Yes. We. Naruto drawled, not hiding or refuting the fact. The mental exhaustion he received after he had glorified the Kawarimi Jutsu to such an extent was tedious. That means, ask no further, Mao-san. You seriously don't want to know about it. He abruptly cut the green-haired devil, downing a cup of water. They all dined in relative silence when Naruto asked after Roswise all of a sudden. He's been meaning to ask but he couldn't recall her name so he asked in the only way he could. They told him she was away on an official court summon from Asgard. Naruto's eyes widened a fraction at that. He returned to his meat, cutting at a slow pace. He seemed lost in thought as he chewed a piece of meat mechanically. I wonder how those three are doing, he thought, gazing up. He was in the underworld so, home should be up there, right? Scene change. Earth, Kuo, Uzumaki Mansion. A beige gray-haired goddess sneezed violently on a white sofa. Oi, Gaia, it's been a day already. Where's that blonde and who's the little girl? John whispered into Gaia's ear as he stared at Ophis who hadn't left her position for a full day now. He couldn't sleep the entire night because of her. Where is Naruto anyways? Gaia groaned. Did you have something to do with his disappearance? I took him to the dimensional gap. Ophis said. You what, Ophis? He's currently in the underworld. Naruto ni is in the underworld. His housemates exclaimed rhetorically. Why did you take him to the dimensional gap? I know of your organization and its goals. It seems I have important business to attend to right now. I will return. Ophis exited through a tear in space-time. That old snake, Gaia spat distastefully. How, that's a lot of animosity right there, Gaia. Who is she? I couldn't sleep all night. John did something of a stakeout yesterday night. Habitual of someone of his profession. And he can comfortably say Ophis doesn't know how to blink. Had her eyes open throughout the entire night. As stiff as a statue on the sofa. He thought it was her sleeping habit but he was wrong. That little girl is a very powerful being, standing at the top of every creature in existence. The infinite dragon god, Ophis, second only to Great Red. She said something about me, interesting. Martha perked up all of a sudden. Gaia sighed at Martha. She's so young and innocent. She wanted to protect that innocence a little bit longer and she'd hoped to break it to her when Naruto was around but the bastard bailed. Gaia, why does someone standing at the top of creation find my sister interesting? They had just went through a roller coaster event with a Shirik who found Martha interesting, in many ways. They weren't looking forward to another supernatural being finding her interesting so fast. It's not what you think, John. Gaia groaned, contemplating how was she going to do this. Listen, Martha, like your brother, you have the potential to awaken a latent amount of demon magic within you. No, it's already substantial as we speak. John stared at his sister in astonishment and a hint of sympathy. A voice in his head told him Gaia was telling the truth. Do you mean, I have demon magic within me? Oh my dear. It's not an entirely bad thing. It's yours, noise and control. It can be whatever you want it to be. Gaia's explanation was all for naught as Martha was in shock. She had demon energy flowing through her, demon energy. Does that mean, she was a demon like a Shirik? Scene change. The underworld. Naruto frowned deeply all of a sudden. Someone he knew was being stupid. Ni-san? Milika's prepubescent voice jolted him out of his thoughts. Are you sure this is going to work? The strategy Naruto chose, the player's positioning, the club, everything looked random. Never fear Millie-chan, I'll beat this game for you. 20 minutes later. I lost. There was only one reasonable explanation Naruto could think of. The AI cheated. What a sore loser Naruto has become. Milikas let Naruto vent his frustration before he spoke up. Nisan, your fight is in 3 days. Rias-ne-sama and Sona-ne-sama are training hard right now. Aren't you afraid they're going to grow stronger in 3 days? The gap between me and them isn't so feasible that a Hell Mode 3 days training program would cover it. I'm stronger than you think. How strong are you exactly? Milikas asked, scooting closer. Should I let you in on a secret? Naruto did the same. Yes. Milikas replied barely above a whisper. I once fought 3 gods and escaped, flipping them the middle finger. Naruto whispered into his ear. Really? You did that? You two are so ridiculous. Lady Venolana and Lady Phoenix giggled. Yo, I didn't see you ladies there. Grandma, I just wanted to take a look at you for myself. It's amazing how we look so familiar, yet are total strangers, or did my husband have an illegitimate child behind my back? Lady Phoenix giggled. Any child would be glad to have you as their stepmom. I certainly would, Naruto replied. Ho ho ho, oh my Naruto-san, are you hitting on me? How dare I think I stand a chance against such a beauty of your caliber? I ought to be re-educated. Oh, he's a keeper all right, Venolana, Lady Phoenix laughed. Naruto couldn't feel any hostility from Lady Phoenix. It seems she was genuinely interested in him. He was basically the only human to have ever received such treatment in the underworld. These devils didn't look so bad right now. Scene change, night. Naruto walked into the Mao's office, walking past 2 guards stationed beside the doorposts. The door clicked open automatically and the image of Searsex, facing the window behind his desk, in his chair greeted his sight. Searsex Lucifer turned around when cold air from outside burst into his office, and that could only mean one thing. He rose to his feet, gazing at the man called Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto-san, thank you for coming. Searsex motioned at the chair opposite his. Naruto gave a quick nod and took the red-haired devil's offer. I called you here to thank you for your effort in the battle against Ashirik. I should have paid you a visit sooner, but as you can see, I'm preoccupied. True to Searsex's words, stacks on stacks of paperwork filled the desk. It's alright, Mao-san. With the aftermath of the war, you were bound to be busy. Searsex smiled at Naruto. The man looked laxed, no hint of fear in his person given he's sitting in front of the Mao, leader of all devils. He also seemed comfortable compared to the first time he came into the underworld. Naruto-san, I'll stop beating around the bush now that the pleasantries are out of the way, Searsex said, leaning forward, his intertwined fingers on the table. The conditions you gave in exchange for your services were quite unique. If you don't mind me asking, what's your relationship with Kuroka? Naruto looked Searsex in the eye and answered honestly, a friend. I see, not only did you defeat 3 of its clones, you ultimately rid us of the age-old immortal demon. For that, Devilkind will be eternally grateful to you, Naruto-san, and our doors will be open for you. Naruto raised an eyebrow at Mao's generous reward but shrugged it off nonetheless and thanked him. How has your stay in the underworld been so far? Hope everyone is treating you well. Well, besides the constant monitoring, it's been a pleasant experience so far, Naruto replied. I see, it's basic protocol, I hope you understand. I do, but I'm living in the Gremory Castle, isn't that enough surveillance? Naruto asked, growing irritated. I'm sorry for the inconvenience, Naruto-san, Searsex smiled. Naruto sighed, feeling a headache coming. This Searsex guy. Well then, if that's all, I'll be retiring to my corner. Naruto stood up and was about to take his leave. One more thing, Naruto-san, what's your relationship with Ophis? Naruto locked gaze with Searsex over his shoulder. Don't be bothered, Mao-san. There's no way I join the Chaos Brigade, that's not my style. Naruto's answer somehow assured Searsex he had nothing to do with Ophis. As Naruto left his office, he let loose a sigh and cracked his knuckles, staring at the stack of paperwork. It's going to be a long night. 2 days later, the D-Day. The clan heads of the remaining pillars and multitudes of devils were present today. The 4 Maos weren't an exception. Their entire peerages were present. The entirety of Devilkind were gathered together to witness the raiding game, first of its kind. One might ask, raiding games happen all the time, so why is this one any different? It is because the sisters of 2 Maos were involved in this game, as the initiator and the challengee was none other than a human from the human world. What's surprising is that this human possesses no sacred gear. What's even more surprising is that the challengee was the challenger's teacher. You see, raiding games were a devil thing. Devils challenged devils so they could raise their ranks. This wasn't one of those promotion kind of battle. Nay, this was students and teacher duking it out in a formal pretense of a raiding game. Not that the populace knew of this fact. Many devils wrote the teacher off, claiming what could a sacred gear less human do against their own. This garnered a lot more attention than expected, Michael said. Well, half of them are present to see the Opie Dragon in action, Azazel added. Now would be a good time to evaluate Naruto Uzumaki formally. Make sure the cameras are at the right angles. Ajuka, the genius super devil, ordered. The devils cheered as Searsex stood up for his formal speech. Welcome, everyone. I'm grateful and happy to see all of Devilkind gathered together after the storm we went through. Everyone went silent in respect of those that fell in the war. Inside the waiting room, the contestants were waiting to be transported into the arena. Rias and Sona decided to wear the Kuo Academy uniform while Naruto was garbed in a typical suit, foregoing a tie. Naruto-san, I don't know if you're a foe or friend, but please, go easy on them. They are the future of Devilkind. Glacier, they are my students. I intend to teach them. Naruto patted her on the shoulder, catching the maid off guard. Does that put your mind at ease? Outside the arena, the devils cheered as their leader sat down, finished with his speech, and the timer began. The entire peerage of Searsex, the clan heads, Michael and Azazel were also present. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, the devils all counted. Begin. The game field. The dimension looked a lot like Kuo Academy, a perfect replica of it, only it was more spacious and lacked a clear blue sky and the sun. Sona and her peerage were teleported to the south end of the school. Rias and her peerage were on the north end of the school. Naruto was in the middle. The school was much bigger than Kuo Academy itself. He couldn't see the end of the field from the vantage point he was standing on. Well, I have a lot of brats to teach, Kakashi, sensei, Naruto said, a nostalgic feeling washing over him. Naruto began kneading chakra for a jutsu, making sure to perform the hand seals in slow motion. Devilkind will be acquainted with the ninja arts game field. Those hand signs. Ajuka noticed a pattern repeat similar to the ones Naruto first used the other day. The screen showed Naruto standing on a building making hand signs with his fingers before he drew in air, his lungs full of fire chakra. He cupped his index and thumb finger in front of his mouth before snapping his head up. They all witnessed Naruto breathing out a huge phoenix made of fire. The Phoenix clan heads and their children were having difficulty closing their mouths. No way, is he a phoenix? Some devils whispered, forgetting that he was clearly stated to be human due to the proficiency with fire he just displayed. Wow, shiny, Milikas exclaimed, inside the game field. Rias and Sona were communicating, using magic to form strategies, sharing info on Naruto's abilities. The first step in their agenda was locating the blonde ninja. A phoenix made of fire screeching as it ascended into the air was the signal they needed. Naruto was giving out his position. Scene change. Fire magic? Lord Gremory asked. We don't know for sure what kind of energy fuels his techniques, but we are convinced it's not magic. We have reasons to believe it's chakra, Grafia replied. Chakra? The clan heads exclaimed. Is he part Yukai, with the whisker marks? Lady Phoenix inquired. No, Naruto is a full-fledged human, Azazel answered the question for them. What's he doing now? Falbium asked no one in particular while staring at the screen. Naruto rolled up his sleeves and the camera caught a moon tattoo on his left palm. Azazel was surprised to see the tattoo in his left hand for the first time, or maybe he hadn't noticed until now. The camera, then, zoomed forward to a tattoo on his left hand, a weird tattoo, a bowl of steaming ramen. Naruto placed his index and middle finger on the tattoo and smoke covered the entire screen. The devils waited with bated breaths, hearing a ripping sound before the smoke cleared. Is he eating ramen? Lord Biel asked in sheer disbelief. Seals? He can store things in his skin? The tattoo must have something to do with it. The way he uses his fingers before he casts his techniques must be important. If those tattoos can store things in them, what's inside that black, crescent moon tattoo? Ajuka pondered while everyone else was busy gawking at Naruto. In the game field, nothing beats having cup ramen in the afternoon. A magic circle popped out of the ground and out came Asia, the gentle one. Naruto raised an eyebrow at the timid girl and asked incredulously, what's this? Sensei, can I have some ramen? Asia beamed at Naruto. Cow Tits already sacrificing her healer? Naruto asked, placing emphasis on Cow Tits, slurping a long strand of noodle. Asia's eyes twitched for a millisecond and that was all Naruto needed to body flicker away before a red wave of the power of destruction scraped the top of the building off. I know I'm your sensei, but I'm not afraid to admit that I have studied your opais for research purposes. Asia's C-cup wasn't all that perky and big. Naruto made grabbing motions. Those are borderline D-cups, he added as an afterthought. Rias gawked at his admittance and fired off another stream of the power of destruction in anger. Naruto evaded her attack, landing on a big tree branch only to bounce off it as a huge ice snake destroyed the tree. Oi, what are you brats doing? Sending your king to battle? What was that word again? Right, checkmate the both of you. Rias and Sona stood beside each other, staring at Naruto who was perfectly balanced, sitting cross-legged on a telephone pole, bowl of ramen still in hand. Let's see if you can, sensei, Naruto. You are a spoiled one, Cow Tits. Naruto commented with a dry look. The first thing I'll do after winning is make you my slave for the rest of the term. Using a 5th grader's logic, that means your slaves are my slaves. He quickly downed the remaining broth down the hatch. They are not slaves, they're family, Rias corrected strongly. Yeah, go tell that to Shinji. The reincarnated devil who committed suicide when he couldn't take his master's abuse anymore. By the way, I slaughtered the master and the entire peerage, Naruto said with an indifferent expression. Rias and Sona were horrified, to say the least, outside the game field. The devils burst into murmurs at the revelation. The elders watched with their game face. It was all in the past now. Inside the game field, how could you slaughter an entire peerage? Rias shrilled accusingly. Ever heard of putting something out of its misery? Naruto asked deadpanned. But still, don't make a mountain out of a molehill, Sonic. Devils kill humans, humans kill devils. I just added a few numbers to the tally. Naruto cut Sona off. A few numbers was an understatement, you murderer, Rias growled with contempt. You're no exception, cowtits. You even let a human die knowing full well you could have saved him. Naruto's indifferent expression morphed to his cold one. I didn't, Issei Hyodo, did he know you let him die on purpose? Naruto questioned. Kiba glanced at Issei who had stopped running. He looked devastated. Saji had stopped advancing forward in favor of being by his friend's side. Akeno gritted her teeth as she and Tsubaki moved into formation. Rias bit her lips in fear, shame, and anger. Fear because Issei heard everything Naruto said. The last thing she wanted was Issei's hatred. Shame because everything Naruto said was true. And anger because it was coming out of Naruto's mouth. He was twisting the truth. It's true because back then, I was desperate. I wanted to save myself from a fate worse than death and I was willing to do anything to stop my marriage with Riser. Issei, man, snap out of it, Saji yelled. The boy was on his hands and knees shaking like a leaf. Back then, I was nothing but a selfish spoiled princess. You still are one, Naruto deadpanned, but if I was given a chance to go back to the past, I'd let him die all over again so I can have him in my family again, so I can fall in love with him all over again. Ooh, a love confession. I'm sorry for letting you die, Issei, but I'm not sorry for resurrecting you as my pawn. All the battles we went through, you held my hand and protected me. You kept your promise. You changed me and my family. You helped us overcome our fears. Kaneko, Kiba, Asia, Akeno, everyone you met, you helped them for the better. Just so you know, once upon a time, I was like that too. Oh, where did the good old days of talk no jutsu fly to? Naruto raised his hand in the air with a nostalgic look on his face. Issei, without you, my family is incomplete, my life is incomplete, I'm incomplete without you. Outside the game field, he's more cunning than I thought. Were the thoughts going through the leader's minds? Venelana had a smile on her face as her daughter confessed her love. It seems we have a lot to discuss, Issei Hyodo. Lord Gremory's magic levels were rising fast. Inside the game field, Kiba offered Issei an arm with a smile on his face as he pulled him up. Issei looked like he grew a few centimeters taller as he stood, trying his hardest not to cry. He heard all of them confess their love to him and the confession strengthened his trust and drove off any doubt he had. TCH, his emotions change. So, give us your best shot, Naruto, we are going to defeat you. The Nakama power effect, always a sight to behold, but, sadly, this ain't a certain anime where characters don't bleed even when they're cut with bladed weapons. Naruto smacked his lips as their resolve reached him. He could feel it, and to have thought that it had dwindled a moment ago. Was this how Madara felt when he didn't give up? It's quite annoying. The feeling, now that he was playing villain with high school kids. Devils, but high school kids nonetheless. Well, I must say, I am disappointed and impressed, simultaneously that his tactics to rip them apart from the inside didn't work. Impressed because of the strength of their bonds. Cherish the bonds you have, Red Bat. Naruto used something that's not degrading to address her for the first time. Same goes for you, Citri. When you suddenly find the world you live in upside down, those bonds will be what you have left. Cherish them. Outside the game field, Venelana snorted with a grin on her face. Nice. He was probing their bonds. Lady Phoenix commented, finding Naruto interesting all of a sudden. Inside the game field, now that I know your bonds are deeply rooted, what's next? Naruto trailed off, letting the question hang in the air. I remember. The winds picked up around Naruto as little leaves danced around him. He stood up from the pole, standing perfectly on the tip. I haven't taught you two anything, have I? Rias and Sona conjured a magic circle, waiting for the slightest change in Naruto's posture. Lesson 1. He caught a leaf between his index and middle finger. Outside the field. Those fingers again, inside the field. The winds were howling as they surrounded Naruto, acting like a smokescreen, covering him from view. Naruto did a half ram seal before he announced the first lesson, taijutsu. The winds, the leaves, everything stopped for a moment and when it all cleared, Naruto wasn't on top of the pole anymore. Ria's green orbs went wide as Naruto materialized in front of her and kicked her in the gut. The power behind his kick was strong enough to launch her a few feet away in the air. Sona jumped back immediately, crossing her arms in front of her chest, a magic circle materializing behind her. She wanted to launch an aerial attack, but Naruto appeared in front of her, gripped her hands, stopping her from completing the motion. Nah! Naruto spun around while still holding her and flung her towards the pole he was previously standing on. She didn't have enough time to right herself in the air and crashed into the pole, breaking it in two. Naruto pulled a book out of his pouch and opened the first chapter. "Is that all you young devils can take?" he scoffed. "What a joke. We'll show you never to underestimate a young devil. We are the pride of our race, the future leaders. You don't mess with us," Ria said, standing up with determination. Naruto raised an eyebrow at his surroundings. He was flanked on all sides by the heavy hitters. Akeno, Kiba, Saji, Tsubaki, Issei, Kaneko, and Xenovia. All of them were in the air, using their flight abilities to their advantage. Asia and Gasper were nowhere to be found. Oi, is this not cheating? You break this sensei's heart when you gang up on him like this." Naruto feigned hurt. "Outside the game, so they have decided to go all out from the start," Sirzek said. "A lone king can only do so much when cornered by the enemy's pieces," Azazel added. "Let's not forget he still has an ace up his sleeves. He can make up for his lack of pieces with actual copies of himself," Ajuka commented. The smartest devil was wondering why the blonde hadn't multiplied himself yet with the overwhelming numbers on the devil's side. Is he that confident in his abilities? Back in the game field, Bucko. Both pawns yelled at the same time, earning approval from their respective kings. They went through a queen promotion. Akeno giggled as lightning crackled from a magic circle she conjured. Naruto yelped and did backflips to avoid the thunderbolts she shot at him. While he was dodging, Kiba had used his speed to get in Naruto's blind spot and stabbed his sword into the ground, conjuring a continuous wave of demonic swords from the ground to the position the blonde was standing on. "Oi, Naruto, enter Sage mode and end this fight already." Kurama woke up in the seal. "Hey, they are my students, you know. If Kakashi had brought out his Mangekyo Sharingan from the start, we would have given up on becoming ninjas in the presence of overwhelming power." Naruto, coating his hand with water chakra, slapped a blue fireball away as he jumped over Kaneko to evade her punch. The earth groaned and cracked under the force of her punch. "Nice power," Naruto thought before his danger senses went blaring. A red and black energy ball was coming his way, courtesy of Cow Tits. He slammed his hands into the floor and brought up an earth wall to his defense. The earth wall was rendered useless in the presence of the power of destruction. Naruto gasped in pain when the power of destruction hit his skin for the first time. "It stings. It really stings." Naruto didn't have time to recover as Issei and Kaneko were now engaging him in taijutsu. "I'm going to have to dodge until I can think of a counter for that." Naruto was brought out of his musing when Kiba and Xenovia joined the fray. Now, he was being tag-teamed on by two swordsmen and two brawlers. Naruto ducked under a horizontal slash and rolled over to the side to avoid having a large gash on his side. Naruto was on his knees when Issei threw Kaneko in the air. The Nekomata did numerous somersaults in the air before she brought her axe kick down on him. Naruto brought his arms up and took the full brunt of her attack. The kick packed much more power than one would believe her lithe body could generate. Spider cracks traveled through the ground as Naruto gritted his teeth and pushed back. Kaneko bounced off Naruto and landed beside Issei. "This is unfair, I am unarmed and alone. Where's the honor in defeating me?" Naruto protested, rubbing his sore wrists. Naruto's blue orbs darted around the field, looking for two specific people, the kings. "Wait, I forgot, devils don't have honor," he drawled. The two knights, the rook, and the pawn all took defensive stances when Naruto brought his arm behind his back. Naruto was shaking with excitement as he fished two things out of his pocket. A bell and a kunai. He strapped the bell to the handle of the kunai. The bells jiggled as he pointed the sharp object at them. "Now, if one of you four can steal this, I promise I will forfeit." The true meaning of the bell test was useless in this kind of situation, but nobody said he couldn't roleplay. Their teamwork was good enough to keep him on defense, even though he never took the offense. They made him move constantly to avoid their attacks and they didn't even look winded, but here he was, specks of dirt here and there. "It's time to change that, you have 5 minutes. I will get that bell in 3. Great words there, Hyoto," Naruto commented. "But even if the young devils of each clan came at me, all at the same time, they still won't be able to steal this from me." Outside the game field, the devils in the arena booed. The young devils themselves scoffed at the notion. Cyroorg stared on in interest. "So far, they have him on the defense," Lord Bile said. The leaders of the devils nodded at his comment. "No, he chose to stay on the defensive, but that's about to change," Soji informed. In the game field, Naruto grinned as he twirled the kunai with his finger, reared his hand back and threw the kunai at them with the bells jiggling as it traveled through the air to its intended target. Seeing Naruto's actions as foolish, Issei's expression brightened as he held his hand out for the opportunity Naruto presented to them. The kunai was only a few inches away from him before Naruto blurred into existence in front of him and slapped his hand downwards. The kunai moved on unhindered before Naruto fished it out of the air when it was a millimeter away from Issei's eyeballs. He spun on the balls of his feet and delivered a fully powered kick to his stomach. He quickly turned around and brought his kunai up to block the sharp edge of Durandal. The kunai broke in two upon contact with the holy sword and the bells flew up at the sudden loss of their anchor. Naruto deftly caught the blade of Durandal between his palms and redirected its course. With lightning-fast speed, he hit 4 pressure points on her right arm, making her grin for the sword to fall out of her hand. Both student and teacher watched as the bell reached the maximum height it could attain before gravity pulled it back to the ground. Xenovia jumped up with her left hand outstretched, but Naruto beat her to it, more like he cheated. "No you don't." He delivered a roundhouse kick to her solar plexus that forced saliva out of her mouth before she was launched away. The bell was on its route to Naruto's outstretched hand before a wave of swords and blue fireballs forced him to jump up. The blonde ninja landed on the hilt of one of the swords and held the string of the bells he snatched out of the air. He waved it in an enticing manner before Kiba rushed him. Naruto kicked the sword he was standing on, with a back flip, at the blonde knight. Kiba raised his sword and parried the strike before he raised betrayal over his head. His attempt was thwarted when Naruto threw the bells at him. Startled, Kiba froze and Naruto capitalized on the moment. He performed a smokeless Shunshin-powered kick that sent Kiba crashing into Xenovia. "I must say, your taijutsu has improved. You did well but your time's over." The bells went up in flames with a quick burst of Kaden chakra. Lesson 2. Ninjutsu. Naruto's hair started waving around gently with the amount of chakra he was needing. "Make sure you dodge this," he warned, forming a horse seal. "Kaden," Naruto said, cupping his lips. "Shimada," Issei cursed mentally, sprinting forward. Those words herald flames. Flames powerful enough to rival a dragon's flames. "Boost boost boost," Diedrich repeated like a mantra. "Gokumi." He took in a deep breath of air. "Get down," Issei yelled, cocking his right fist back. Kayaku. The temperature of the game field increased drastically as Naruto breathed out a sea of fire. A literal sea of fire, burning everything in its path, racing towards his students. Outside the raiding game, all the Phoenix clan members present were shocked to the core. Some were even muttering about the blonde teacher being a bastard son of the Phoenix family with his blonde hair and blue eyes again. My hypothesis was right. He makes those hand signs when he wants to perform those jutsus of his, said a Juka who was staring at the red big screen. Such great mastery over fire, Lord Phoenix whispered. Lord Phoenix wanted him in his peerage so badly. Back in the game field, tons of blue magic circles formed a wall of ice several meters tall. A wave of red magic circle flooded the front line with the power of destruction and Tsubaki fired off a stream of ice-cold mist, using her sacred gear in conjunction with her king's power to create an overpowered fire extinguisher. "It's time to enact our plan. Keep him busy, Issei." "Bucko," Issei yelled in excitement and rushed towards the front line. "Well, these kids are good. Working together to stop an S-rank jutsu created by Madara himself." Naruto mulled, watching the steam caused by their counter rise up in the only wall of ice that remained. The sound of boots hitting sand reached Naruto's ears. Hyodo looks different. "I'll show you the results of my training, sensei. Prepare yourself," Issei said, walking towards his sensei. "You are not using the scale mail, partner." "No, my priority is to keep him busy. What I need is speed." "Alright partner. Let's go, Diedrich, over boost." The gauntlet grew till it covered his elbow before Issei vanished. Naruto's pupils dilated a fraction and he quickly brought his hands up to block a sucker punch. "Ho ho, you little shit. You're holding back on me?" Naruto grinned, not an evil grin. Maybe a hint of evil, but an excited grin. The kind of grin you make when you see something you want to play with before he vanishes, matching Issei's speed. The orc were honestly flawed. Both of them were nothing but blurs. Issei was going toe-to-toe with Naruto. Outside the raiding field. "Haha, show him the might of the devils," Securite, Sir T, Sears Rook, yelled. "They seemed evenly matched in speed, but we all know the blonde is faster than that," Azazel commented. "They are both using the same style," Michael added to Azazel's analysis. "I've seen that style before." Issei subconsciously tries to slip into that style when he's sparring but refrains from doing so. Azazel held his chin in thought. The blonde must have taught him the style. Sears added his own quota. Back in the game field, promotion. Night, Issei was nearing the limit of his Sacred Gear's base form. Any further and he would be using scale mail level power. Naruto's grin widened as Issei's kick flew past his head with more speed. He reeled back, missing Issei's back kick by an inch before he took the offensive. Issei was completely on defense. There was no hole in Naruto's offense. The perverted brunette gasped when Naruto titled his head and caught his outstretched fist with his left hand and gripped his elbow, then turned to face the other direction and pulled him over his shoulder, doing a taekwondo throw of sorts. The Red Dragon Emperor, thinking quickly, twisted his body in the air so he landed on his feet with Naruto's whiskered face blocking the sun from view. He twisted his body again till he was eye level with the blondie and tried to break free of Naruto's grip, which was easier planned than done, while exchanging quick low kicks. Issei jumped up and tried to kneel him in the face, successfully breaking free as Naruto was forced to raise his arm to block Issei's attempt to ruin the bridge of his nose. Issei used the momentum he gained and delivered as many kicks as possible to Naruto's face before gravity did its thing. Naruto parried all his attempts and tried to slap kick his student's temple. Issei ducked under the kick and rushed forward, grabbing Naruto's waist, and circled him till his chest was flushed with Naruto's back. His battle instincts are increasing exponentially. Naruto thought as Issei performed a successful DDT of sorts. Utilizing Shukaku's chakra, Naruto softens the ground with sand to cushion his impact. Issei jumped away from Naruto and landed in front of the wall. Promotion. Queen, Welsh Dragon, Balance Breaker. Issei was now decked out in his scale mail. Let's go, Gasper. Issei dashed forward. Hi, the cross-dresser yelled, his eyes glowing. Naruto mirrored Issei, who had his hand reared back for a sucker punch, only for Issei to score a punch that made Naruto go up in smoke. Issei exclaimed. Congrats, you managed to defeat the one and only clone I will create in this fight. Naruto yelled, jumping down from a tree. Maybe I shouldn't have wasted the clone like that. They make good dummies and substitutes, he muttered to himself as an afterthought. Naruto made sure he pumped extra chakra into the clone when he created it, but it turns out the clone's Kakashi-like personality made him go easy on them, but he did wasted his chakra on an S-rank jutsu, so it was already running low on chakra. But a single punch from Issei, something he saw coming, how did it land? It was like he froze there for a second. As a bonus for killing my clones, no more baby gloves. Naruto, who was walking towards Issei and Gasper, turned around all of a sudden towards a tree in the distance, clapped his hands and intoned, Sweden, Teppodama. A Kano flew out of her hiding spot as the water cannon uprooted the tree before it was frozen. Naruto turned his attention back to Issei when he heard the sound of metal hitting the earth. Naruto went to his knees and clapped. The action brought forth waves upon waves of sand towering over the Securite. Xenovia jumped in front of Issei, cutting through the sand wave with Durandal, skidding back a few feet due to the momentum the waves carried, and kept on advancing with Issei. Naruto jumped away all of a sudden, avoiding ice spikes when a magic circle appeared on the ground, only to look up above when an object casted a shadow over him, but his attention was drawn away again. Dragon shot. Issei yelled, using half the power of his Signao appeared behind him and fired off a fat lightning bolt at his blind spot. Naruto shunshed away to avoid the attack again, only to look up again when the same shadow appeared again, only to see Ria's form, blocking the sun with her hands crossed over her bust. Naruto's eyes widened when a magic circle, 4 times his height, towered over him. He quickly created a rift of sand to ride on as he tried to create distance between him and the red-haired girl. It seems the young devils were hell-bent on making him take Ria's attack head-on. Outside the raiding game, oh my, Venelena gasped. One king on the board can only do so much, Falbium stated. Check, mate. Searsex smirked. They all worked together, but Gasper's sacred gear was the topping of their effort. The power of destruction had the ability to destroy matter on an atomic level. Even Naruto couldn't come out such an attack unscathed. They must have capitalized on the fact that very few had a counter for the technique. Back in the game field, Tsubaki appeared under the rift via magic circle, and Naruto had to jump off it when a fully powered dragon shot and a bigger lightning bolt exited it. A crackling red beam of dragon magic shot up into the sky, parting the clouds. Naruto whistled as he observed the dangerous combo under free fall. These kids are trying to kill me for real, Naruto mused, only to gasp in absolute bewilderment when something casted a red glow on him behind his back. I almost forgot about cow tits. The blonde Uzumaki tried to draw on Kurama's chakra before he berated himself for thinking about it in the first place. Naruto's blood ran cold when he tried to clap his hands, only to find out he couldn't. It's similar to the same feeling he had after getting his clone's memory. He just froze, he couldn't feel anything, he couldn't say anything, he just froze. With a cry worthy of a shoujo main character, Rias released her onslaught. A massive stream of the power of destruction, the same size of the dragon lighting beam, roared towards Naruto at near point-blank range. We win, they all thought with smiles on their faces. Outside the field, call it, made. It's over. No one can dodge that from point-blank range. Lord Biel told Greyfish over his shoulder as he stood up from his seat, disappointed. The human was all talk and no play. His arrogance was what led to his defeat. It was exciting while it lasted, Sir T bellowed. It's not over yet, Greyfia refused to call it. This guy fought a god-level being and survived. Albeit, the closest thing to a demon god. Call it, Graphia. Cyroorg, who had been silent since the beginning of the game, smirked when he witnessed the power of the peerage he was going to fight next summer with his naked eyes. Uzumaki Naruto has been scene change, Rias attack swallowed Naruto whole. The blonde ninja screams filled the air as his body was destroyed on an atomic level. His wails of agony was satisfying, it touched the ruined princess's soul with indescribable gratification. Her feeling of ecstasy was short-lived before it all disappeared when Naruto went up in a cloud of smoke. A clone? A shinobi's word is worth shit. Naruto calmly waltzed out of the building he's been sleeping in with a yawn. I thought you said no more clones? Rias growled. All is fair in love, war and raiding games. Naruto tore his gaze from Rias and glared at the blonde. Girly? He's never seen that one before. What were his abilities? His clones had frozen twice now. This time, my students, I intend to retire y'all, fight hard. A yellow lightning bolt entered his peripheral and he quickly turned around, lightning crackling into life on his hand before he cut the bolt in two. Akeno gritted her teeth in surprise and frustration. He just cut her lightning bolt in two like it was nothing with the little spark on his hand. Outside the game field, water, lightning, sand, fire and earth. Lord Gremory counted. To think a man like this existed and was well hidden in the human world was baffling. He should have gained the attention of the supernatural world by now. Inside the field, a blue ethereal rope wrapped itself around Naruto's wrist when he wasn't looking. The blonde tried to pull it off but it wouldn't budge. Even the gods can't break free of this rope once they are binded by them. Saji boasted. Even Loki couldn't break free of it. Pride and arrogance will get you nowhere, boy. Compared to others, your abilities are pathetic. I won't underestimate my pawn if I were you, sensei. Sona readjusted her glasses. It's quite easy, Sonic. If you can't leave, you make them leave. Simple logic. Naruto grabbed the ropes binding his arm and yanked hard at it, pulling Saji off his feet towards him. He then proceeds to use Saji like a glorified yo-yo, the student bouncing off his kicks, gaining momentum with each kick delivered. Saji grew nauseous from all the kicks and let go of Naruto. I haven't even pulled out flashy justice yet, you lot won't let me, Naruto whined, back to his insufferable graceless self. It's time I pull out my own flashy techniques. Futon. Rinkuden. Naruto blew up a storm with his technique, blasting the devils off their feet. The devils searched around for Naruto, littered with cuts and bruises from the wind blades. Shinju Zanshu no Jutsu. Naruto grabbed Tsubaki's feet and dragged her down, burying her up to her neck. Naruto didn't have time to relax as he began darting around haphazardly, dodging ice spears and ball-shaped power of destruction. Naruto rushed forward to the kings and leapt up to avoid a barrage of ice shards projectiles, diving down from above with a Rasengan the size of a car. Eat this, younglings. Odama Rasengan. Rias protected everyone by conjuring a magic circle. The Rasengan and the power of destruction clashed with each other before the power of destruction overpowered the Rasengan. TCH, even the Rasengan is weak against it. Naruto scoffed as he landed a few feet away from his students. Those clones are going to be a problem, Rias. Only if we had some way we could distinguish the original from the copy. These kids sure have come a long way. I'm seriously considering busting some S-rank moves, guys. You were always one to show off, Naruto. The devils are officially accessing you, why not make it a memorable experience? Then that does it. Naruto opened his eyes slowly, a slightly serious edge to his horizontal bar. Here I come, kids. The last word he uttered before he disappeared. All the devils went flying with a sonic boom. Chidori, Nagashi, Naruto made sure to lower the lightning chakra output enough to leave them paralyzed. Listen, Rias, you have been grating on my nerves these days. I have fought things that would make all the young devils here quake in fear. Things you can't possibly begin to fathom. Naruto repeatedly kicked her in the stomach as he lectured her. Her peerage members yelled her name in worry as Naruto went on his knees and grabbed her face. Outside the raiding game, the devil heirs present gripped the armrest of their seats in anger. This human was crossing his boundaries. All they needed was a word from the mouth to obliterate him. Lady Venelana balled her fist. She was a mother after all, and this was the first time she'd witnessed her precious daughter getting manhandled like this. He's changed. Ajuka had been reading his fighting pattern. He was always on the defense, and when he switched to offense, he actually gave them a heads up. Ajuka thought it was dumb and disrespectful to do that in fight, but seeing this new side of Naruto made contemplate the blonde. Who is this guy? Cyroorg asked, placing his chin on his fist. When the news of Rias's raiding game reached him, he was surprised. His interest skyrocketed when he heard the opposition was a teacher from the human world. Their teacher, no less. So far, the fight had been amusing, all thanks to the blonde with his weird quirks, but the last few words didn't sit quite well with him. He peered the fight earnestly, trying to gather data. Back in the raiding game, You are nothing but an insignificant insect buzzing around in my face. Naruto peered into her soul filled with defiance and resolve. Is your skull so thick you can't even recognize that which is beyond you, that which you can't comprehend? Ria's red bangs shadowed her eyes as her own voice now had a threatening edge to it. You are just one person. What can you do all alone? You can't look down on the future leaders of a supernatural race. You don't have the right nor the power to do that. Get off your high horse, Uzumaki. Rai's words dripping with contempt. What can I do alone, you say? Naruto had a flashback of what made him into the man he was today. It all started when he clocked 17. Should I show you a glimpse of my hell? Naruto asked with a serious aura around him. Throw everything you've got, we'll take them head on. Ria slapped Naruto's hands away. You don't scare me. The power of destruction burst into life around Rias with so much intensity it blasted Naruto off his feet. The sage righted himself midair and landed on both feet, his clothes signed here and there. Well said, Rias. Sona stood beside the ruined princess, wiping her goggles clean. Naruto-sensei. The hot dimension began cooling rapidly as a blue aura engulfed Sona. You will eat those words, we swear on our pride as devils. Surrounding objects were freezing on the left while objects on the right were erased at an astounding rate. Naruto had a wide smirk on his face as each and every one of them powered up. Fighting villains. Gaining the power equivalent to said villains. Killing villains. Walking amongst villains, yes, he did look like a villain right now. He was a villain himself, who stood among the top hierarchy of an alien world. Balance break. No Satoryuji Amato T Patty. Tsubaki's magic levels shot up by a far margin from before when she activated her balance breaker. 5 different swords rose out of the ground, each pulsing with stronger demonic energy, especially the biggest one. Xenovia's Durandal shook mightily as it released holy energy, a golden glow surrounding it. Naruto looked at Kaneko in alarm. Senjutsu? He thought. No, there's too much physical energy. What are you doing, little cat? Akano gained his attention as she equipped her priestess robe and unfurled her fallen angel devil wings. Asia was healing Issei. And that she was, quivering, that one hadn't contributed to the fight since the beginning. Was he a healer? Naruto made a mental note to keep an eye on the boy girl. Like the boss he was, he rolled his neck, cracked his knuckles to loosen his muscles. The real fight is just beginning, at least for them. Let's dance, Kozo Domo. Issei and Kiba, the fastest members of the group, dashed forward, Ascalon in Issei's hands, a sword made out of ice and sword of betrayal in Kiba's hands. Issei tapped Kiba's shoulders and both their speeds increased up to the point where they were nothing more than blurs. Naruto flushed his muscles with chakra and stomped his foot forward, breaking out in his base form top speed, matching the 2 blurs. He fished out 2 kunais glowing blue with wind chakra and met his student in the middle. A mini shockwave spanning a few feet occurred. The trio grunted in surprise at their stalemate and then, all hell broke loose. Issei went for a diagonal slash which Naruto ducked under and Kiba instantly entered Issei's weak spot with sword of betrayal poised for a thrust. Naruto managed to parry the thrust away but Issei was already on him, hammering Ascalon down with all his might. Under such explosive force, the earth groaned and gave up instantly and a small cloud of dust covered the devils from view. Naruto's form escaped the cloud of dust as he sucked in a deep breath mid-flip and spat a huge ball of fire the moment he landed on both feet. Imagine his surprise when the ice sword spilt the fireball into 2 as it lost its spark behind Kiba. The moment Kiba ducked, Naruto's danger senses went blaring. Dragon shot. Issei fired off a dragon shot as soon as Kiba rolled over. In near point-blank rage, Naruto's only defense was the very sands under his feet, activating Shukaku's automatic defense. Boom! They waited with bated breaths hoping to see a downed Naruto but they just delayed the inevitable truth. An attack of that caliber couldn't finish their eccentric teacher. Tendrils of sand shot out from where the blonde ninja was and kept the students under defense. When the dust cloud finally cleared, Naruto was standing still in a reassembling sand construct resembling a raccoon with intricate blue marks around it. That would have been bad had I not hardened the sand with earth chakra, Naruto thought, starting at Issei. Kiba swapped his swords in favor of a huge 2-meter-long 2-handed sword and cleaved through the tendrils as he advanced while Issei ran on the tendrils, dodging any other tendril that came too close for comfort, though he quickly found out that hitching a free ride on Shikaku's sands could cost him his limbs as the tendrils he was running on grew spikes. Thanks to the flight abilities granted by the scale mail, he advanced forward albeit with less maneuverability making him lag behind Kiba. Naruto peeked over his shoulder when his automatic defense started firing sand tendrils behind him. Xenovia gritted her teeth at the oncoming volley of sand of bullets. They were too fast and nimble to slice. Thus she used Durandal as a shield of sorts and ventured forward unperturbed. At this rate, both swordsmen would close in on him. Kiba and Xenovia were just a few feet away before 2 massive hands rose out of the ground. It was at this moment, two fat lightning bolts deconstructed the huge hands back to nothing more than sand. Kiba and Xenovia were on him instantly. Both swords releasing a dangerous aura of destruction, one holy and the other unholy. Naruto shunshined away in the nick of time as their huge swords cleaved through his sand construct like knife through butter. He didn't have time to breathe as the floor froze instantly, constricting his movement. Naruto raised an eyebrow in surprise when Sona conjured a huge dragon made out of water and a serpentine ice monster coiling around it. What did these kids eat in 3 days? He couldn't help but wonder. Their damage output had increased drastically. The serpent rose its head up and hissed at Naruto before it lunged downwards, intent on swallowing the blonde whole. It hissed in pain as it collided head first with a violently rotating fireball, destroying its head completely. Naruto broke free from his constraints before the water dragon spat a hail of water bullets at him. Naruto's hands moved rapidly as water circled his form, growing higher in volume, collecting the numerous water bullets, till it gradually took the shape of a water dragon. Water dragon versus water dragon. Both dragons roared at each other and dashed forward. It was clear which side would win when the water dragon made out of chakra collided with the dragon made out of mana. The former instantly froze. Naruto gawked at his frozen dragon in astonishment as it swooped down and swallowed him whole and took to the sky. With a hand gesture from Sona, her water dragon rose higher into the sky and dived downwards at the frozen water dragon, in its open jaws. Tsubaki stood on its tooth, her mirror thrusted forward, begging to be unleashed. God knows what that one contains. Naruto narrowed his eyes as the dragons neared each other. Numerous cracks appeared on Tsubaki's mirror, lighting and red light pouring out of it. Boom! A bell-like shrilling sound accompanied the collision of both. Never once used the Rasen Shuriken like this, but it played its intended purpose quite well. Wind is a natural insulator. Your greatest defense is your greatest defense and vice versa. The Rasen Shuriken whizzed out of existence as soon as the hail of thunderbolts that threatened its caster came to an abrupt halt. Back in the game field, carry the blonde into the sky, but the moment that both dragons were about collided, when Tsubaki unleashed her Sacred Gear's abilities, the devil leaders spotted a dense amount of white chakra that looked like a disc blade overpower all 3 techniques, cutting them rapidly as Naruto's descent to the ground slowed down. It was simply awe-inspiring and beautiful as the blades screeched, cutting everything in its paths. Back in the game field, Naruto felt lightheaded all of a sudden as he descended into a mist of thick gas that had appeared all of a sudden. Sleeping gas? He covered his nose with his sleeve and Seiken made him immune to the effects instantly. Though finally immune to the effect, his sense of calm was short-lived as he was side-tackled by a massive rat. The demonic rat dragged him in the dirt heading for a building, but its plan was foiled when Naruto planted his feet on the ground and punched its head, halting its momentum. He quickly grabbed its whiskers in its dazed state and swung it around before he hurled the demon up towards the sky. A silent Shunsen with a giant Rasengan met the demon rat in the sky. A rain of blood and meat ensued.
Naruto looked around in the air, trying to spot the kids but couldn't find hide nor hair of them. He landed, his senses stretched to the limits. The game field had turned silent, too silent. Genjutsu. Naruto scoffed with an amused expression. A biju intervention, and a moment later, a thin humanoid demonic being wearing a black hat stood in front of Naruto. Xenovia, Kiba and Kaneko were already bearing down on him. The blonde eyed them and tapped his feet on the ground. Jagged earth spikes rose from the flat earth, instantly destroying the demon in front of him. The swordsman reacted quickly and took a step back. Kaneko advanced forward, dodging the spikes deftly and destroying the ones she couldn't dodge with a punch, confronting Naruto in a one-on-one hand combat. Kaneko was like a tiger as she pounced on her sensei. Her physical parameters soared to the point where Naruto had to take her seriously while doing ranged attacks from the queens. He noticed an imbalance of sage energy surrounding Kaneko. It was like an inferior state of his own sage mode. He grinned like a madman as he began incorporating a bastardized version of Juken into his fighting style. A bead of sweat rolled off Kaneko's face as she found it hard to focus her chakra flow. Saji, Issei, Tsunami and Akino were in the air, keeping Naruto constricted to a point. Issei also joined the fray, intent on distracting Naruto till they enact their plans. Outside that game field, the devils watched with frustration itching at their butt. The young devils hadn't landed a single hit since the battle began, though they somehow controlled the flow of the battle now, but the human was showing no sign of exhaustion as he weaved through the sea of attacks, dishing out his own every now and then. What's their game? Ajuka wondered out loud before realization dawned on him. When Gaspar appeared behind Rias. Inside the game field. Boosted gear transfer. Naruto glanced at Issei transferring magic to the queens and the kings. Kaneko was trying her hardest to score a hit in. Though she had the power to match the blonde, she was sorely lacking in skill and experience. Naruto's movements were too good. A magic circle appeared behind Kaneko's ear. Naruto recognized that kind of magic. It was communication magic. The Nekomata jumped away from the blonde, creating distance from him. Alright guys, let's check this man. Rias yelled. A chorus of yes reverberated throughout the field. Naruto watched in interest, all of them were present, in good shape and condition too fast. Head had to deal with Asia first. Naruto folded his arm, raising his chin with a smirk on his face. Trying to stroke his villain ego, everything you do is, eh. Naruto gawked when different sorts of magic circles appeared around him in a zigzag pattern. The magic circle converged together, forming a dome that trapped Naruto in. Outside the game field. That spell. The devilard present glanced at Azazel. What can I say, they were up against someone like Naruto, he shrugged. In the game field. Naruto could feel it instantly, his strength waned with every step he took. He couldn't use Shunshin nor Hiraishin. There was no marker outside the barrier to teleport to. The barrier opened up and Rais went through the door, an oppressive aura of the power of destruction covering her. You think you've restrained me? He huffed. I'd like to think so. Now, you can't move freely anymore. My attacks will surely hit you. Rias boasted. What makes you think I'm going to stay still and let you attack first? Naruto said, needing chakra in his gut as he clapped his hands together. We'll see about that. That was Gaspar's cue. The cross-dresser was their hidden ace. Naruto didn't pay any special attention to their two aces and it was largely thanks to his arrogance. Appearance can be deceiving sometimes. His dismissal of those two as harmless will be his undoing. Asia and Gaspar. Naruto couldn't fight off the sense of foreboding. Rias currently exuded a cocksure aura like her plan was failproof. He wanted to take a steo back before his blood ran cold when he noticed he couldn't move anymore. Cold sweat permeated his face as Rias conjured a massive magic circle. It was so massive it covered the entire space they confined him in. This is it, Naruto. The power of the young devils you look down upon. Outside the game field. Magic domain. Lord Bale said with a smirk. For powerful devils like them, it was very easy to cast but it was ineffective against an ultimate class devil. A super devil casting magic domain on an ultimate class devil was another matter entirely. The spell not only seals the target in a space where all forms of teleportation are rendered useless, it also puts them in a suppressed state. Their overall offense and defense, even perceptions and senses are affected greatly. Thence, the Uzumaki couldn't see the danger coming. This is it, Lord Phoenix said. Checkmate. Azazel smirked. The devils all cheered for the devils. Back in the game field. This is the power of the Bale clan, the power of destruction, capable of destroying things on an atomic level. All forms of defense are rendered useless in front of this. Rias crossed her arms across her chest. The sky turned blood red, casting a deathly glow on the frozen Uzumaki. Gaspar gritted his teeth, trying his best to freeze the blonde with his sacred gear. Naruto was frighteningly strong. Even after drinking the Sekiryudi's blood, he still struggled to hold Naruto down. It's over, Naruto. Naruto's blue orbs would have widened to the size of saucers if he had control of his body as the red beam of destruction descended from the sky. Is this how I lose? Me. Beaten by a bunch of devil kids. Inconceivable. The power of destruction swallowed the blonde whole, swiping him off his feet like a tsunami, causing an earthquake that cancelled the magic domain. Such power. Was the thought going through the devil's minds. There's no way Naruto's surviving that. Jinten. Ria's eyes widened in disbelief when she heard Naruto's voice in the sea of power of destruction. In front of her very eyes, a cone of white light suddenly cleared a good portion of the power of destruction. It was like a nuclear bomb detonated in the middle of a raging ocean. Outside the game field. Impossible. Lord Bale bellowed, gripping the armrest of his seat till it cracked. The leaders present were in the same state. It was a checkmate. How is this possible? Naruto's next words shocked them all to the core. Genkei Hakuri no Jutsu. The cone shot forward at blinding speed, devouring the power of destruction and everything in its path. A pain-filled wail reverberated throughout the entire game field. Ha! Lord and Lady Grimori's eyes went bloodshot as soon as they laid their eyes on Rias. Inside the game field, Naruto walked out of their face, his eyes now toad-like. The long sleeves he wore now had jagged ends. I gotta say thank you, Red Bat. If it wasn't for you, I would have lost, Naruto said, his lips curving up a bit. Rias gritted her teeth in anger, blood seeping out from her wound. Give up, kids. This is my last act of mercy. Naruto adopted a serious look, covering his body with a faint layer of sage chakra so they knew he meant business. Rias, he wants us to give up. Sona readjusted her spectacles. Rias slowly stood up, a wicked grin on her face. And never. Naruto stared at each of them, the expression on their faces, their resolve said it all, we'll fight to the bitter end. Tisk tisk. I guess I'll have to instill primal fear in them. Naruto thought with a sigh. Sometimes, when billions face thick-headed protagonists, the only solution is to instill spirit-breaking fear in them. That was what Naruto Uzumaki intended to do. Naruto took in a deep breath as he willed his eyelids shut. He bit his thumb, smeared a vertical line of blood on his palm, snapped his eyes open and raised his hand up before slamming it into the ground. Kuchio's no jutsu. An intricate black seal raced across the ground from Naruto's position before a massive cloud of smoke filled everyone's vision. The devils went into a fit of cough before it gripped them, the feeling. It was oppressive and sinister. The temperature of the game field rose to a rate where they could feel their skin sizzling. There was something massive, even though they weren't sensor type they could feel it. Something massive had appeared right in front of them. None of them felt it more than Kaneko, who had tremors all over, gripping her head in pain. Some much chakra. She managed to stutter before her knees buckled under the mighty pressure. If Naruto's chakra was like a river before, the largest she's ever felt, this one was a vast deep ocean that screamed danger. Outside the game field, the aerial view showed white smoke rising into the sky, hiding the contestants from the camera. They all sat at the edge of their seats with bated breath waiting for the smoke to clear out. What did he do? What's going on? That damned human. They all went silent when they heard tremors, like something massive just moved. Inside the game field, Rias trailed off, wincing in pain as Asia tried to stop her from bleeding out any further. Bucha. Issei stood in front of the entire group, his scale mail armor wings unfurled. Another tremor and a quick gust of wind blew a portion of the smoke away. A massive paw was what greeted their sight. Naruto. A feminine voice hissed telepathically. That was dumb, even for Naruto. In an alternate reality, an adult Naruto who was busy fighting, bullying a white kid with a Sharingan, in Kurama mode sneezed violently. The smoke slowly cleared out and they all beheld the colossal monster. A blue flaming cat so massive they felt infinitesimally small in its presence. Relax. I got this. He replied mentally. Naruto sucked in a deep breath and bellowed, stretching his arms wide. Behold, you unsavory scums, my familiar. Outside the game field. My god, all devils within the vicinity winced when a reincarnated gasped in shock. A Nekomata. How's this possible? A two-tailed Nekomata actually grew to such extents. A Juka could feel a migraine coming. UK don't grow to be this big, even Yasaka in her fox form wasn't as big as this. And Naruto was in contract with this massive thing, even the Dragon Kings weren't as big as this. Yukai. The devils all felt a chill in their spine when the blue flaming two-tailed cat stomped a paw forward and roared. Its roar was powerful enough to uproot buildings.
Back in the game field, the devil kids were scattered around, carried away by Matabi's sonic roar. Nekomata? Kaneko couldn't believe it, standing with cuts and bruises here and there. She's never seen a Nekomata with such a high amount of energy before. It constantly flicked in and out of her senses.
How are we supposed to fight this? Saji chuckled.
Naruto was having an internal conversation with his tenants while Devilkind went through a commotion at the reveal of such a Yukai. Why'd you summon me? What else, to instill the fear of me in them?
Are you dumb? A biju of all things. A biju, Naruto. Kurama groaned in exasperation.
Relax guys, as far as they know, Matabi is a Yukai, my familiar. When we said yes to S-rank moves, summoning one of us wasn't in the list. Far from it. Yuki deadpanned. Relax guys. I got this. Naruto, who was riding on Matabi's head, grinned, unable to contain his excitement when he saw the devastated look on Ria's face. He closed his eyes and folded his arms. Well then, Rias Gremory, what are you going to do? Issei, decked out in his balance breaker, consulted his partner. Diedrich. I'm sorry partner, but with your current strength, you can only resign to the power before you. Diedrich went silent for a few moments before he added the nail to the coffin. I'll be hard-pressed to defeat this beast before you in my prime. Issei deactivated scale mail and balled his fist. Rias gritted her teeth in hopelessness. She didn't have that kind of juice. Was this her limit? How did Naruto manage to tame something like this? Have you come to realize I'm leagues above you? He asked. Rias could only stare on in apprehension. Well, I don't need an answer. Your state more than answers my question. This game was fun while it lasted. Rias gritted her teeth, it had only been a game to him all along. With a mental command, Matabi raised one tail up and the rest was history, probably the fastest spontaneous natural disaster Devilkind has ever witnessed. Rias Grimoire and her peerage have been retired. Sona Citri and her peerage have been retired. Winner. Uzumaki Naruto. See, that wasn't so hard, was it? Matabi shook her head in ire and went back to the seal in the same fashion she came out. Inside the waiting room, Naruto appeared in the room, his clothes back to the pristine condition it was before he entered the game field. Looks like I'll have devil errands for the rest of the term. Naruto cackled inwardly with glee. He raised an eyebrow at the gray-haired maid staring at him with her poker face on before he spotted his wayward students in a corner of the room. Did I think out loud? He wondered. Naruto-sensei, congratulations. Sona moved forward with her peerage behind her. Tsubaki's normal look of disdain had disappeared and was replaced with a hint of fear. Saji seemed normal. He was actually smiling at him. My peerage are at your beck and call. Hold it, we never agreed to that. Naruto shifted his gaze to Rias. She recoiled in shock at the implication of his words. But, sensei, she tried to protest. Nope, a deal's a deal. We had no chance against that familiar. All is fair in love and war. You should have thought twice before you challenged me. Rias bit back her retort. Naruto was right. She put her family in slavery because of her arrogance, because she couldn't stand Uzumaki Naruto. She had failed them yet again. Seems she still had a lot to learn. Do you regret your decision, Rias-sama? Is your defeat baffling? Do you find it frustrating that you lost to Naruto-sama? Grafia spoke up all of a sudden. Rias stared at the ground and rubbed her shoulder. Yes, it was barely above a whisper, but they all heard. You should be, it's a normal thing. But you should know, you never stood a chance in the first place. Rias brandished her teeth at Grafia, who seemed nonchalant about her declaration, plummeting her already low self-confidence in the process. When Lord Odin visited the underworld, an SSS-ranked demon escaped hell. Rias, Sona, Akeno, and Tsubaki went wide-eyed. The rest seemed confused, but the words SSS-ranked, demon, escaped in hell told them it was something serious. Its 4 clones escaped to Earth and caused havoc in the world of man, Okuo. And we weren't told of this, Rias bellowed. You guys couldn't have done a thing about it. The demon was above your level by a far margin. We could have done something. Kuo is our home. Searsex-sama created a 4-man team with Serafal-sama as the leader. Beowulf-sama, Soji-sama, and me as support. No wonder Ne-sama was absent. Sona found her sister's absence in the pact treaty bizarre, but since they gave a valid explanation, she dropped the matter. Upon getting to Earth, Naruto-san here had already killed a clone. He did? They asked in surprise. We found the other clones and battle ensued. The demon somehow regained its full strength and possessed one of Naruto-sama comrades. Naruto-sama and his friend fought the demon valiantly together and defeated it. Sensei did? Rais whispered in astonishment. Losing to Naruto, no, just fighting him, seemed more like an honor than defeat. Breathing in the same room felt like an honor. After all these while, no wonder he treated her like she was insignificant. With his strength, she might as well be to him. Thinking about all the tantrums and insults she threw at him, shouldn't help but chide herself. Rias Gremory gritted her teeth and balled her fist. It is of utmost importance to make amends when you realize your mistakes. I'm sorry, Naruto-sensei. Naruto's blue orbs widened a fraction in disbelief. His ears must be playing games with him, so he gave the only intelligent reply he could. Sorry what? I'm sorry for everything. Rias bowed. The entire room went silent as Rais apologized. Naruto bit his lips in amusement, trying his hardest not to laugh, but a few chuckles escaped his lips. It's okay, Rias. I rather enjoyed your fearlessness and belligerence. It was somehow refreshing to see a youngin challenge me every chance she got. And besides, I was glad to have exchanged fists with such a group of young promising devils. I'm sure you would have fared well against a greenhorn Junin. The young devils straightened their backs when Naruto spoke to them, his eyes making contact with theirs. His stare lingered on Issei and Kiba. Though they didn't know what a Jonin meant, they thought it was a term powerhouses used. I hope you guys continue to grow in strength, and when you reach your peak, I'll take you on with my full power. Naruto smiled at the group of students. That wasn't his full power? They couldn't help but wonder. Just you wait, sensei. Don't you even think about dying before I reach my peak. I'll gladly show you what me and Diedrich can do then, Issei declared with a smile. For a moment there, the silhouette of a person standing behind Issei, Naruto remembered said person fed him the same words. It brought dark memories he'd rather have buried with it. Alright Issei. I won't die and I'll gladly take you on then too. Naruto said, suppressing the memories from appearing again. It was all in the past now. They all seemed in high spirits, a great contrast to how they were before. Too bad, he'd have to crush their spirits again. Now, about the deal, he trailed off. Ria's eyes went wide in surprise. She had forgotten about the deal. Her surprise slowly turned to shock before it turned to rage. Wait, you knew victory was yours from the start yet you agreed to the deal? Why not? Naruto shrugged. Why you duped me? Ria stuttered, pointing a finger at Naruto. Now, is that any way to talk to your master? He frowned. Rias almost spat blood and anger as her peerage members held her back as she spat profanities at Naruto's schemes. Naruto felt at ease instantly, his lips slowly stretched to a wicked grin as Rias' visage contorted with fury. This was the Rias he knew. Never thought twice before she dissed him, even though he could snap her into two like chopsticks. He had gradually grown accustomed to the point where he no longer found her offensive. Naruto! Rias cried to the skies. Scene change, the next day. News of Rias' defeat spread like wildfire, and the rumors of the two-tailed Nekomata was questioned by many but validated by few. The events of the raiding games were kept under wraps, in a show of faith to Naruto. If word of the colossal Nekomata got out, the blonde would face the probation of the supernatural world. Everyone was entitled to their own secrets. Speaking about the blonde, he's been very active lately, spotted on different occasions with Mao Lucifer's son and Lady Phoenix. Touring the Gremory Castle. He even visited the Phoenix class ground on a certain occasion. 2 days have passed before the Valkyrie returned to the underworld with her luggage. She seemed downcast when she returned. She hid it well, but her smile couldn't fool Naruto. Right now, Naruto was outside the Gremory Castle, hands behind him, gazing at the sky. He seemed like he was waiting for someone. "Congratulations, senpai." Her footstep reached his ear long before she spoke. It was hardly a victory," Naruto replied with a smirk. Roswise walked towards him and stood beside him. They both went silent, enjoying each other's company. "I'm sorry I missed it, but I had an important business to take care of." She tried to give him an explanation. She had disappeared a few days before the raiding game under the summit of Asgard's Royal High Court. The only ones who knew of this were the leaders of the 3 great factions, who didn't say anything at her request. Naruto glanced at her. The smile on her face didn't quite reach her eyes. He could feel dull sorrow rolling off her. He meant to ask what happened, but what came out was, "It's all right." Roswise perked up at his reply. She raised an eyebrow in confusion. Naruto locked his gaze with hers and told her again, "Whatever it is, it's all right. It'll eventually pass. A person once told me this in the past when I was in trouble." Roswise scoffed in amusement, her heart warming at the blonde's few words. She really wanted to keep this to herself and tried her best to keep it a secret, going as far as faking her smile, and Naruto saw right through her from the start. "Thank you, senpai. I'm just looking out for my fellow teacher." He offered her a smile. "So, can I help you get your mind off it?" "How?" Roswise perked up. Naruto smirked in return. Scene change, the familiar forest. Rias, Issei, Naruto and Roswise toured the familiar forest, which Naruto currently called Devil Mayuboku. He's been playing the tyrant for the past half hour, using Rias as a glorified teleportation stand, even going as far to order her to call the familiar forest Devil Mayuboku. Naruto just waltzed around being his silly self, all engineered to make Roswise laugh. Issei sometimes joined in too, trying to help her in his own unique way. "That Naruto," Rias gritted her teeth in anger. Bucko, Issei trailed off. "Now wouldn't be a good time, would it? But they say a man's gotta do what a man's gotta do." Naruto and Roswise were on top of the tallest tree in the forest. A section of the forest, west, not too far from here, was stained white with snow, different from the rest. The Virgin Valkyrie had her hand to her back, her lips thinned. She's never had a man go to such an extent to brighten her day. The feeling was warm and calming. "What are those two doing down there?" Naruto pointed at the student duo. A slug had somehow appeared and its slime had somehow gotten on Rias, melting her clothes. Then something unimaginable happened. Issei took off his shirt for Rias. Naruto was gobsmacked. The super pervert did an unperverted deed in his life. Rias blushed up a storm and Roswise cooed at the scene, while Naruto almost puked at the scene. Their moment was short-lived when Naruto snapped his head west. Soon a mighty roar followed. "Oi, partner. We need to leave now." The urgency in Ddrake's voice left Issei bewildered. "What was that?" "Probably Tiamat. The Dragon King living in the familiar forest," she replied, conjuring a magic circle. "We need to leave, now." What a shame, I would have loved to meet this Drod before they left. What they didn't see was a blue western dragon landing on the spot they previously occupied, freezing everything around it. Was I sensing things wrong? It thought before it flew off back to its quarters. 2 days later. Earth, Kuo, yes, fresh oxygen, how I've missed you. It's good to be back. Naruto spotted Roswise with her luggage and walked up to her, trying to offer her a place to stay one last time.
"Are you sure you don't want me to help? Rias already took me in."
"You know I can. Reverse that, right?" Roswise chuckled, shaking her head. "Yes, but I'd love it if you didn't." "Roger, ma'am." Naruto threw a 2-fingered salute and spun on the balls of his feet, Uzumaki Mansion in his sight. "Wait, senpai." Roswise walked up to him and hugged him. Naruto went wide-eyed at the sudden intrusion. It was strange, he found it uncomfortable, and at the same time, his heart raced. "Thank you so much for being considerate for the last few days. I don't have the power to tell you right now, but I promise I will one day." Naruto never once brought up the topic of why she came back with her luggage or why she had been so down lately. He acted like it never happened, and for that she was very grateful. She owed him an explanation. Maybe not, but surely when she regained her balance, recovered and stood up on her own 2 feet, only then would she tell him. She ended the hug, a pink blush on her face, berating herself for her sudden action. Maybe it was because she really needed a hug from a friend, but she secretly enjoyed staying in his arms more than a friend was supposed to. Naruto watched dumbfounded as Roswise ran off at light speed and slammed the Hyodo's front door shut. "What a weird woman," he scoffed with a small smile on his face. Ding dong. What the hell am I doing knocking on my own door? Coming. A few shuffles of slippers on the floor and the door flew wide open. Naruto thinned his lips at her stupefied look. Only 2 words could make this moment perfect. He never knew he could say such words in an alien world where he was all alone. Words he's never said even in his home world. Words he had longed to say for so long. I'm home. Martha's purple orbs widened in happiness. Ni-san, Naruto ni is back, she screamed as she pulled him into a hug. The blonde ninja smiled as he wrapped his arms around her. Gaia perked up from the living room and joined in on the goodness. Naruto's arms were wide enough to contain both girls. Naruto Uzumaki never had anyone to go home to before. Of course he had friends in his home world. He never really experienced the thrill, the excitement, the joy of having someone to go home to. Having someone at home expecting his return, awaiting him. Well, if it ain't Naruto-sama who bailed. How was hell? John shared a handshake with Naruto and both men exchanged a quick hug and chuckles. I see you're still alive and kicking, John. Here in this alien world. It seems he too, after all his losses, could find precious people to fill the hole in his heart. So very few, yet so very special and sincere. Total strangers they were, yet they found peace within each other, within one another. It's amazing how we find solace in total strangers. Come in, ninja boy, it's my house, pig. What would you like to eat, Naruto ni? You should have given us a heads up before you left, Naruto. It was incomplete without him, it was incomplete without them. Naruto took one last glance outside and thought, that dastard black cat hadn't visited in a while. He had a lot of education to instill in that one. The Uzumaki house bubbled with laughter that day and Naruto smiled without a care in the world. He didn't want to admit it out loud but home wasn't the mansion. Home was his precious ones. Always have and always will be. The Blonde Shinobi in DxD Chapter 20, I rest my fingers, the end.